Hello, everyone. Welcome to my teaching learning session. We continue with Unit 5 with me of BPCC 132 Social Psychology with me, Sonal Singh Pawar. We continue with attitude and behavior to understand that how social psychology, which is our thinking, reasoning, problem solving in a society, in a social condition, builds our attitude. The same attitude leads to behavior. One of the three most important components that we usually build up with the help of attitude and forming opinions are stereotypes, prejudice, and discrimination. Stereotypes are usually meaning that these are assumptions that people create about group of people. So these are assumptions that we create about a group of people holding a certain characteristics which are going to be common to all of those individuals of the certain group. In other words, when someone assumes something about you because you are being part of a group or you are being part of a certain particular group. That group could be affiliated to anything. Stereotypes usually are negatively impactful, but not always. So we can assume that stereotypes at times could be general thought process also, not always negative, but they are usually negative. Also, they're very simplistic. The reason that we are saying simplistic, you will learn it ahead. They're very simplistic. They are dangerous and unfair. And they're dangerous because we do not use our logic much. We do not use the thinking, reasoning, problem solving to build a stereotype. It is just categorized as a label. It is, a thinking component that we have not got on our own, but a thinking component that we have received from the others. So it's an outside component to any individual. It is the thinking component, but not of ours. It's a thought which is being built up by somebody else, built up by a category of people, and that assumption is being given to a group. And these are also, in a very simple way, can be called as labels. They are dangerous. Also, they are unfair to people that we are giving it to. Also, post building a stereotype. Let's take an example. If stereotypes are actually impacting negatively, what will they further lead to? They will lead to prejudice. Prejudice are the affective component of an attitude. So, more strengthened that you take it and more emotionally filled that you take it, it will build something which is a prejudice. What are prejudice? These are beliefs, these are thoughts, feelings, and attitudes that we hold about a group. Prejudice are never based on personal experiences. So, if you talk about holding a prejudice, remember it's not something that you build out of your own personal experience. That's the reason they are overly simplistic. That's the reason that they tend to be unfair because we are holding them not on our personal experience but just a judgment that we have received. Also, it's originating out of our own experience. We have not probably seen it ever. We have not we've not seen it, we've not felt it, we've not seen it happening. It's just a prejudgment. So while prejudice is based on beliefs outside your own personal experience, these can obviously lead to something which cannot be justified, cannot be confirmed. So remember, prejudices are not testified. We cannot have a logic behind why we are thinking like this about a group of people. That's not going to be possible to provide a logic, provide a thought process, or even we cannot justify it. If we talk about somebody to have some thought process, we probably will not be able to justify it because it's like a confirmation bias. While prejudice often are happening outside our experiences, it's just instinctive. Also, people who have built it, prejudice are instinctive. They're strongly felt. They're not strongly thought. So remember, when we don't think about it, they do not hold logic much. They do not hold much of reasoning, much of empirical systematic thought about it. It's strongly felt, so it's more instinctive, outside your personal experiences, morely like prejudgments. It is the affective tone of attitude. So it's like, how do you feel about it? How do you feel about these people? How do you feel about him or her? So it's the feeling component. Also, prejudice as well as attitude, both, sorry, prejudice as well as stereotype, both has the capacity to lead to the behavior directly, which is discrimination. So at times there could be possibility a stereotype can, if it's majorly negative, it could lead to something which is a discrimination, which is the thought process can directly lead to something which is a behavior. But there are times that it follows a process that you build a stereotype, you start feeling about it very strongly, and then you lead to something which is discrimination. Point to remember, discrimination can equally happen without prejudice. So you might not require something which is a feeling to lead to discrimination. At times, discrimination will happen without prejudices. Discrimination will happen without thinking about anything. It will just happen. So prejudices are not important for discrimination, but usually it is found that stereotype, prejudice, and discrimination is the process. It's how do you act towards that person. So it's usually all of these three things that we have spoken about folds, unfolds our behavior in a group. Intergroup relationship thought. It is a time the way we behave with people, behave with groups of people, which mold our attitude and behavior. Now, sources of prejudice. Speaking of sources of prejudice, let's understand when we talk about something which is not personal, it's something which is felt, it's often found to be negative pre notions and attitudes about, or attitude notions, pre notions, and preconceptions about a group of people, or ideally just simply a group. It has very strong influence. The reason that prejudices has strong influence because it is felt. It is a feeling that we feel about people, and usually it is found that prejudices are driven towards an action. We usually move towards an action. We start behaving towards people as per our prejudice. We start interacting people, particularly on the basis of the kind of prejudices that we are holding. So, saying of that, common features of prejudice include a lot of things. Common features are that it's a negative feeling, it is holding on stereotypes and belief, we are unable to change it. It is the feeling component, and a lot of times prejudices are very strong. They will lead to discrimination against people. In society, holding prejudices are very common. We have found it against caste, class, religion, sex, culture, and even more. So there are many prejudices in our society that we tend to think about, we tend to strongly hold, and then we discriminate people on that basis. So we need to know in our society there are many reasons that we hold prejudices against people. Now, let's understand what are some causes. What builds in this prejudices in our mind? What gets into us that we start holding them, or we start building, or we start acquiring them without even having a personal experience, without having a personal touch to it. So, speaking of that, let's come to the sources, let's come to the causes. First, the reason that we start holding against a race, a culture, a community is to protect yourself. Usually that's like out of defense is a human nature. I feel being defensive is such a complete human nature that we have. It's threat to self-esteem. So people tend to evaluate their group in a way positive than the others. So we start building that. It's like the in-group feeling that we have. We are better than the others. So this was given by Tajfel and Turner in 1986, where people said that we tend to build in on people. We tend to start protecting our self-esteem by protecting ourselves in terms of seeing yourself positive and seeing the other negative. That's like the in-group and out-group feeling, which is when people receive a threat towards their group image or further start feeling that we are going to be counter-attacked. They start building that feeling that we are better than the others. So to protect and safeguard that judgment, what do? We tend to, you know, uh, we tend to we tend to somehow start canceling that negative feeling about ourselves when we start protecting our value judgment, strengthening our self-esteem by negatively assuming other people's self-esteem. So we work by presuming other people's self-esteem to be negative, and that's how we protect ourselves. So we've assumed that this is a threat, this is something that's going to harm us. To protect our image, this is a human nature being defensive. We say that in-group is better than the out-group. That the out-group people are someone who's negative. They're not worth it. They're not positive. They're harm to the society. That's how we build against any other section of society. Now, the others are simply prejudgments. Prejudices are simply prejudgments because it's like just assumption that you hold as soon as you see it. So there was an experiment which was done, which was on the board that you can see. In a classic experiment, it was found that participants were asked to judge the height of the people which were shown in the photographs. So some photographs were shown, participants were told Look at the picture and tell how what is their height. They told that for every woman of a particular height, there is a man of the same height, and therefore they did not rely on the person's sex to determine the height, despite being offered a cash prize of $50 for whoever made the most accurate judgment. Participant consistently rated men as being taller, far more taller than the women. Why? Because we have that prejudgment already found that men are stronger and taller than the women usually. So, despite seeing that photograph, even if you make them see a picture where the women looks taller, they will still consistently judge the males to be taller. Why? That's just a prejudice that we've seen around the globe, that men tend to be taller than women and stronger than women. Despite they were given $50 for the entire experiment, they did the same mistake, and that the reason for that was simply prejudgments. Prejudgments that we get across our globe to us and everybody else. So speaking of that, we need to understand that that's how stereotype just comes into us. We just start holding them. Another source that helps us build or also makes us think about prejudices and stereotypes are competition for resources. When we are running out of resources, if there competition between two parties or probably more groups about limited resources, probably it could be water, it could be idea, it could be paper, it could be anything. It leads to conflict, and conflict leads to developing a negative stereotype about the other group, which further builds a belief system which is strong. That leads to a prejudgment for the other group, and we start discriminating them. So, realistic conflict theory, there was a theory which actually came out of this, which was competition for resources, that stated that there is a theory called realistic conflict theory. It's on the screen that you can see, that claims that prejudices and discrimination occur as a result of real competition between groups. So, because of real competition between groups for resources which are relevant. It could be a material resource, social resource, mental resource, a resource which is helpful. So, this theory implicated that if groups are not in competition, there is highly likely that we might not develop a prejudice. So, if everybody is in sync with each other, there is cooperation. Will there be prejudices? Will you hold any thought against the other person? No, that's not possible. So psychologist Jordan Alport also believed that there is no sense of, to make the sense around the world, what do we do? For that, for important, we tend to sort out mental categories. For that mental categories, the human must think what are simple categories, something that they do not use their brain. So he stated in his book of the nature of prejudice, once formed, categories are the basis for normal prejudgment. We possibly avoid, cannot possibly avoid this in the process. Orderly living depends upon prejudgments, being able to categorize quickly, judge people quickly, label people quickly. This process of human life leads to mistakes, leads to errors. So we need to know stereotypes and prejudices does often leads to mistake. We can judge people differently, but this is just to minimize the effort. It is just to minimize, the difference amongst the group of certain groups and exaggerate the difference between. So it's just to minimize the differences amongst people within a group. So for one group, we need to create differences amongst the other group. So this is such an irony. If you want to feel alike your group, you want to build in a common thing which is different from the other group. So your group becomes a social identity, and you tend to build on it, and you give out the other person as a out group identity. So this is known as social categorization. Social categorization is a key to life. We cannot live without it. That's the first thing that we do. We tend to categorize people on simple ways which are not our personal experiences, but simply categories that we form on the basis of what we've heard, what we've seen, and we strongly start believing because we want to catch hold of our group to be better, our group to be different, and our people to be similar. So this is called the difference. This refers to social categorization. This completes with another source of prejudice. Let's come to discrimination. The behavioral component. Behavioral component is one of the most evident thing in social psychology which is available, which is discrimination. The behavior component is so strong, we start discriminating people on the basis of the kind of stereotypes and prejudice that we are holding across the globe about those people. This leads to differential treatment that people receive belonging to a particular group, community, or region. It generally is usually overt behavior. So remember, it's not a covert expression. We don't keep it inside. This is an action related attitude part, which is discrimination. It is overtly seen, which is overtly seen. You can observably seen. It's an expression of your prejudice. So mostly it's stated an attitude is a state of mind. When the attitude starts thinking about a group of people, it becomes stereotypes. Stereotypes can be both negative and positive, but they do impact negatively at times. Even if it's a positive category, it will impact somebody or the other negatively. Stereotypes is the thinking component which drives us towards prejudices. Prejudices are the feeling component. They are how do we feel about that thing about those people. It makes things simpler. It is not a part of our personal experiences, which leads to expression of prejudice, which is discrimination. Discriminations are strong. They are differential treatment towards people. They will deny privileges. They will deny, being discriminated, we become rigid, less flexible to one set of the country people. We become very harsh on some people. We deny leverages, we deny liberties and privilege to these people. And that's how a minority group, an action towards such a group starts building up. Also, there are some of such disguise form of discrimination that tends to happen, and we don't get to know. They just happen so automatically. Our expression of prejudices at times are so strong or so simple that it's difficult to catch them. That's why it's called disguised form of discrimination. Reluctance to help. These are subtle forms of discrimination when you're unwilling to give help to other members of the group, which could improve their status in society. So remember, this could be someone just needs help, and you're like, probably I don't know this. I cannot help you with this information. I myself am clueless. This is such unwillingly done thing, and something which is so subtle that we no one can catch hold of it. But this is very subtle form. It's a reluctance to help. Then there is tokenism. It's a kind of discriminatory behavior where target group is provided a significant, insignificant, and unimportant help from the prejudice group. So this is like a tokenism, giving you something which is not important. So let's take an example. You ask for a rack and you get a thread. So you'd ask the people that I need a rack, or probably I need a big bag of jute, and you just get a piece of thread. This is the kind of support. So this is tokenism, a kind of help which is insignificant, irrelevant, not important. So that's tokenism. That's also something which is, subtle kind of discrimination. These are discrimination disguising people that we are helping you, but we are not. You're either discriminating them. Then there is reverse of discrimination, which is an extreme form where the target group is helped even out of the way. This looks positive, but it's more harmful in the long run. So if you held somebody stating, I will help you, I will be beside you, I will take care of you, but remember, in the long run, it's not going to be supported. It's going to backlash. It's going to be very difficult for the people around. So these are discrimination. Now let's understand some of the causes of discrimination. The image is on the screen, very clear and crisp. So there are some causes. Why do we start discriminating people? Social psychologists has identified. Why do people start discrimination? Why do we have to, express our prejudices against them? First, dissimilarity in social distance. This is like the most evident one. We are different from a category of people. We feel these people are not a part of your lifestyle, your life, your community. We distance. So that's like the first and the most common reason that we discriminate. Then there is economic competition. Obviously, when one group wins and is at a benefit of of competence and economy, remember the other obviously pays at expense, stays lower. So the one which is on the benefited part will usually discriminate the lower section. This is like an old growth logging job versus the environment. So this is like a very common thing. You pick up the job or you pick up the environment. It's like an economic competition when one group wins, economic benefit at the expense of the other. Then there is scapegoating, one reason. We need somebody to blame all the causes, blame for the problems. So that blame goes to groups which are weaker, groups which are troublesome, groups which are sidelined. So we tend to discriminate. So we already know that this is a category of group which is being made. They're not considered to be well. What do we start doing? We start blaming everything on the lesser number of people or groups which are at lesser strength. That is scapegoating. Make them escape the environment by moving them apart, by blaming them for troubles, by blaming them for things which are going wrong, which was Jewish people during Nazi. war during Nazism in Germany. Then there is conformity of social norms. At times, we just have to, discriminate people because we are a part of a group. There is a social identity. There's a social norm. There's a unthinkable norm and rule which is being made. An unthinking tendency to keep things the way they are, even if they may be wrong. Even if the social norms are incorrect, at times, there are groups that we are a part of, and norms do not justify things. Norms are not very correct, but we do it. Reason? There is so much of pressure that you want to be a part of this group, and if you want to be a part of this group, you have to adhere to the norms, like stick to the norms. And to stick to the norm, what do? You categorize people, you avoid people, you discriminate people. So that is something which is the fourth one. The fifth one comes to media stereotypes, media, images, word, newspapers, pamphlets, big images, projects, which usually overgeneralize certain way and undergeneralize the other. Put somebody at a peak and put the other below. So yeah, this is something which media tends to do it very often, and it becomes difficult for some section of the society. So we understood what is discrimination. We also understood there are some subtle ways that we discriminate people, and there are five causes of discrimination. So when we speak about five causes of discrimination, there are some causes that makes us do it, also helps us build into that. That talks about the behavioral expression of prejudice. Now let's move to, can we reduce all of this? We know that having a already made category in your mind, already made feeling in your, that strong feeling that will make you discriminate people, can we discourage it? Can we close it? Can we reduce it? Yes, there are some ways that we have told that we have to start it from the beginning, not only to us, but also to children, which is the ways to reduce between stereotype, prejudice, and discrimination. The first is social learning. Teaching stereotype should be of both. I feel prejudice, stereotypes of both. They are, when we talk about stereotypes are both positive and negative. So we can also have stereotypes which can be positive. So please make sure you teach them the right thing. Children are taught the right thing, and so is prejudice restricted. We don't teach something which is going to lead to discrimination. So teaching, how this teaching can be done, having greater role models, authority figure giving rewards and punishment, rewards for things which are not good, and punishment also to discontinue discrimination, discontinue a thought which is prejudice. Also, training to discourage prejudice, which is learning to negate, which is you should make sure that you help make them learn to negate stereotype. Bias parents, parents, persons should be alerted that their prejudice may promote view of their child to negative thought. They should make sure the parents' awareness should be there. You should train the parents, tell them that you should teach them social learn, become role models of good things, not to teach them discrimination, no subtle ways, not putting down any individual of the group should be taught. Teaching tolerance is one of the most important thing that parents should do today in today's time. I feel in today's time tolerance is something that we do not build in our children. Our children becomes impulsive and super hyper because of this, because it's not being taught. So I feel that also, when we speak about today's times and how things are going, we should make sure that we should teach children to be patient, to wait for things, not judge other people. Do not build, categories of thought which is prejudice against people to build in worry, hatred towards other people. Do not risk other people. Do not be overly leverage on your own self and enjoy yourself and do not give it to the other. Controlling negative thoughts is important. Such will actually build in a lot of patience, reduce impulsiveness, which is coming in our generation today. Also, intergroup contacts is important. Make sure that you make the groups communicate, have a friendly interaction, which will facilitate harmony amongst themselves and also will help them discuss things which are negating. At times there are negative thoughts that come into play and groups can come and discuss. So, this is like something which is called the contact hypothesis. You allow them to think together. Then there is social influence. Social influence helps in reduction of prejudices. Social influence is the consistent formation of attitude to stereotype to prejudice. So we need to make sure the way we influence people around should be positive. It should not be in a way that it's always building those categories in the mind that attitudes will lead to stereotypes, stereotypes will behavior, stereotypes will prejudices, and prejudices to discrimination. So this is how we can reduce stereotype, prejudices, and discrimination. And essentially, I feel learning is such a greater importance. Educating children, giving them the right kind of knowledge, becoming greater, better role models, having impactful interaction, giving them logic behind things, using cooperation rather than competition amongst group as a technique in class, to promoting good self-esteem of each one of them, make sure intergroup contacts are healthy. Self-esteem like this will build in of every child, not one, but every child. This is how we can actually reduce social prejudices also, that will reduce social discrimination in the society. Now, we talk about more things, which is recategorization. So, another way that we can reduce prejudices and discrimination is recategorization, which is keep redrawing boundaries of us and them. Do not make it too stringent. So, the in group, this is like the in group identity model, which was proposed by Gartner and his colleagues in 1989-93. They explain that a group or individuals in a group, us feeling and they feeling shift to view the other group also as in group. So you should keep shifting boundaries. Your attribute should keep shifting. You should not say we are always like this. We will all, you should keep shifting that feeling so that that we feeling do not become stringent. Social identity does not become fixated. You do not become intolerant about other people saying that you are not like this and we are like that. So we need to try to recategorize things, build and keep rebuilding those attributes, share those attributes with people outside. So this will support, reducing that thin line of discrimination that starts building in from day one in group and in group and out group. Also, this is an example which is given on the match, which you can see on the screen. There were two groups, A and B. A is the in group, B is the out group. If the B loses the match, A goes to play with other community. Now A becomes an in group and B, because A is representing their community. This is an in-group identity model. Suggests that you can keep belonging to one another group. You can keep shifting your idea. You can keep shifting your groups also. The reason for that is if you keep shifting groups, there could be shifting of identities. You will share goals. You will share ideas. You will share problems. And there would not be single social identity and entity. There's going to be multiple, which will reduce any kind of discrimination which is being formed. Okay, that's in a way to tell us that how we can reduce discrimination. That completes with Unit 5, telling us that how attitudes are so strong that when we build them, how attitude can completely change you as a person by making you build, and how can they change the environment around you. How you can become tolerant and better as an individual and not discriminate among people. And if you don't, you keep recategorizing and teach learning process should be filled with rewards for good things and good social learning. It else is going to be a tough time because we will keep discriminating people, keep building in prejudices, prejudgments about the world around us. That finishes with Unit 5. We move to Unit 6. Speaking of Unit 6, it's a very interesting topic that talks about interpersonal attraction and pro-social behavior essentially. When we talk about interpersonal attraction, this is like the first thing that tends to happen when we form groups, when we talk to people, when we build up short-term, long-term, intimate relationships with people. So forming and maintaining an intimate or long-term relationship with others, it's very crucial in our social lives that we have interpersonal attraction, which plays a key role in relationships, in forming of relationships. Until you do not feel attracted towards the other person, how do you maintain that relationship? This is such a day-to-day thing that we have around us, that it is to prolong a relationship, an interpersonal relationship. We are just not talking about intimate interpersonal relationship, but also attraction amongst friends. If this has to be done, we need to make sure that there has to be some sort of interpersonal attraction amongst people. So, what are the internal determinants of attraction? It's the need to affiliate. So, according to many researchers, the tendency to affiliate has a neurobiological basis. So, when we speak about neurobiological basis, it says that there's a need to affiliate. We all want to be a part of the group. We want to be known to a big name and label. And this is like one of the major concern of humans and crucial for our psychological well-being. We all want to be. So, tell me, when you start working, don't you all want to be a part of a big name company, a bigger organization, a system? This is only because you want to affiliate yourself. to something big, to something attractive. So that's like I feel that's like a pillar of social well-being. This is also has an evolutionary advantage, since our interaction and social interaction, cooperation with others helps in leading for a better and a secure and a happy life. That's why we all need something to affiliate to ourselves. So why that affiliation is important? Because it will maintain us. It will maintain us to psychological well-being. It will keep us healthy. It will keep us happy, satisfied, content. Contentment will come, and the need for forming and maintaining a least quantity of personal relationship is innately present. So this is like something which is least present in us. So to be affiliated, we are born with that process to be a part, because we are social beings. We have to get ourselves associated, and that requires, for that reason, we need to be attracted towards that thing, and that attraction comes when the affiliation source is having high standards. Then another, internal determinant is social influence. Need to affiliate, which is, for example, friendliness and cheerful behavior has found as a greater result, found to increase as a result of natural disaster. Scatter in 1955 revealed that people faces similar problems and tend to interact with similar-minded people. So one possible reason for affiliation to similar-mindedness is that we seek social comparison. So when social comparison are there, you want to affiliate to people who you think alike, who you feel alike, who have similar goals. So clarity and emotional clarity one can feel. So knows what's happening, what one feels. So this is something which is important. So one determinant is the need to affiliate. That internal need to be attracted towards something is need to affiliate. The other is the situational influence that needs us to affiliate. Some situational influences is the similar mind, the similar goals, the similar thought process, also social comparison and emotional clarity and clarity. That's talks about that, image completely talks about interpersonal attraction soundfully. Now, moving ahead, what is the role of affect in attraction? So, this is such an important category that we are discussing, and this is such an important category for today's time to discuss. What is the importance of emotions in attraction? Ever give it a thought? Is emotion such an important thing? Does emotion play an important role in attraction? Do we really need to be associated emotionally to somebody to feel attracted? Give that question to yourself. That says that positive evaluation a person makes leads to positive affect. So the more positive that you think about a person makes you feel positively, affected, which is emotionally connected. While the negative that you think about a person, the negative that you will emote, which is if you talk about a person, this person is very clever, does not think about other people, is not helpful at all. What are the kind of emotions that are going to come for this person? You will start negating them. You will feel like avoiding them. You don't feel connected. You will not feel like getting affiliated to them. That's like how emotions pull you. Then we need to feel, we tend to like people who make us feel good, who make us feel happy. And don't you feel you do not stay with people who don't make you feel happy? So I feel directly, indirectly, emotion does attract, makes attraction stronger. And this concept is known as associated affect of emotions. I do feel that emotions do become a catalyst. It is a catalyst. It is that spark that adds up to the interpersonal relationship, doesn't it? So if you feel very stable, good, secure about somebody, remember the attraction is always going to be binding. Why? Because human being crave for sense of security, they crave for stability. Also, if this person makes you happy, gives you a good time, there's going to be a sense of attraction which is going to be very strong. This happens, when a person simply, at the same time, when a person is emotional stated aroused equally. So remember, if two people are emotionally aroused positively, then remember the sense of attraction is going to be higher in comparison to being in a negative mood. So, for example, there's an experiment which was done on subliminal perception of pleasant versus unpleasant pictures. So there were researches which were done shown to multiple people about pleasant pictures and unpleasant pictures, and explanation stated, based on classical conditioning, that affect does have a relationship with attraction. So the more happy that you feel, the happier the influences, the more that you get attracted to people. That's how today people get easily driven towards the other person if they have a positive state of mood, if they're happy, if they give you a smiling, or they give you the high sense of humor keeps you sticking to the person. Friends with high sense of humor is always wanted. People who always have that happy aura are always wanted. The reason they bring that to you, and that what's make them attracted, and you wish to stick to them. So the anchoring is very strong. You get aroused very strongly amongst people who are positive. So affect is, as I say, you can use this term. Emotions actually catalyzes interpersonal relationship to become stronger. Now let's talk about some external determinant of attraction which can play an important role in probably starting the attraction, or building the attraction, or probably taking the attraction to another level. So speaking of the first thing that we will talk about is proximity. This is the external factor. We did the internal factors that can contribute to attraction. Now another factor is proximity. The more closer you, like, let's take an example, neighbors that you've had for 15 years, 20 years. Remember, the sense of physical proximity actually builds in attraction, or actually builds in, it's very important factor for attraction. So if you start meeting somebody every day, remember that interpersonal attraction and intimacy will grow. Zanzok also in 1968 repeatedly exposed new stimulus result, increasingly giving positive evaluation of the stimulus. So if you keep giving the same stimulus time and again, researches by Moreland and Leach in 1992 has shown the more times of a particular assistant attended a class, the more that you attend a class, the more that you're exposed to a teacher, the more that repeated exposure decreases the negative attitude and emotion. It will build in more positive. So this is something which is very true in our older times. We had neighbors for 15, 20 years. This bond was so strong, the intimacy, the strength and the attraction was so strong, and that was only because of proximity, staying close. That is proximity. Then physical attractiveness. That's like a key, I feel. A very powerful factor. Looking good influences all your evaluation, for mate selection, for people selection, for friend selection, job interviews at some point of time. Beautiful looking people have the tendency to attract a lot of things. So attractiveness is usually taken as a positive trait of good interpersonal skills. It is taken as skills of confidence. It's taken a feature of high self-concept. So similarly, researchers have found that wide eyes, small nose, chin, or prominent cheekbones are considered to be highly attractive, and women with this are usually, found to be judged as attractive. Under two groups, childlike features and those with mature features. Obviously, people also judge wide eyes and small nose and lips to be far more attractive than any other. It is considered to be attractive. Attraction is a very powerful tool to increase the interpersonal. Physical attraction does catch up eye. It catch up eyes makes you feel the person is confident, has high self-esteem, and obviously is someone who is going to speak well. This is our assumption that we have, and it's rightly true. Another factor based on interaction with others is that more researchers gave us more ideas that there are more external factors that can lead to attraction, which is similarity. Similarity plays an important role in interpersonal attraction. Birds of a feather flock together. The similar that you are, the more attracted that you feel. So the stronger evidence, it's like they're complementary to each other. So higher proportion of similarity, more is the liking. Bryan and Nelson also has studied in 1986, very strongly associated by research. Some of the important determinants that we say, something that can increase your interpersonal attraction: proximity, attractiveness, similarity, exchange, and intimacy. Obviously, more self-disclosure, the more that you disclose to people about yourself, your personal things, the more attractive that you get. Intimate phone calls, talking to somebody, talking your personal grievances to somebody day and night. Remember, that increases your attraction towards them. Also, exchange of favors increases attraction, interpersonal attraction. Also, reciprocity is also considered as one of the most important tool to increase interpersonal attraction, which is also called exchange. Reciprocity is the effect which was also researched by Bachman and Sackert in 1959, who stated and published a study stating reciprocity simply refers to tendency where people feel attracted towards others who tends to like them. So it's like a reciprocal thing. Oh, they like me. I feel they're equally good looking. So it's like a reciprocal thing. People have helped you, you help them back. That's how even attraction talks about. People feel positive about you, you feel positive when they are around. So it's a very reciprocal thing. In basis of these complementary needs, we end up liking the people who like us, disliking the people who dislike us. It's like very complementary. The lock and key thing. You like us, I like us back. You dislike me, I dislike you. So it's like a reciprocal thing. Very common human tendency also. It's something that we all do in our day-to-day living. Then we come to something which is pro-social behavior, a very important component of social psychology. Pro-social behaviors are those, are those intended to help others without looking forward to their own help. So you help others without expecting anything in return. So these actions are categorized by the concerns for, concern for the right feelings, welfare for the others, support for the others, guidance for the others. Behaviors of such which have feelings of empathy and concerns, and you do not expect anything in return is called pro-social behavior. That's what's called pro-social behavior. Walking forward to support others kind of a behavior. These would be sharing, helping, comforting, cooperating, providing. Altruism is an extreme end of pro-social behavior, which is just giving it away to people. Extremely giving to people is altruism. Pro-social behavior is the latter thing, lesser thing than that. It's helping the ones who need help, welfare of the ones who require the help. It's just not blindly giving it to the others. So it's like cooperating, being empathetic, providing to the others. That's pro-social behavior. Now, effect of similarity and dissimilarity. Now we will talk about attraction can be explained by this theory. There are few theories that have to talk about attraction, which similarly will support pro-social behavior. So some theories of attraction are the theory which was similarity and dissimilarity. Balance of Newcomb in 1961 and 58, Hyder stated, according to them, two people like one another and find out that they're similar to one another, their state of balance pleasingly increases. So let's take an example. Two people have started talking to one another and they find out that they are very similar to one another, similar goals, similar likability. They start feeling emotionally pleasant. Whereas let's take two people who find out that dissimilar, it's difficult to manage. They start having unpleasant feelings. So remember, as soon as there are dissimilarity, there would be unpleasant state of mind and emotions. So that's emotionally unpleasant. Also, an explanation why similarity is important. Fistinger in Social Comparison stated that in 1954 that we compare our attitudes and beliefs with others and we judge the accuracy of attitudes and beliefs. So the most similar that we are, that becomes the criteria of our judgment. So obviously, similar people leads to similar emotions, which leads to more attraction. Similar people leading dissimilar emotions will not lead to attraction. There is a repulsion that will always be there. You think alike, but you don't feel good about each other. There's a repulsion. There are also adaptive responses to potential dangers. Gold in 1996 also gave us a very good research here. He stated, according to theories, we have strongly inherited tendency to fear and hate the ones who are different from us. This is like something that we've grown with. People who do not feel common to us, we do not like them. This is a very simplistic thought that we have grown with. Someone who is not like us will be someone that we don't like. So this is important as an evolutionary perspective also, since it helps in survival, reproductive processes. It becomes a part of discrimination and also a part of hate crimes, things which happen in our society. It's because of that. Similar people are usually never liked. They're never considered similar. They're never considered alike us. Now, moving to, as we've understood how similarity and everything is associated to something which is attraction, physical attraction, interpersonal attraction. Now we lead to types of pro-social behavior. Let's understand pro-social behavior, a helping behavior, feeling compassionate, feeling empathetic, guiding, providing to other people. How are they different? How are there any different kind? Pro-social behavior often is represented in single form, uniform forms, different ways also. There are some proactive, reactive, and altruistic. Three kind of pro-social behaviors that we will find. So the one that we have is proactive. Proactive is pro-social that serves self benefiting purposes. So you're doing it because you're doing it to a community. You will get a big name. Your name will be published someday, or your pictures will be given out in the paper. So you support them. So reactive is there are actions that are performed in response to individual needs. So you find someone crossing the road, you quickly go and you do it. Reactive. Someone just fall down, you quickly go and pick them up. Groceries spread apart, you go and help them uh, gather the clutter and put them in their bags and racks, arrange them better bags that they are able to take them. Providing, also altruistic are these include actions that are meant to help others without any support. You never look for personal gain of any kind. Whereas pro-social is usually given to people who need it. So here we are never thinking about our benefit, but equally that has never come to our mind. If it comes to our mind, we will do things like proactive pro-social behavior is done to benefit ourselves. So these are three kinds of pro-social behavior that we have, which is proactive, reactive, and altruistic. Let's always be very differently thinking. Altruistic is always giving, giving, and giving. Socially giving people, never wanting any benefit, never thinking of benefit, and just providing. Pro-social is showing empathy, guidance, and providing people who need it. So the need comes into play. Whereas reactive is the best kind of pro-social behavior. Our actions are performed when there is a response to an individual's need. So this is something that we talked about pro-social behavior and interpersonal interaction. Let's sum up our session by understanding how all of this helps us in understanding what social psychology is. First of all, we behave in the society, that builds up attitude. So as soon as you get into a social group, attitudes are formed. Cluster of thought process, stereotypes are formed. Stereotypes can be positive and negative, as we understood in the first unit itself, right? That we spoke of. Then after that we understood that we have something which is stereotypes. Stereotypes can be both positive and negative, and then we have prejudices which are strongly felt. Prejudices have some sources. We do it because of some causes. There are times when we're competing. There are times when we are only doing it because of the threat of our esteem. And at times it is just prejudgment, right? Why prejudices are needed in the society? Remember, it makes our actions simpler, saves your time. You just have to go to a place and behave the way you want to because you already have a prejudgment. It is never lived. Prejudices are not coming from your personal experiences, it's coming from categories which is made by society or a social norm. Then that strongly leads to discrimination. Remember, discrimination can also happen simply. So this is something we should always remember. Discrimination is not a result of always prejudices. Discrimination at times just happen. There are some ways that we start discrimination. You should identify that in your behavior. Are you not helping some people of a specific community? Are you just tokenism them? You're just tokening them. Or is it reversed? You are helping them right now, but it might come upon their head later. Then we need to know discrimination prejudices can be removed. We need to remove them from society. We should try and remove it. Why? Living on stereotype and discriminations are making our children very impulsive, making them short tempered, making them think less, presume more, assume more about people. They are trying to not use the logic and empirical thought process, systematic thought process is going in vain. Children are becoming judgmental. We need to control it by better learning, better role models, negative or positive reinforcement. We need to make them negate that education of learning discrimination itself from the beginning. We should start recategorizing. Whenever there are groups, start recategorizing group, exchange members. Extremely important that the groups never fight, never discriminate each other on resources or other major big things. Important. Then we came to interpersonal attraction. One of the most amusing part of social psychology this is, the world is, we are interacting, talking to people. One of the reason is interpersonal interaction. Interpersonal attraction is such an important thing. We live on this. We all live on this. The fact that we feel attracted towards somebody is that you have a long-term relationship and a long-term conversation. Interpersonal attraction plays a very important role. Remember, it is ignited by the need to affiliate. Ignited, which is it is driven. Then social situational influences also at times ignited. That means there are situational circumstances that makes you want to be a part of something, affiliate. Also, speaking of this, affiliation is extremely important. I missed this out by the session. I need to specify this to everybody. Ever see your chain of life? You grew up as children, you want to be a part of your you want to be liked, you want to be a part of a group, you want to play with people, you want to play with a group, and you usually your parents will give you a group which is strong, high self-esteem, children who believe in playing and not just sitting in one corner. So we are also situationally affiliating our children because it is psychologically satisfying. It is good for our well-being. We cannot survive without one another, which is we cannot survive as alone. So for that, affiliation is important. So interpersonal attraction is strongly pushed because of this. Also, we always remember emotions will catalyze interpersonal attraction. This is something that I've made you learn today, that even researchers have said positive emotions will make you feel more attracted towards somebody. If someone is giving you really amazing time, making you feel happy, feel good, remember that feel good feeling will always make you attracted towards that person. If that person is making you feel stable, secure, sane, and pleasant about their being with you, and that's automatically make you driven towards them. Attraction will get stronger, the bond will get stronger. Some external factors that we will discuss today, which comes on the screen also, you can just quickly revise that with me. Proximity. What is proximity? Proximity is closeness. Closeness for a longer duration of time. Closeness is physical closeness. Staying together, meeting every day, spending more time. I feel today we can also talk about imagined closeness, which is talking on the phone today. Tech AI is so strong. We probably cannot, negate that. We cannot get away from it and not talk about it. So I feel when we talk about this, proximity today can also be taken as talking on phones, talking on video calls, taking video calls, and also at times I feel taking, speaking to the person all the time, texting them. Today, this can also be considered as proximity. So the reason that I'm, introducing this concept to you is today proximity comes in many forms. We are physically, proximity is like staying close, meeting people every day, talking to them, having proximity is also seen when you have video calls with people. So that's also considered. One of the most powerful tool in interpersonal attraction, I feel, is physical attractiveness. You know that the pleasing effect of having someone who's physically attractive changes everything. Your evaluation completely goes from A to Z, Z to A. Mate selection completely based on physical, interpersonal attraction. Pretty looking individuals who don't want that. What is beautiful is good is something which is always considered. So always remember, we assume physically. This is how research is also quoted. Physically physical attraction makes you feel that the other person is confident, makes you feel that the other person is better spoken, more polished, higher self-esteem. So these are preferences. These preferences makes sure that your interpersonal attraction is stronger. This makes it drive a little more. Also, to understand, always know that speaking of interpersonal attraction, similarity is also being quoted again and again to be a strong part of it. So remember, similarities, similar goals, similar thought process, similar values. Um, at times, also similar kind of physical stature. People start relating to one another better. So if you have a similar kind of stature, also makes you feel not only attracted but also make alike. That alike feeling in similarity tends to happen. Birds of a feather flock together. This is something which is also being researchedly appropriate. Also, two major things: exchange and intimacy. Intimacy is sharing too much. Too much of self-disclosure with somebody can make you feel driven towards them. If you start sharing too much of your concerns, too much of your intimate conversation, things which are not correct, things which are not appropriate, time and again with somebody, remember it's going to lead to attraction. If you build in your relationship with talking too much or telling disclosure of too many things, it's going to fastly grow into physical attraction. Then is reciprocity, which is also called exchange. Exchange is also at times simple money-wise exchange. Favors done, um, taken something, and they give that back to you one time. You do a favor to them, they do a favor. There's a sense of interpersonal attraction that grows very quickly amongst these people. So, and then also scholars have said reciprocity also becomes one of the catalyzing effect of interpersonal attraction when you like somebody and the other person likes you back too. That's like a simple to and fro motion. That's how it goes. You like their company, they end up liking your company. You tend to feel attracted towards them, they start feeling attracted towards you. You like their clothing style, they like your clothing style. So it's like that fondness of reciprocity just builds into interpersonal attraction. Coming to the last thing that we did today, and not to forget, we need to build pro-social behavior in ourselves also. So in social psychology, we need to understand that we need to start in, that intention of helping others who are in need is pro-social behavior. We need to build this in our society because I feel today we are morely occupied with what we want to do. We are getting more self-centered. We are getting more concerned with our personal goals. We are getting more concerned with what we want is what is important. So this is something which is pro-social behavior needs to get in. We need to reinforce our children to this. We need to tell children that pro-social behavior is important, and also pro-social behavior also calms down children's aggressive tendencies. When you start giving to people who need it, you start understanding the difficulties that other people go through. At the time that we are very self-centered and not pro-social, not guiding, not providing, not giving and cooperating, the sense of competitiveness, selfishness, the sense of me always is strong. So pro-social can be seen in the behaviors of helping, providing, cooperating, comforting, and being there for others, especially the others who are in need. Altruism is a completely different, thought process. I mentioned it right away, and I'll tell that again. That when we understand pro-social behavior, always remember, altruism is an altogether different behavior. Pro-social altogether is a different behavior. Pro-social is helping people who are in need. Always remember that. And when we talk about altruism is just giving to people. I'll give you examples also to finish it today and our sessions. Pro-social is, as I mentioned, someone falling down the stairs, you quickly going and helping them because you need to support them. This is the person in need, got injured. Now, looking at people on the road, all sitting, they are doing their thing, their nitty-gritty, but probably not, their income is not sufficient. Providing them meals, providing them education without thinking of your own benefit is altruistic behavior. Probably they don't seem a need. They are doing their daily chores. They are earning, but they're earning minimal that you feel. You feel like doing and providing without any benefit and consistently. That's altruistic behavior. So that's, remember, while pro-social behaviors always represent as a single uniform dimension, it does not have any other dimension. So there's no continuum of pro-social behavior. Pro-social is just helping other people, intentions of helping other people with not needing it in return. There are types. Proactive is like serving when you have a benefit. So, there are people who are donating in the country, but then also that donation costs a name. You have a big name on the purpose of that. So that's a proactive pro-social behavior. Reactive is one of the perfect example of pro-social, which is helping other people who completely are in need. That's the individual need that we have. So that's like a reactive thing. And lastly comes the adaptive system. This completes with understanding the unit 6 today, continuing with unit 6, that how social psychology talks about if you want to stay in a unit, in a social unit, interpersonal attraction is important. And remember, if you want to grow it, you need to make sure that you are positively impacting other people emotionally. You cannot be grumpy. You cannot be demanding all the time. You cannot be negating other people. So reciprocity is another thing. Always remember, you need to make sure that you're providing to people. You are happy. You have a positive impact and a pleasant impact on other people. It will grow. Also, at times, simplicity, similarity is what leading to something which is interpersonal attraction. Remember, if you want to control this, make sure you do not self-disclose things. So these are reasons that I can tell you that if you do not want to build an interpersonal attraction, there are some work jobs, there are some places that interpersonal attraction should to shut down despite its building in. Make sure that there is a cost involved. It's strictly a cost involved. When there is an expense on the other end, they think about helping that interpersonal attraction grow. Make sure disclosure is less, and make sure too much of reciprocity will cost you a lot. That finishes and tells us how attitude stereotype leads to discrimination in the society. It tells us if you're feeling attracted, how physical attractiveness and other components are equally going to be it. And then we will continue with pro-social behavior that we need to build in today in our children to have a happy and a good social influence in our society. So giving and providing behavior is one of the most essential things that we need to teach in social psychology. Again, completing this, signing off with this unit, telling social psychology is the study of social minds and influence on social minds when they are in clusters and in categories and under the influence of people. We humans are social individuals and social beings. That completes with this unit. Thank you, everybody.
విద్యార్థులారా, ఇదివరకు మనము ఆధునిక ప్రజాస్వామ్య దేశాల్లో ఎన్నికలు ఏ విధంగా జరుగుతాయి, ముందు అసలు యాక్చువల్గా ఎన్నికల విధానాలు ఎలా ఉంటాయి, ఒక్కొక్క దేశంలో ఏ ఎన్నికల ద్వారా ప్రజలు ముఖ్యంగా ఓటర్స్ వాళ్ళ యొక్క ప్రతినిధులను ఎన్నుకుంటారు, ఆ విధంగా ఆ ఎన్నుకొనబడిన ప్రతినిధులు ప్రతినిధి సభలలో ఉండి వాళ్ళకు కావాల్సిన చట్టాలు చేస్తారు. తర్వాత పబ్లిక్ విషయాలు, అనేక విషయాలు వాళ్ళు సభల్లో చర్చిస్తారు అనేది మనం నేర్చుకున్నాం. ముఖ్యంగా ఆ లెసన్లో, ఆ రోజు, ఆ సెషన్లో మనం ముఖ్యంగా ఏం నేర్చుకున్నామంటే, మన సింపుల్ మెజారిటీ అండ్ ప్లూరాలిటీ అంటే ఫస్ట్ పాస్ట్ ద పోస్ట్ సిస్టమ్. ఎవరికైతే పోటీ చేసిన వాళ్ళలో ఎవరికైతే ఎక్కువ ఓట్లు వస్తే వాళ్ళను ఓటర్స్గా డిక్లేర్ చేయడం. తర్వాత ఇంకొకటి మెజారిటీ, సింపుల్ మెజారిటీతోని ఒక 50% మెజారిటీతోని ఎన్నిక చేసుకొని ఆ విధంగా ఎన్నికైన వాళ్ళని ఈ సభలకు పంపడం. రెండవది ఏంటంటే సింగిల్ ట్రాన్స్ఫరబుల్ ఓట్. అంటే ఇది ఒక మెజారిటీ పెట్టుకొని, ఒక మెజారిటీ పాయింట్ ఏదైతే ఉందో పెట్టుకొని అన్ని మెజారిటీ వరకు ఫిక్స్ చేసిన మెజారిటీ వరకు వస్తేనే, ఓట్లు వస్తేనే అతన్ని ప్రెసిడెంట్గా నిర్ణయించడం జరిగింది అన్నట్టు. ఫర్ ఎగ్జాంపుల్ 50% ఓట్లు వచ్చిన వాళ్ళకి గెలవడానికి మన అవకాశం ఇవ్వాలని పెట్టుకున్న తర్వాత అది ఆ పాయింట్ వచ్చిన తర్వాతనే వచ్చిన వాళ్ళందరినీ మాత్రమే సభలకు పంపడం జరుగుతుంది. అయితే అందులో తక్కువ వచ్చిన వాళ్ళకి మళ్ళీ ఎక్కువ వచ్చిన వాళ్ళ ఓట్లు ట్రాన్స్ఫర్ చేస్తారు ఎక్కువ వచ్చిన వాళ్ళకి. ఆ విధంగా చాలామంది ఎవరైతే తక్కువ వస్తాయో వాళ్ళని మెల్లమెల్లగా ఎలిమినేట్ చేస్తారు అన్నట్టు. ఎలిమినేట్ చేయడం వల్ల ఏమవుతుంది అంటే, వాళ్ళకి ఈ ఎక్కువ వచ్చిన వాళ్ళకి ఇంకా ఎక్కువ వస్తాయి. తర్వాత అందులో ఎవరికి ఎక్కువ వచ్చినాయి, ఫస్ట్ ఎవరు సెకండ్ ఎవరు ఉన్నారో ఫస్ట్ వాళ్ళని ఎక్కువ వచ్చిన వాటిలలో, ఓట్లు ఎక్కువ వచ్చిన వాటిలో ఫస్ట్ ఎవరు మరి అతని క్యాండిడేట్స్ని డిక్లేర్ చేస్తారు. మూడవది ప్రపోర్షనల్ రిప్రజెంటేషన్. అందులో ముఖ్యంగా పార్టీలకు పార్టీలకు మొత్తంగా దేశం మొత్తంలో వచ్చిన ఓట్ల నిష్పత్తి ప్రకారం సీట్లను అలాట్ చేయడం. ఈ విధంగా అది మనము ఈ పెద్ద పోయిన క్లాస్లో చర్చించుకున్నాం. ఈరోజు మనము యాక్చువల్గా చాలా ముఖ్యమైన రాజనీతి శాస్త్రంలో సెంట్రల్ పాయింట్, అసలు దాని గురించే మాట్లాడతాం. రాజనీతి శాస్త్రంలో దాన్ని కేంద్రీకృతం చేసుకొనే మనం పాలిటిక్స్ని నిర్వచిస్తాం. అదే ముఖ్యమైనది రాజ్యము, స్టేట్. ఈ స్టేట్ ఏదైతే ఉందో, మోడర్న్ స్టేట్ ఏదైతే ఉందో, నిజానికి ఒక ప్రజా సమూహము ఒక టెరిటరీలో ఉంటూ అక్కడ నిశ్చయంగా ప్రత్యేకంగా శాశ్వతంగా జీవిస్తూ వాళ్ళను పరిపాలించటకు, వాళ్ళను ఒక నాగరిక సమూహంగా బ్రతకడానికి, జీవించడానికి తోడ్పడే వ్యవస్థ ఏర్పాటు చేసుకొని అది మన జీవితం కొనసాగిస్తే దాన్ని రాజ్యం అంటారు. అయితే ఈ రాజ్యము, ద స్టేట్ అంటే ఎప్పుడైనా కూడా ఒకటి అంటే ఇది చాలా సింపుల్ అని, గంత సింపుల్ని మీరు మాటిమాటికి నిర్వచిస్తున్నారు, మరి దాన్ని వివరిస్తున్నారు అంటే కొందరికి దానికి కన్ఫ్యూజన్ ఉండొచ్చు. అందుకొరకు ఏం చెప్తున్నానంటే, ద స్టేట్ అనేది ఒక థియరిటికల్ సైద్ధాంతికమైన టర్మ్. దానికి స్టేట్ అనేది ప్రత్యేకంగా రూపం ఉండదు. అందులో టెరిటరీ, సిటిజన్స్, తర్వాత సావరెంటీ, తర్వాత ఇవన్నీ కలిసి దాన్ని స్టేట్ అంటారు కలిసి. దాన్ని స్టేట్ అంటారు. ఆ స్టేట్ యొక్క ముఖ్యమైన ఎలిమెంట్స్ ఇవి ఇందులో ఉన్నాయంటారు. అదే మనము ఇప్పుడు యుఎస్ఏలో తర్వాత ఇండియాలో ఉన్న ప్రాంతాల పేర్లు, ప్రాంతాలకు లీగల్ టర్మ్ స్టేట్ అంటే యునైటెడ్ స్టేట్స్ ఆఫ్ అమెరికా, యూనియన్ ఆఫ్ స్టేట్స్, దట్ ఈస్ డిఫరెంట్ స్టేట్స్ ఇన్ ఇండియా. ఇండియా ఈజ్ యూనియన్ ఆఫ్ స్టేట్స్, మొత్తం 2 ఫెడరేషన్స్ కాబట్టి. ఓకే, సో అది గుర్తుంచుకొని మనం చర్చించేది వాటి పాయింట్ ఏంటంటే రాజ్యము. మనం చర్చించేది ముఖ్యంగా రాజ్యము. సో రాజ్యము, రాజ్యాధికారం, ఎందుకంటే దానికి రాజు, తర్వాత తన సైన్యము, తర్వాత మంత్రి, తర్వాత అన్ని అధికారాలు, తర్వాత అవన్నీ ఫ్యామిలీ, ఇవన్నీ మరి అప్పుడు కూడా రాజ్యం ఉండేది. దాని యొక్క స్వభావము, తర్వాత పరిధి, దాని తర్వాత మన మన ప్రజలకి అది ఇచ్చే సౌకర్యాలు, ప్రజలకి అది బాధ్యత వహించే బాధ్యతలు, అవి కూడా రాజరికం ఉన్నప్పుడు కూడా రాజ్యమే, అది కూడా స్టేటే. అర్థమైందా? సో స్టేట్ అనేది దానికి రాజనీతి మానవ సమాజం పుట్టిన నుంచి ఒక స్టేజ్కి వచ్చిన నుంచి స్టేట్ అనేది ఉంది. స్టేట్ అనేది దానికి రాజు అధికారం కలిగి ఉండేవాడు. ఆ రాజరికం కూడా వారసత్వం వచ్చింది. తర్వాత ఆ రాజుకి మన అనేక అధికారాలు ఉండేది. శాంతి సుఖశాంతుల కొరకు, ప్రజల యొక్క శాంతి సుఖాల కొరకు రాజు చట్టాలు చేసి ఆ చట్టాలు ఇంప్లిమెంట్ చేస్తూ వాళ్ళకి మన శాంతి మరియు సౌకర్యాలు, తర్వాత ఇతరులను కల్పించడానికి తన పరిపాలన చేసేది. అదేవిధంగా ప్రజల యొక్క జీవనము కాపాడడానికి ఇతర దేశాల నుంచి వచ్చే రాజులు వచ్చి దండయాత్ర చేయకుండా వాళ్ళని కాపాడడం, అది రాజ్యం. సో రాజ్యం అనేది ఇది అన్నట్టు, నాట్ ద నేమ్ ఆఫ్ ఏ ప్రావిన్స్ లైక్ బ్రిటిష్ ప్రావిన్స్ ఇన్ ఇండియా, తర్వాత ఇప్పుడు యూనియన్ ఆఫ్ ఇండియన్ స్టేట్స్, తర్వాత ఈసే, అది స్టార్ట్గా దానికి అది ఒక ప్రాంతం పేరు మాత్రమే, యునైటెడ్ స్టేట్స్. ఓకే, అయితే ఇది స్టేట్ అనేది నిజానికి మన అన్సెంట్ కాలంలో, ప్రాచీన కాలంలో కూడా ప్రపంచంలోని వివిధ ప్రాంతాల్లో ఉంది. ఉదాహరణకి గ్రీకులు వాళ్ళు పోలీస్, POLIS, పోలీస్ అని దేశాన్ని పిలిచేది. వాళ్ళ నిజానికి ఒక సిటీనే వాళ్ళ స్టేట్గా చేసుకొని ఆ సిటీ స్టేట్స్ అని పిలిచేది. అదేవిధంగా రోమన్స్ ఇటలీలో సివిటాస్ అని పిలిచేది దేశాన్ని. అదేవిధంగా ఇంకా వేరే ప్రాంతాలలో ప్రాచీన కాలంలో వేరే ప్రాంతాలలో వేరే విధంగా పిలిచేది కాదు. మొత్తం దాన్ని స్టేట్ అనేది నిజంగా ఒక కొన్ని స్పెల్లింగ్లో డిఫరెన్స్ ఉన్నా కూడా, మన పదంలో డిఫరెన్స్ ఉన్నా కూడా అర్థం నిజమైంది మాత్రం ఇదే. ముఖ్యంగా స్టేట్ అంటే ఇది ఒక ఆర్గనైజేషన్, అథారిటీ, రూలర్స్ ఉండడము, సావరిటీ ఉండడము, ప్రదేశం ఉండడము, ప్రజలు ఉండడము, ఇది ఎక్కడైనా కామన్గా ఉండేది. సో మోడర్న్ కాలంలో, లేకపోతే అర్లీ మోడర్న్ కాలంలో ముఖ్యులు ఈ దేశాన్ని రాజ్యాన్ని వేరే విధంగా ఒక కొత్త రూపంలో కొత్తగా నిర్వచించారు. అందులో ముఖ్యులు మన నికోలో మ్యాకియావెల్లీ, అందరికీ తెలుసు కదా. మ్యాకియావెల్లీ అతడు మన దేశంలో చాణక్యుడు ఎటువంటి వాడో, అది వెస్ట్రన్ కంట్రీస్లో మ్యాకియావెల్లీ అటువంటి వాడు అన్నాడు. సో మ్యాకియావెల్లీ ఏమంటే స్టేట్ ఈజ్ ద పవర్ having authority over the people. State is the power having authority over the people or authority over men. అంటే దానికి ఏదైతే ప్రజల మీద అధికారం కలిగి ఉంటుంది, ప్రజలను సే ఫర్ ఎగ్జాంపుల్ మన ఇలా చేయండి, అలా చేయండి, తర్వాత మా చట్టం నేను చేసే చట్టాలను మీరు మన ఒబీడియంట్గా పాటించాలి. తర్వాత కావాల్సినప్పుడు మీరు సైన్యంలో చేరి మన దేశాన్ని రక్షించాలి. సో అనేక విధాల ఆ రూలర్ రూలర్ అనేది పవర్ అనేది రూలర్. తర్వాత అతనికి ఆమెకు ఉండే అధికారాన్ని ఆ విధంగా అది కూడా అధికారం ఉండాలి. ఒక టెరిటరీలో ఒక ప్రదేశంలో ఉన్న ప్రజల మీద అధికారం కలిగి ఉండాలి. సో ఇట్ ఈస్ ద పవర్ having authority over men in a territory or in a society. ఓకే, సో ఇది మన ఒక బ్రాడ్గా మ్యాకివెల్లీ అతను అనేవాడు దీన్ని స్టేట్ని నిర్వచించాడు. అదేవిధంగా వీటన్నిటినీ ఇదే విధంగా అనుకోడు తర్వాత వచ్చిన శాస్త్రజ్ఞులు రాజనీతి తాత్వికులు కూడా ఇదే ముఖ్యంగా మన మోడల్గా చేసుకొని వాళ్ళు స్టేట్ గురించి రాయడం జరిగింది. బాగా మన ఆలోచించి అసలు స్టేట్ అనేది ఎట్లా పుట్టింది, ఎందుకు పుట్టింది, ఒక దేశంలో ఆ రాజ్యం యొక్క అధికారాలు, చట్టాలు, అందులో ఉన్న ప్రజలు ఎందుకు పాటించాలి, ఎందుకు అనుసరించాలి, వాళ్ళు చెప్పినట్టు పోయి మన దేశాన్ని రక్షించుకోవడానికి ఎందుకు సైన్యంలో చేరి మన ప్రాణాలు అర్పించాలి, ఇవన్నీ విషయాలను వాళ్ళు సిద్ధాంతీకరించి రాశారు. ముఖ్యంగా స్టేట్ ఎప్పుడు పుట్టింది, బర్త్ ఆఫ్ ద స్టేట్ అనే దాని గురించి అతని తర్వాత మ్యాకివెల్లీ తర్వాత మన రాయడం జరిగింది. అందులో ముఖ్యంగా థామస్ హాబ్స్, జాన్ లాక్, తర్వాత మన జీన్స్ రూసో ముఖ్యమైన రచయితలు. వీళ్ళందరినీ నిజానికి స్టేట్ సోషల్ కాంట్రాక్ట్ థియరీ ఆఫ్ ద స్టేట్ నిజానికి వీళ్ళు చెప్పిన మన సిద్ధాంతాన్ని పేరు పెట్టారు. వీళ్ళు చెప్పిన సిద్ధాంతం, వీళ్ళు రాసిన డెవలప్ చేసిన రూపొందించిన సిద్ధాంతాన్ని వాళ్ళు మన ముఖ్యంగా సామాజిక ఓడంబడిక సిద్ధాంతం అని అంటారు. సో మన ఇది రాజ్యం అనేది ఉనికిలోనికి ఎలా వచ్చింది, తర్వాత ఇప్పుడున్న అతను కొన్ని దశాబ్దాల కింద ఉన్న స్టేట్లో రాజు ఏ విధంగా నియమించబడేది, అధికారంలోకి వచ్చేది, తర్వాత ఒకవేళ అతను చనిపోతే మళ్ళీ కొత్త రాజు ఎవరు వచ్చేది, వీటన్నిటిని గురించి నిజానికి చర్చించడం జరిగింది అన్నట్టు. సో ఈ మ్యాకివెల్లీ తర్వాత ముఖ్యంలో చెప్పాను కదా ఇప్పుడే, హాబ్స్, లాక్, రూసో అనే వాళ్ళు ముఖ్యమైన సోషల్ కాంట్రాక్ట్ థియరీ అనేది చెప్పారు. వాళ్ళ యొక్క ముఖ్య ఉద్దేశం ఏంటంటే స్టేట్ అనేది మనుషుల యొక్క, పౌరుల యొక్క, మానవుల యొక్క, ప్రజల యొక్క మన ఏది అవసరం కొరకి ప్రజల ప్రాణాలు కాపాడుకోవడానికి కాపాడడానికి రాజ్యం అనేది పుట్టింది. ఆ రాజ్యంలో ముఖ్యంగా ఉండేది రాజు, తర్వాత చట్టాలు చేసే రాజు, తర్వాత ప్రజలపై అధికారం ఉండే రాజు, వేరే వాళ్ళకు ఉండదు. ఈ స్టేట్ ఈజ్ ద ఓన్లీ బాడీ విచ్ ఈస్ హ్యావింగ్ అథారిటీ ఓవర్ ద పీపుల్. సో వాళ్ళ సామాజిక ఓడంబడిక సిద్ధాంతం ద్వారా ప్రజలు మన సమాజం ఉనికిలోనికి రాకముందు, సమాజము ప్రాకృతిక సమాజంలో ఉన్నప్పుడు ప్రజలు సుఖశాంతులతో జీవించలేకపోయారు. అలా జీవించినప్పుడు నిజానికి వాళ్ళ మధ్యన ప్రజల మధ్యన ఒక సమూహం మధ్యన ఇంకొక సమూహం మధ్యన ఇప్పటికీ యుద్ధాలు అంటే యుద్ధాలు కాదు, పెద్ద యుద్ధాలు అయితే అట్లా కాకుండా మన వాళ్ళ మధ్యన కొట్లాటలు, ఫిజికల్గా కొట్లాటలు, హింసాత్మకమైన పోరాటాలు జరిగింది. సో ఆ విధంగా అటువంటి పరిస్థితిని అశాంతియుత పరిస్థితిని కాపాడడానికి రాజ్యం అధికారంలోకి వచ్చింది. తర్వాత ఆ ఓడంబడి ఇదొక నిజానికి ఈ సిద్ధాంతం, సామాజిక ఓడంబడి సిద్ధాంతం ఒక ఊహాత్మకమైనది, ఊహించరా సార్ ఆ రియాలిటీని ఎందుకు వచ్చింది, దేనికి వచ్చింది అనే దాన్ని బట్టి ఊహించి ఈ సామాజిక ఓడంబడి సిద్ధాంతాన్ని రూపొందించడము జరిగింది. అయితే ఈ అంటే ముఖ్యంగా మోడర్న్ ఈ సామాజిక ఒడంబడి సిద్ధాంతం నిజానికి లిబరల్ అంటే ఉదారవాద సిద్ధాంతము, రాజ్యం యొక్క పుట్టుకను చెప్పేది ఈ విధంగా చెప్పేది ఉదారవాద సిద్ధాంతము. ముఖ్యంగా ఈ ఉదారవాదులు అంటే ఎవరు? ఈ హాబ్స్, లాక్. అయితే వీళ్ళు ఇప్పుడే చెప్పాను ఏంటంటే వీళ్ళు సామాజిక ఒడంబడిక ద్వారా ప్రజలు తమ యొక్క స్టేట్ను వాళ్ళు తమరే రూపొందించుకున్నారు. కాబట్టి అల్టిమేట్ పవర్ అందులో రాజుకు కాకుండా, పాలకునికి కాకుండా, రూలర్కి కాకుండా మన ప్రజలకే నిజానికి ఉండేది. ప్రజలే తాము నిర్ణయించుకున్నారు. అంటే నిజానికి ఇదివరకు ఒక రకమైన సిద్ధాంతం ఉంది, దైవాస సంభూత రాజ్యం యొక్క పుట్టుక ద్వారా రాజ్యం ఏర్పడింది అనేది చెప్పే సిద్ధాంతం, డివైన్ రైట్ థియరీ ఆఫ్ ద ఆరిజిన్ ఆఫ్ ద స్టేట్ అనేది కూడా ఉండేది. సో కానీ ఇది మొత్తం మీద బ్రాడ్గా ఈ 3 లిబరల్ థింకర్స్ ఉన్నారు కదా, హాబ్స్, లాక్, రూసో అని చెప్పిన సామాజిక ఒడంబడిక సిద్ధాంతమే దానికి చాలా మన ప్రాబల్యము సంపాదించింది. దాన్ని బట్టి అందరూ అర్థం చేసుకున్నారు. తర్వాత వీళ్ళు ముఖ్యంగా ఏమంటారంటే రాజ్యం అనేది అది హాబ్స్ ఒక విధంగా స్టేట్కి అధికారం ఇస్తాడు, కానీ ఆ అధికారులు ఎందుకు ఇస్తాడు అంటే, ఎందుకు ఆపాదించాలంటే ఆ విధంగా అధికారం ఉంటేనే ఆ రాజ్యము ప్రజల యొక్క సంక్షేమాన్ని చూడగలుగుతుంది. ప్రజల యొక్క ప్రజల్లో దురాక్రమణ కాదు, డిసిప్లిన్, క్రమశిక్షణ ఏర్పాటు చేసి కొన్ని చట్టాలు చేసి ఆ చట్టాల ద్వారానే పరిపాలించింది. అంటే ఇదంతా ఇది కూడా ఏ విధంగా ప్రజలే తమ యొక్క బాగు కొరకు, తమ ప్రశాంత జీవితం గడపడానికి కొరకు వాళ్ళే ఓడంబడిక చేసుకొని మన రాజ్యము ఏర్పాటు చేసుకున్నారు అని ముఖ్యులు అంటారు. అయితే ఇది లిబరల్ అంటే. తర్వాత ఇంకోటి ఏంటంటే, ఎప్పుడైతే రాజ్యము తన యొక్క ముఖ్య బాధ్యత, ముఖ్య విధి అయిన ఇది ప్రజల యొక్క జీవితాలను కాపాడము, ప్రజలకు సౌకర్యాలు కల్పించడము, తర్వాత ప్రజల మధ్యన ఇది భేదాభిప్రాయాలు వచ్చి తర్వాత మన సంఘర్షణలకు దిగకుండా కాపాడేది స్టేట్ అనేది. అయితే ఈ స్టేటు సామాజిక ఒడంబడికగా వచ్చినప్పుడు నిజానికి మళ్ళీ వాళ్ళ యొక్క ప్రజల యొక్క జీవనానికి, డెవలప్మెంట్కి పరిమితమై ఉండాలి. అంటే ఇదేంటి అంటే స్టేట్ ఇదివరకు అంటే ఇదివరకటి కాలంలో ఉన్న మన అబ్సల్యూట్ నిరంకుశ అధికారం కలిగి ఉన్న రూలర్లే కాకుండా నిజానికి ప్రజల యొక్క బాగోగుల కొరకు, ప్రజల యొక్క జీవిత రక్షణ కొరకు ఉండాలి అని చెప్తారు. అయితే అందుకొరకే ముఖ్యంగా ఇంకా ఈ హబ్స్ కాకుండా ముఖ్యంగా జాన్ లాక్ అతను మాత్రం పూర్తిగా లిమిటెడ్ స్టేట్ అంటారు. లిమిట్స్ ఆఫ్ ద స్టేట్ ఓకే, అధికారం మన ఉనికిలోకి వచ్చింది, కానీ దాని యొక్క ఉద్దేశం ఏదై ఉండాలంటే ప్రజల యొక్క లైఫ్ని బట్టి ప్రాపర్టీ అది కాపాడాలి. ఒకవేళ కాపాడకపోతే అది అంతేకాకుండా రాజ్యము కూడా మన పరిపాలకులు కూడా ఒక రాజ్యం ఏర్పరచుకొని రాజ్యాంగబద్ధంగా పాలన సాగించాలా. ఇది ఆ రాజ్యాంగానికి నిజానికి రాజ్యం, తర్వాత ముఖ్యంగా రాజ్యాన్ని నడిపించే ఏజెన్సీ ఏదైతే ఉన్నదో అది గవర్నమెంట్ దీనికి పరిమితమై ఉండాలా. అందుకోసం లిమిటెడ్ పర్పస్ ఆఫ్ ద స్టేట్. తను ఇష్టం వచ్చినట్టు పరిపాలించడానికి వీల్లేదు. లిమిటెడ్ స్టేట్ పవర్స్ ఆఫ్ ద గవర్నమెంట్ ఆర్ లిమిటెడ్ ఇన్ ఆల్ the 3 contractualist theories Hobbes' theory of the origin of the state, Locke's theory of the origin of the state, and what it is, Rousseau's theory of the origin of the state. ఓకే, సో ఇది అయితే ఇక్కడ దీని యొక్క ప్రభావం నిజానికి వెస్టర్న్ కంట్రీస్లో చాలామంది పడింది. దీన్ని చాలామంది పడింది. నిజానికి వీళ్ళు చెప్పిన ప్రకారము నిజానికి ఎక్కడ మన ప్రత్యక్షంగా ఊహాత్మక అయిందంటే ఎక్కడ నిజంగా జరగలేదు. కానీ ఈ విధంగానే జరిగినట్టు, ఈ విధంగా అంటే అదే కాకుండా ఈ విధంగా దీని మోడల్గా ఈ ప్రాసెస్లోనే దానికి రాజ్యాలు కూర్చాయి. తర్వాత అందులో రాజ్యాధికారాన్ని చేపట్టినప్పుడు అప్పుడు వాళ్ళు ప్రజలకి అవన్నీ సుఖ సంతోషాలు కలిగించాడు. నిజానికి ఒకవేళ మనం ఈ ప్రపంచం, ఈ రాష్ట్రము, ఈ రాజ్యాధికారము చలాయించి ఒక ఏజెన్సీ లేకపోతే మనం బతకలేము అనేవి అది ఊహించుకొని వాళ్ళు రాశారు. సో అందువల్ల నిజానికి అప్పుడు నిజంగా వాస్తవంగా జరిగిన విషయాలకు వీళ్ళు అనుకునే విధానం ఏదైతే ఉందో అది నిజంగా మ్యాచ్ అవుతుంది, నాట్ మిస్ మ్యాచ్. సో అందుకొరకు అటువంటి సిద్ధాంతాల యొక్క ప్రభావం చాలా ప్రజల మీద, మన శాస్త్రజ్ఞుల మీద పడింది, సమాజం మీద పడింది అని చెప్పవచ్చు. అందుకోసం ఎక్కువ యాక్సెప్టబుల్గా ఉంది. ఏంటి లిమిటెడ్ హాబ్స్ లా రూసో థియరీ, సామాజిక ఒడంబడి సిద్ధాంతం ఏదైతే ఉందో అది మన మన అధికారాన్ని, రాజ్యాధికారాన్ని పరిమితం చేస్తుంది, నియంత్రణ పెడుతుంది, కండిషన్స్ పెడుతుంది. అయితే ఇంకొక ముఖ్యమైన రాజ్యము పుట్టుక మరియు పరిణామం గురించి ఉందన్నట్టు. అదే మార్క్సియన్ థియరీ ఆఫ్ ద స్టేట్. మార్క్సియన్ థియరీ ఆఫ్ ద స్టేట్ ఏదైతే ఉందో దానికి చాలా ఈ లిబరల్ థింకర్స్, లిబరలిజంకు వ్యతిరేకంగా భిన్నంగా, పూర్తిగా భిన్నంగా అతను రాజ్యం యొక్క పుట్టుక మరియు పరిణామాల గురించి చర్చించాడు, రాశాడు. దాన్ని ఏమంటారు? క్లాస్ థియరీ ఆఫ్ ద స్టేట్ ఆర్ మార్క్సియన్ థియరీ ఆఫ్ ద స్టేట్. అంటే ఇప్పుడు క్లాస్ థియరీ అని అంటే ఏంటంటే ఇంకా వేరే విధంగా మార్క్సే కాకుండా వేరే వాళ్ళు మన ఒక సిద్ధాంతాన్ని దీని యొక్క స్వభావంతోనే, ఈ యొక్క మన లక్షణాలతోనే రాజ్యాన్ని నిర్వచించి మన డెవలప్ చేస్తే అది దానికి ఒక సిద్ధాంతము అవుతుంది. ఆ సిద్ధాంతాన్నే దానికి మార్క్సియన్ థియరీ ఆఫ్ ద ఆరిజిన్ ఆఫ్ ద స్టేట్ అని అంటారు. సో మార్క్సియన్ థియరీ ఆఫ్ ద ఆరిజిన్ ఆఫ్ ది స్టేట్ ఏదైతే ఉందో అదేమంటుందంటే, ఓకే ప్రజలను రక్షిస్తుంది, కానీ దాని ముఖ్యమైన ఉద్దేశము, ముఖ్యమైన లక్షణము ఈ రాజ్యానికి ఏదైతే ఉందో అది దానికి సమాజంలో ఉండే డామినెంట్ క్లాస్, అప్పర్ క్లాస్, వెల్ టు డూ క్లాస్, వెల్దీ క్లాస్కి వాళ్ళను ఊడిగం చేయడమే దాని యొక్క ముఖ్యమైన లక్షణము అని ఈ మార్క్సియన్ థియరీ ఆఫ్ ద స్టేట్ అంటారు. నిజానికి మార్క్సియన్ థియరీ ఆఫ్ ద ఆరిజిన్ ఆఫ్ ది స్టేట్ ఏదైతే ఉందో, ఏ విధంగా ఒక రాజ్యంలో మన ప్రాపర్టీడ్ క్లాసెస్, డామినెంట్ క్లాసెస్, వెల్దీ క్లాసెస్ ఉంటారో వాళ్ళకు అనుగుణంగా నిజానికి మన ప్రభుత్వం కొనసాగుతుంది, అధికారంలో మనగలుగుతుంది అనే దానికి కొంచెం మనం వెనక్కి కూడా మనం పోవచ్చు. ఎట్లా అంటే మనము గ్రీస్లో సిటీ స్టేట్ అన్నాము, పోలీస్ అన్నాము. అయితే ఆ పోలీసులో నిజానికి రాజ్యంలో చట్టాలు చేయడానికి నిజానికి చాలామంది పాల్గొంటారు అని పుస్తకాల్లో రాసు. అది కూడా ఒక రకమైన డెమోక్రసీ, సిటీ స్టేట్. ఎందుకంటే ప్రజలు చర్చించడం, చట్టాలు చేయడానికి ఇందులో అందరూ డైరెక్ట్గా పార్టిసిపేట్ డైరెక్ట్ డెమోక్రసీ అంటారు. ఓకే, సో డైరెక్ట్ డెమోక్రసీ అన్నప్పుడు సమాజంలో ఉన్న ప్రజలందరూ చట్టసభలలో చర్చించే సభలలో పాల్గొంటారా అంటే నో. అక్కడ నిజానికి ఎవరైతే పార్టిసిపేట్ చేస్తారో వాళ్ళు ఆ దేశానికి, ఆ సమాజంలో పౌరులై ఉండాలా. పౌరులు అంటే ఏంటంటే ఎవరైతే మొట్టమొదటి నుంచి ఒక జాతి, ఒక దేశం, ఒక ప్రదేశంలో మొట్టమొదటి నుంచి ఉన్నారో వాళ్ళు మన పౌరులుగా ఉంటారు. అయితే ఇక్కడ మన అరిస్టాటిల్ బాగా చర్చించాడు. సమాజంలో నిజానికి మన మాస్టర్స్ అండ్ స్లేవ్స్ అనే రెండు ముఖ్యమైన రకాల ప్రజలు జీవించారు. అయితే ఇక్కడ ఈ మన ఈ వెనకట అంటే యాన్సెంట్లో ఈ సభలలో పాల్గొని మన ప్రభుత్వంలో పార్ట్నర్షిప్ చేసే వాళ్ళని నిజానికి ఎవరైతే ఉంటారో ఓటు హక్కు, తర్వాత రాజకీయ హక్కు ఎవరైతే ఉంటారో వానికి నిజానికి మన ప్రాపర్టీ మాత్రం ఉండాలి. మన సమాజంలో ఆస్తులున్న వాళ్ళే ఓటర్స్గా ఉండేది. ఆస్తులున్న వాళ్ళే ఓటర్స్గా ఉండేది. మాస్టర్స్ ఏదైతే ఉన్నారో నిజంగా అందులో ఆస్తులున్న వాళ్ళు ఎవరు మాస్టర్స్ క్లాస్. ఇది నేను ఇప్పుడు అన్నాను కదా, సమాజము రెండు ఇంపార్టెంట్ వర్గాలుగా చీలి ఉండేది. ఒకరు బానిసలు, ఒకరు మాస్టర్స్. అయితే ఇక్కడ అరిస్టాటిల్ అంత గొప్పవాడు అని కూడా దానికి ఆ యొక్క విధానాన్ని అతను చాలా మట్టికి సమర్థించాడు. అంటే ఫస్ట్ ఏంటంటే వెల్దీ పీపుల్ ఓన్లీ షుడ్ బికమ్ మాస్టర్స్ అండ్ రూల్ partners in the sharing the power of the state, and not the people, that is slaves, who are having no property and who are not having any actually personal development to become fit for the rulers. Members of the legislative bodies, upper legislative bodies. అయితే అంటే మనం ఏమంటున్నాం ఇప్పుడు, మార్క్స్ పుట్టకముందే ఈ విధంగా సొసైటీలో కొందరు మాత్రమే అధికారం కలిగి ఉండేది. చట్టసభలలో పాల్గొనడానికి, చట్టాలు చేయడానికి, తర్వాత రిప్రజెంట్ చేయడానికి అందరూ ఓటర్స్ అందరూ నిజానికి ఆ చట్టసభల్లో పోవడానికి, ఎన్నికల్లో పడడానికి హక్కు ఉండదు. ఓటు హక్కు అందరికీ లేకుండా. సో ఇట్ వాజ్ కన్ఫైన్డ్. తర్వాత చాలా మన శతాబ్దాలు ఏమో ఇదే విధంగా సమాజంలో పాలిటిక్స్ దానికి నడిచింది అని చెప్పుకోవచ్చు. అది ఎలా అంటే మార్క్స్ ఏమంటాడంటే అసలు రాజ్యం పుట్టిందే సమాజంలో డామినెంట్ క్లాస్ అంటే డామినెంట్ క్లాస్ ఏంటంటే ప్రాపర్టీ ఎంత ఎక్కువ ఉంటే అంత దానికి అధినేతలుగా ఉండే వర్గం ప్రాపర్టీ క్లాస్. ఈ ప్రాపర్టీ క్లాస్ కోసమే దానికి దేశం మన ఏదండి స్టేట్ పుట్టింది. ఆఫ్ కోర్స్ అది ప్రజల యొక్క ఆస్తుపాస్తులు కాపాడుతూ ప్రజల యొక్క జీవనాన్ని రక్షిస్తూ ఉండేది నిజమే. కానీ ముఖ్యంగా ఇందులో డామినెంట్ క్లాస్ అంటే అత్యధిక మన ఏమంటారు ల్యాండ్, తర్వాత ఇతర రకాల ఆస్తులు ఉన్న వాళ్ళకి దానికి మన ఓటు వేసే హక్కు ఉండేది. సో వాళ్ళు ఆ దేశానికి సంబంధించిన చట్టాలు ఆ దేశంలో ప్రజలు ఎన్నుకుంటున్నారు. కానీ నిజం ఏమిటంటే మార్క్స్ ఆ దేశంలో ప్రజలు ఆ సభలకు ఎన్నికయ్యేవాళ్ళు నిజానికి అందరూ రిచ్ పీపుల్ అంటే వాళ్ళకి కొన్ని మన ప్రాంతాల మీద ఓనర్షిప్ ఉంటుంది, ప్రాంతాల మీద హక్కులు ఉంటాయి. సో ఇది ఈ విధంగా మన ప్రజలకి మేలు చేస్తుందని యూనో ఏదైతే ఏజెన్సీ ఉందో దాన్ని లేటర్ ఆన్గా స్టేట్గా మార్చారు. అది నిజానికి దాని ముఖ్య ఉద్దేశము పుట్టుక ఉద్దేశం ఏంటంటే వాళ్ళ మన ఆస్తులను కాపాడుకోవడానికి. అయితే ఇక్కడ మనకి బానిస మాస్టర్ బానిస ఏదైతే ఉందో సంబంధం ఉందో అది ఏది సూచిస్తుందంటే ఏది చెప్తుందంటే అందరి సమాజంలోని అందరు పౌరులు కాదు అని. సో మనం అది హిస్టారికల్గా నిజానికి ఏ విధంగా డీటెయిల్స్ ఇచ్చి మన నిజమేంటి అబద్ధం ఏంటంటే ఇచ్చడానికి బాగా చదవాల్సి ఉంటుంది. డెమోక్రసీ అన్నతో చాలామంది ఏమంటారు గ్రీసులో ఉండే డెమోక్రసీ, ఇటలీలో ఉండే డెమోక్రసీ నిజమే ఉండే, కానీ ఆ డెమోక్రసీ మాత్రం కొందరికే ఉండేది. ఆ సభ ఎన్నుకొన ఆ ఫ్రీడమ్ ఏది సభకి ఎన్నుకొనబడడం అనే ఫ్రీడమ్ అనేది నిజానికి ఫ్రీడమ్ అనేది అందరికీ లేకుండా అన్నట్టు, కొందరికి ఉండేది. సో ఇట్ వాజ్ ఎ క్లాస్ స్టేట్ అకార్డింగ్ టు మార్క్స్. సో వేరే వెస్టర్న్ కంట్రీస్లో ఉన్న స్టేట్ కూడా ఇట్ వాజ్ ఎ క్లాస్ స్టేట్. నిజానికి ఆ క్లాస్ స్టేట్ ఆ క్లాస్ యొక్క సౌకర్యాలను అధికారాలను కాపాడడానికే నిజానికి ఈ రాజ్యం పుట్టింది అని చెప్పచ్చు. సో ఈ విధంగా రెండు మోడర్న్గా ఇప్పుడు ఆపరేషన్లో ఉన్నాయి. ఒకటి ముఖ్యమైనది లిబరల్ థియరీ ఆఫ్ ద స్టేట్, లిబరల్ పద్ధతిలో అధికారం ఇచ్చే విధానం. అదేవిధంగా మన ఒకే క్లాస్కి మన ఊడిగం చేసే విధంగా ఇది ప్రభుత్వము తర్వాత సైన్యం ఇవన్నీ యంత్రాంగం ఉంటుంది వాళ్ళని రక్షించడానికి. అంటే ఆస్తిపరుడు ఆస్తి లేని వారి యొక్క దాడికి మన అనుగుణంగా ఏర్పడే రాజ్యమే నిజానికి ఇది మార్క్స్ అండ్ కాన్సెప్ట్ ఆఫ్ ద స్టేట్. ఇట్స్ ఎ క్లాస్ స్టేట్. ఇట్ ప్రొటెక్ట్ ద ఇంట్రెస్ట్ అండ్ వెల్త్ ఆఫ్ ద నిజానికి ద ప్రాపర్టీ సిటిజన్స్. సో దీన్ని ఏమంటారు క్లాస్ థియరీ ఆఫ్ స్టేట్. క్లాస్ థియరీ ఆఫ్ ద స్టేట్ అంటే వర్గ సమాజంలో ఉండే మన సంపద రిచ్ పీపుల్ ఇది మన ఓవర్ పూర్ పీపుల్ మీద డామినేట్ చేసి న్యాచురల్గా ఈ రాజకీయాల్లో పాల్గొనడం కూడా దానికి వాళ్ళకి రిచ్ పీపుల్కి వీలైతుంది. కాబట్టి అసలు క్లాస్ స్టేట్ అనేది నిజానికి ఒక సరి అయినది, ఒక రీజనబుల్ సిద్ధాంతం అని నిజంగా మనం నమ్మవచ్చు. అయిపోయిందా? ఈ విధంగా స్టేట్ అనేది మన ఇంకా మార్క్స్ తర్వాత అలుగులే అఫ్కోర్స్ మార్క్స్కే కాకుండా ఇతరులు లైక్ జెరెమీ బెంథామ్ యొక్క సిద్ధాంతం ఇంకా కొంచెం అడ్వాన్స్ అవుతుంది. అంటే పాత ఏది జీవితాన్ని రక్షించుకోవడము, జీవనాన్ని రక్షించుకోవడం, మన ప్రాణం కాపాడడానికి తర్వాత అనేక సౌకర్యాలు పొందడానికి రాజ్యం పుట్టదు. కానీ దానికి జెరెమీ బెంథామ్ అంటే ది స్టేట్ is born to promote the maximum happiness of the maximum number of people, maximum happiness of highest happiness of the largest number of people అని అతను జెరెమీ బెంథామ్. దానికి అతను చాలా గొప్పవాడు. దానికి అతను జైళ్ళలో ఉండి కూడా ఏ విధంగా ప్రజలు సౌకర్యాలు పొందాలి అని పొందుతున్నారు, దాన్ని పొందుతున్నారు కూడా అతని యొక్క ప్రజల వల్ల. సో స్టేట్ ఈజ్ ద స్టేట్ ఈజ్ ద ఏజెంట్ ఆర్ ఇన్స్ట్రుమెంట్ ఫర్ అచీవింగ్ హైయెస్ట్ హ్యాపీనెస్ ఆఫ్ ద హైయెస్ట్ నెంబర్ ఆఫ్ ద పీపుల్. అది ఆ విధంగా అతని టైంలోని మన జేఎస్ మిల్మర్ చేసేది కొన్ని రెస్ట్రిక్షన్స్ పెడతాడు. కానీ అది కూడా ఈ మన జీన్ బౌలిన్ తర్వాత వీళ్ళందరూ నిర్వచించిన ప్రకారమే దానికి రాజ్యాన్ని చూశారని చెప్పవచ్చు అన్నట్టు. అయితే ఓకే, సో ఇది మనకి నిజానికి మన దేశాలు ఏ విధంగా పుట్టినాయి, ఏ విధంగా ఎలక్షన్లో పాల్గొన్నాయి, తర్వాత ప్రజాస్వామ్య దేశాలని అవి మన ఏర్పాటు చేసుకున్నాయి అని చెప్పాలి. తర్వాత ఇక్కడ మనది ఇప్పుడు మన యొక్క టాపిక్కి సెంటర్కి వద్దాం. ఏంటంటే ఈ స్టేట్ అనేది కూడా మొట్టమొదటి ఇదివరకు చదివినట్టు కానీ రాజకీయ దృక్పథంతో మన స్టేట్ యొక్క ఉనికిని డెవలప్మెంట్ మనం నేర్చుకున్నాం కదా. సో ప్రతి దేశంలో లేక ఒక్కొక్క దేశంలో రాజ్యం ఉంది, రాజ్య వ్యవస్థ అనేది ఒక తీరుగానే ఉంటుంది, ఒక తీరు ఉండదు. ఒక తీరు ఉండదు. ఒక దేశంలో ఒక తీరు ఉంటుంది, రెండో దేశంలో ఇంకోటి. ఫర్ ఎగ్జాంపుల్ కిమ్ జాంగ్, ఇది నార్త్ కొరియన్ లీడర్ అన్నాడు. వాడు రాజ్యమే తన కోసం పుట్టింది అనుకుంటున్నాడు అన్నట్టు. రాజ్యమే తన దేశం రాజ్యం కొరకే, రాజ్యమే తనకు పుట్టింది, రాజ్యమే తనకు అనుగుణంగా మారాలి అనే విధంగా వన్ పార్ట్నర్ లీడర్. అది మరి ఇటువంటి చాలా ఆధునిక పరిస్థితులు ఉన్న కాలంలో అతన్ని ఎందుకు మనగలుగుతున్నారంటే అతని దగ్గర ఆటోక్ బాంబు ఉంది. తనకు ఎవరేమన్నా అతను క్వశ్చన్ చేస్తే, ఎవరైనా మన దేశాన్ని దండెత్తే అతను ఆటం బాంబు ఉపయోగించడానికి సిద్ధంగా ఉన్నాడు. అసలు నిజానికి అతని వల్ల అతని యొక్క ప్రజలు చాలా సఫర్ అవుతున్నట్టు అనవచ్చు. ఎందుకంటే మన అత్యధిక అధికారం ఉండడం అనేది నిజానికి తప్పు. అయితే అక్కడ ఒక రకమైన విప్లవం వస్తుందని ఆశిస్తాము, అది ఓకే. సో ఈ విధంగా ఒక్కొక్క రాజ్యము, ఒక్కొక్క సమాజంలో ఒక తీరుగా రాజ్యము మన ప్రభుత్వం ఉంటుంది. అయితే ఆ ప్రభుత్వం ఏదైతే ఉందో నిజానికి మొట్టమొదటి పాశ్చాత్య దేశంలో సమాజాలు అభివృద్ధి చెందినట్టు. ఫస్ట్ ఇండస్ట్రియలైజేషన్ కావడము, తర్వాత మన దాని ప్రకారంగా మన రాజ్యాన్ని నిర్మించడము, రాజ్య వ్యవస్థలను రూపొందించడం మొదలగు వాటిని చేయడము జరిగింది అన్నట్టు. అయితే ఇప్పుడు ఒక 4-5 దశాబ్దాల నుంచి ఒక మన వన్ సెంచరీ, ఒక శతాబ్దం అనేది నిజానికి మనము పరిగణించినట్లయితే మన డెవలప్డ్, ఇండస్ట్రియలైజ్డ్, మోడర్నైజ్డ్ స్టేట్స్ ఏదైతే ఉన్నాయో అవి నిజానికి కొన్ని కారణాల వల్ల, కొంత బ్యాక్గ్రౌండ్ వల్ల నిజానికి వెస్ట్రన్ కంట్రీస్లో ఏర్పడ్డాయి అని చెప్పొచ్చు. మోడర్న్ స్టేట్స్ నిజానికి ముఖ్యంగా వెస్ట్రన్ కంట్రీస్లో అది డెవలప్మెంట్ జరుగుతున్నప్పుడు వాళ్ళు ఉపయోగించే ఆయుధాలు కానీ, తర్వాత వాళ్ళు మన ప్రొడక్ట్ చేసే మన యుద్ధ సామాగ్రి కానీ దానికి మోడర్నైజేషన్ వస్తూ వచ్చింది. సో అదే ఆ మోడర్నైజేషన్ అనేది, ఇండస్ట్రియలైజేషన్ అనేది ఒక యుద్ధ రంగంలోనే కాకుండా వేరే అనేక రంగాల్లో ఉండేది. సో అది వెస్ట్రన్ కంట్రీస్లో ముందుగా వచ్చింది కాబట్టి వాళ్ళు క్యాపిటలిస్ట్ దానికి మార్క్ దీని గురించి బాగా చెప్తారు. క్యాపిటలిస్ట్ డెవలప్మెంట్ అనేది ఎప్పుడైతే వెస్ట్రన్ కంట్రీ జరిగింది అప్పుడు నిజానికి చాలా వరకు డెమోక్రసీ అనేది పడిపోయింది అని చెప్పొచ్చు. సో ముఖ్యంగా ఇప్పుడే చెప్పుకున్నాం మనము, ఇది సామాజిక ఓడంబడిక సిద్ధాంతము ఏదైతే ఉందో దానికి సామాజిక ఓడంబడిక సిద్ధాంతం ప్రకారమే నిజానికి రాజ్యాలు ఏర్పడాయి ఏ విధంగా మనం నేర్చుకున్నామో వాటిలో ఇదివరకు మనం ఒక రాజ్యం యొక్క డెవలప్మెంటే కాకుండా వేరే రంగాలు పొలిటికల్ డెవలప్మెంటే కాకుండా వేరే రంగాల్లో రకరకాల డెవలప్మెంట్స్ జరిగినాయి. ఆ డెవలప్మెంట్ క్యాపిటలిస్ట్ డెవలప్మెంట్ అవన్నీ కావడం వల్ల మార్క్స్ ఏమంటాడంటే క్యాపిటలిస్ట్ డెవలప్మెంట్ జరిగినప్పుడు ఏమవుతుందంటే ఉత్పత్తి అనేది ఆ దేశ ప్రజలకే కాకుండా ఇంకా ఎక్కువ ప్రజలకి అనుకూలంగా ఉండేట్టు జరుగుతుంది అన్నట్టు. సో మరి అటువంటిప్పుడు క్యాపిటలిస్టులు తర్వాత ఇండస్ట్రియలిస్టులు వాళ్ళు ప్రొడ్యూస్ చేసిన అదనపు పాస్తులు దానికి వాళ్ళు బయట అమ్ముకోవడానికి మన ఉత్సాహం చూపుతారు. సో ఏమవుతున్నప్పుడు ఆ విధంగా డెవలప్ అయిన దేశాలు నిజానికి క్యాపిటలిస్ట్ డెవలప్మెంట్ జరిగిన తర్వాత ఏమవుతుందంటే వాళ్ళు ఎక్కువ ఉత్పత్తి వాళ్ళ దేశ ప్రజలకి కాకుండా ఎక్కువ ప్రొడ్యూస్ చేసే అవకాశం ఉంది కాబట్టి ఆ ప్రోడక్ట్స్ని ఇతర దేశాలకి పంపడం జరుగుతుంది అన్నట్టు. అంతేకాకుండా తమ తమ మార్కెట్లు తమ ఆస్తులు డెవలప్మెంట్స్ ఏదైతే ఉన్నాయో ఆ డెవలప్మెంట్స్ ప్రకారం దానికి ఇతర దేశాల్లోని ప్రజలను వాళ్ళ దేశం యొక్క మన ప్రోడక్ట్స్ని ఉత్పత్తులని వాడాలా తర్వాత కొనాలా అనేది మొదలైంది. నిజానికి ఇది మన దీన్ని డెవలప్డ్ స్టేట్స్ అంటారు. ఈ డెవలప్డ్ స్టేట్స్ అయితే ముఖ్యంగా ఇవి వెస్ట్రన్ కాంటినెంట్స్లోనే ఉన్నాయి. సో ఈ డెవలప్డ్ స్టేట్స్ దే ఆర్ మోడల్ స్టేట్స్. ఒక మన ఇతరులకి సమాజంలో ప్రపంచంలో ఇతర దేశాల్లోని ఇతర ప్రజల యొక్క ప్రజలకు ఒక మోడల్గా ఉంటుంది అనే విధంగా ఇప్పుడు రాజేంద్ర సాక్షి దాన్ని నిర్వచించారు. అయితే ఆ విధంగా వాళ్ళు క్యాపిటలిస్ట్ డెవలప్మెంట్ వల్ల అంటే పరిశ్రమల్లో వాళ్ళ యొక్క వినియోగానికి మించి చేసినప్పుడు వాళ్ళు ఇతర దేశాలకు పోయి వాళ్ళ యొక్క వస్తువులు పెట్టి లాభం చేకూర్చడానికి కొనడానికి ప్రయత్నం చేశారన్నమాట. సో అట్లా ప్రయత్నం చేసినప్పుడు వాళ్ళ యొక్క వాళ్ళ లాభాలు వాళ్ళ యొక్క మన ప్రోడక్ట్స్ అమ్మడానికి నిజానికి అప్పుడప్పుడు అభ్యంతరాలు వస్తాయి, తర్వాత దండెత్తడం జరుగుతుంది. కాబట్టి ఇతర ప్రాంతాల్లో ఉన్న దేశాలని తమ యొక్క వస్తువులకు మార్కెట్గా ఏర్పరచుకోవడానికి నిజానికి ప్రాంతాలను ఇది ఫోర్స్ ద్వారా ఒత్తిడి ద్వారా ఆక్రమించుకోవడం జరుగుతుంది. ఆక్రమించుకోవడం జరిగినప్పుడు ఏంటంటే అక్కడ ఉన్న ప్రజలు వెనుకబడ్డ ప్రజలు ఏమవుతారంటే వీళ్ళ యొక్క ప్రోడక్ట్స్ తిని దానికి వీళ్ళ యొక్క ఆస్తులు తర్వాత స్టేట్ యొక్క ఇన్కమ్ డెవలప్ అయ్యడానికి ప్రయత్నం చేస్తారు. సో ఇందువరకు డెవలప్డ్ కంట్రీస్ ఏం చేసింది, వేరే ప్రాంతాల్లో వేరే ఖండాల్లో ఏషియా కానీ ఆఫ్రికా కానీ లాటిన్ అమెరికా కానీ తమకు అనుకూలంగా ఉండి తమకు మార్కెట్లుగా పనిచేసే వ్యవస్థలను ఏర్పరచుకున్నారు. ఒకసారి మన ఈస్ట్ ఇండియా కంపెనీ నిజానికి వచ్చి మొత్తం అక్కడ ఉన్న రాజులతో ఓడమడక చేసుకొని మొత్తము నిజానికి కొంచెం చాలా పెద్ద ప్రాంతం ఈస్ట్ ఇండియా కంపెనీకి పెట్టారు. సో ఇది నిజానికి మన ఇప్పుడున్న ఇది ఇప్పుడు కాదు 1945 సెకండ్ వరల్డ్ వార్కి. సో సెకండ్ వరల్డ్ వార్కి ఎట్లా ఉండేదంటే క్యాపిటలిస్టులు తర్వాత లేబరర్స్ తర్వాత వర్కర్స్ ఇట్లా ఉండేది అన్నట్టు. సో ఇటువంటి డెవలప్డ్ స్టేట్స్ ఉన్న ఇటువంటి సమాజాల్లో రాజ్యం కూడా ఒక డెవలప్మెంట్గా ఇతరులకి మార్గదర్శకంగా ఉండేది. కానీ ఒకటే సమస్య ఏంటంటే వాళ్ళు వాళ్ళ దేశం డెవలప్ అయినా కూడా ఆ దేశం వాళ్ళ దేశం ప్రకారం వాళ్ళు కాలనీగా మార్చుకున్న ఇతర ప్రాంతాలని నిజానికి మన ప్రయత్నం చేశారు అన్నట్టు. సో ఆ కాలనీస్లో ఉన్న ప్రజలని కూడా రాజకీయ పరంగా, ఆర్థిక పరంగా, ఇన్ఫ్రాస్ట్రక్చర్ పరంగా కూడా డెవలప్ చేసేయడం కూడా జరిగింది. సో ఈవెన్ ఇట్లా చేయడం వల్ల ఏమవుతుందంటే మన వాళ్ళు జయించిన మార్కెట్లో మాత్రం ఉన్న ప్రజల యొక్క పరిస్థితి మాత్రము దానికి ఎప్పటికీ వాళ్ళ యొక్క డెవలప్మెంట్, వాళ్ళ యొక్క సంక్షేమం మాత్రము ఈ కలోనియల్ గవర్నమెంట్స్ దానికి వాళ్ళు పట్టించుకోలేదు. కాలనీని జయించడం, తర్వాత అందులో కన్జ్యూమర్ అయితే పోతుండే వాళ్ళు మన ఈ పాశ్చాత్య దేశ యొక్క ప్రభుత్వాలు దానికి మొత్తము మన పర్మనెంట్గా కూడా వాళ్ళ దేశ పాలన కిందికి దేశంలోకి కూడా తీసుకోవడం జరిగింది. అందులో ముఖ్యమైన ఉద్దేశం ఏంటంటే ఏషియన్ కంట్రీస్, ఇది మన శ్రీలంక కానీ, ఇండియా కానీ, ఇతర ఇంకా అన్ని ఉదాహరణ. సో ఈ విధంగా ఈ పరిస్థితిలో ఉన్న దేశాలు డెవలప్మెంట్ చేయొచ్చు. అలా కాకుండా చాలా ప్రాంతాల్లో లాటిన్ అమెరికా మన ఇది ఆఫ్రికా, ఏషియా దేశాల్లో ప్రజలు తర్వాత దేశాలు నిజానికి అన్ని విధాల అన్ని రంగాలలో డెవలప్ కాలేదు. నిజానికి పాశ్చాత్యులు బ్రిటన్ ఫర్ ఎగ్జాంపుల్ మన దేశానికి వచ్చినప్పుడు మన దేశం ప్రజల్లో చైతన్యం అవన్నీ తీసుకొని రావడానికి వస్తామని చెప్పింది. కానీ అది నిజానికి చాలా వాళ్ళ పాలన ఎట్లా సాగింది అంటే వాళ్లకు మన లాభం వస్తుందా లేదా అనేది చూసి దెన్ దట్ విల్ బి ఇంప్లిమెంటెడ్. ఓకే, సో ఈరోజు ఈ పరిస్థితుల్లో ఈ 3 ముఖ్యమైన బ్యాక్వర్డ్ మన కాంటినెంట్స్ ఏషియా, ఆఫ్రికా అండ్ అమెరికన్ కంట్రీస్లో ఉన్న ప్రజలు ఏదైతే ఉన్నారో వాళ్ళ రాజనీతి సంస్థలు చాలామంది ఏ విధంగా బోధిస్తున్నారంటే చూడండి, వెస్ట్రన్ కంట్రీస్లో ఈ విధంగా అన్ని రంగాల్లో డెవలప్ అయి ఉన్నాయి. డిసిప్లిన్ ఉంది, తర్వాత మన చర్చించడానికి, తర్వాత మన ప్రాక్టీస్ చేయడానికి, మన ఆనందించడానికి అన్ని రంగాల్లో డెవలప్మెంట్ ఉంది. కాబట్టి ఆ దేశంలో ఉన్న ప్రజల యొక్క బాగోగులు చూసే రాజ్యం ఏందో అదే రాజ్యము మన దేశంలో కూడా ఉండాలా అని వివిధ దేశాల యొక్క ప్రజలు భావించారండి. సో ది స్టేట్ బికేమ్ ది వెస్టర్న్ స్టేట్, sometimes of course Marxian state also became the role model for the countries or people in the continents of Africa, Latin America and Asia. సో ఇది మనం ఒక హిస్టారికల్గా చదువుతున్నాం. ఇది అయితే డెవలప్డ్ కంట్రీస్లో స్టేట్ ఎట్లా ఉంటుంది, అది నిజానికి కొంచెం అడ్వాన్స్డ్ ఫెసిలిటీస్ మనం రూపొందించే ప్రయత్నం చేస్తుంది. కానీ అదే వేరే కంట్రీస్లో అయినప్పుడు తన యొక్క తొమ్మిది వస్తువులను అమ్మి దానికి లాభం గడించడానికి ప్రయత్నం చేస్తుంది. తన ప్రజలు నిజంగా చాలా మట్టికి సుఖశాంతులతో ఉండే పరిపాలన ఇస్తుంది. అయితే కానీ నిజంగా ప్రజల యొక్క సంక్షేమం ఉందా, డెవలప్మెంట్ జరిగిందా అంటే నిజంగా జరిగింది. అతను వెస్టర్న్ కంట్రీస్ల యొక్క మన శాస్త్రజ్ఞులు కాకుండా వేరే కాంటినెంట్స్ యొక్క మన రచయితలు చెప్పడం జరిగింది. సో ఇది వెస్టర్న్ మోడల్ స్టేట్. ఇది ముఖ్యంగా ఇది డెవలప్డ్ స్టేట్ అంటే ఏంటంటే ఇండస్ట్రియలైజేషన్, మోడర్న్ అడాప్షన్, మోడర్న్ టెక్నాలజీ, తర్వాత ఎడ్యుకేషన్, దాని తర్వాత ఇంకా కొన్ని అంశాలతో కలిగిన దేశమే దానికి మోడల్ అవుతుంది. సో ఈ 3 ఖండాల్లో ఉన్న ప్రజలు, లాటిన్ అమెరికా, ఏషియా అండ్ ఆఫ్రికా, ఈ ప్రజలు కూడా నిజానికి ఈ వెస్టర్న్ కంట్రీస్లో ఉన్న మోడల్స్ మనం ఇమిటేట్ చేయాలా, డెవలప్ కావాలా. డెవలప్ అంటే మొట్టమొదటి డెవలప్మెంట్ అంటే ఒక డెవలప్డ్ స్టేట్ అంటే ముందుగా ఏమనుకున్నారంటే మన ప్రజల యొక్క ప్రాణాలు కాపాడి ఫోర్స్ను అప్లై చేసి అనుకునేది. కానీ లేటర్ ఆన్ డెవలప్మెంట్ అంటే మాత్రం ఇంకోటి ఏంటంటే, డెవలప్మెంట్ అంటే మాత్రం మన సమాజంలో మన ఆర్థిక వనరులే పెంపొందడం డెవలప్మెంట్ అనుకుంటుంది. గ్రోత్, ప్రజల యొక్క బాగోగులు, ప్రజల యొక్క మనోభావాలు, ప్రజల యొక్క సంస్కృతులు, వీటి మీద కాటు కాయాలనేది దానికి ఎవరికి ఏ సిద్ధాంతకర్త కూడా అనుకోలేదు. సో now there are two kinds of states. Till recently there are two kinds of states: developed states and undeveloped states. Developed states ఎక్కడ ఉంటాయి? ఫర్ ఎగ్జాంపుల్ మన ఇంగ్లాండు, తర్వాత స్పెయిన్, పోర్చుగల్, లగ్జంబర్గ్, తర్వాత ఇంకా ఉన్నాయి కదా. వీటిలో ఉన్న రాజ్యం నిజానికి డెవలప్డ్ రాజ్యం అని చెప్పచ్చు. అయితే ఈ విధంగా మోడల్ తీసుకున్నప్పుడు శాస్త్రజ్ఞుల తర్వాత ఇంకొక అందరూ వేరే పెద్దలు ఏం చెప్తారంటే, అదే ఈ కాలనీస్లో ఉన్న ప్రజలు వాళ్ళ యొక్క రూలర్స్ని వలసలుగా మార్చుకున్న రూలర్స్ ఎవరైతే ఉన్నారో వాళ్ళకి వ్యతిరేకంగా యుద్ధాలు చేయవలసి ఉంటుంది, వాళ్ళ దేశాల నుంచి పరిగెత్తగల ఉంటుంది అనేది దానికి ఇక్కడి ప్రజలు భావించడం జరిగింది. సో ఇప్పుడు మనం చూడాల్సిందంటే డెవలప్డ్ స్టేట్ అంటే ఏంటి, డెవలపింగ్ స్టేట్ ఏంటి. డెవలప్ స్టేట్ అంటే అన్ని రంగాల్లో అభివృద్ధి జరగడం, దానికి ఒక సూచన, ఒక లక్షణం డెవలప్ సొసైటీలో ఉన్న ప్రజలకి ఏంటంటే అది ముఖ్యంగా ఆర్థికంగా ఇతరుల ఆర్థికంగా డెవలప్ కావడానికి ఇండస్ట్రియలైజేషన్, తర్వాత తమ ప్రొడక్ట్స్ని బయట పంపడం. సో ముఖ్యంగా బుధాలు ఏమనుకుంటున్నారంటే ఆర్థిక రంగానికి సంబంధించిన లక్ష్యమే, ఆర్థిక క్యారెక్టర్ లక్ష్యమే అది డెవలప్మెంట్ అని అంటున్నారు. కానీ తర్వాత కాలంలో డెవలప్మెంట్ అంటే అదే కాదు బాబు, చాలా ఉన్నాయి, వేరే వేరే అంశాలు ఉన్నాయి. అవి కూడా డెవలప్ అయితే అప్పుడు డెవలప్డ్ స్టేట్ అనొచ్చు. అది కూడా డెవలప్ అయితే అది కూడా స్టేట్ అనొచ్చు. అయితే ఈ డెవలప్మెంట్ కానీ ప్రాంతాలు ఏదైతుందో, ఏది ఏషియా, ఆఫ్రికా ఉన్నాయో అవి ఈ యొక్క స్టాండర్డ్స్ని ఇమిటేట్ చేయాలా, అనుసరించాలా అనేది ఈ రోజులో డామినెంట్ వ్యూ అబౌట్ ద రిమూవింగ్ ద ప్రాపర్టీ, రిమూవింగ్ ద treasury in these countries and putting what is that, a different policy, different. సో ఈ విధంగా మనము మన ప్రపంచంలో ఉన్న డెవలప్డ్ స్టేట్స్, తర్వాత ఇందులో డెవలపింగ్ ఈ లాటిన్ అమెరికాలో ఉన్న డెవలపింగ్ స్టేట్స్ ఎలా ఉంటాయి అనే దాని గురించి మనం ముఖ్యంగా చదివినాం. కొంచెం బ్రీఫ్గా పోతే ఏమవుతుందంటే, ఈ వెస్టర్న్ లిబరల్ కంట్రీస్ దానికి ప్రజా సౌకర్యాలు, ప్రజల యొక్క స్టాండర్డ్ లైఫ్ చాలా పెద్ద ఉంటుంది. అందుకోసం అది డెవలప్డ్ స్టేట్. ఆ డెవలప్మెంట్ ఎట్లా నిర్వహిస్తుందంటే ఆర్థిక రంగమే కాకుండా ఇతర రంగాలు కూడా అభివృద్ధి చెందుతున్నప్పుడు డెవలప్డ్ స్టేట్. సో ఆ డెవలప్డ్ స్టేట్ ఏదైతే ఉందో మనకి ఇతర దేశాల్లో ఉన్న ప్రజలు, దేశాలు వాటి యొక్క ఆ మోడల్ని దానికి మన అడాప్ట్ చేసుకుంటాయి, వాళ్ళ యొక్క పాలసీలలో మనం ఇంక్లూడ్ చేస్తాయి. సో ఇది డెవలపింగ్ స్టేట్ యొక్క పరిస్థితి. అయితే డెవలపింగ్ స్టేట్లో ఇవి ఉన్నాయి, ముఖ్యంగా ఇండియా, తర్వాత బ్రెజిల్, మెక్సికో, తర్వాత చిన్న చిన్న రాష్ట్రాలు, మన చిన్న చిన్న దేశాలు ఉన్నాయి కదా. ఈ చిన్న చిన్న దేశాలలో ఉన్న మన రాజ్యమే నిజానికి మోడల్గా చేసుకోవాల్సి ఉంటుంది అని చెప్పాం కదా, అనుకున్నాం కదా. సో ఈ వేరే వేరే దేశాల్లో ఉన్న వేరే వేరే రాజ్యాలను పోలిక చేయడమే మనకి కంపేరిటివ్ స్టడీ ఆఫ్ ద స్టేట్స్ ఇన్ ద వరల్డ్, కంపేరిటివ్ స్టడీ ఆఫ్ ద స్టేట్స్ ఇన్ ద వరల్డ్, కంపేరిటివ్ పాలిటిక్స్. ముఖ్యంగా కంపారిజన్ ఉండాలి, అది చాలా ఇంపార్టెంట్ కదా మనకు. ఇందులో ఇదివరకు అన్ని చేసిన దగ్గర కంపేరిటివ్ ప్రెషర్ గ్రూప్స్ కానీ పొలిటికల్ పార్టీస్ కానీ ఒక ఒక గ్రూప్కి ఇంకో గ్రూప్కి మన మన ట్రైనింగ్ పెట్టచ్చు, తర్వాత మన పోటీ పెట్టవచ్చు. పోటీ పెట్టినప్పుడు దానికి ఈ మన లాటిన్ అమెరికన్ కంట్రీ, తర్వాత ఏషియన్ కంట్రీస్లో దేశాలు దానికి బాగుపడడానికి అవకాశం ఉంది. అయితే ఈ యొక్క థియరీని, ఈ యొక్క అండర్స్టాండింగ్ని, ఈ యొక్క పర్స్పెక్టివ్ మాత్రము లేదు ఇది ఇప్పుడు ఈ 3 దేశాల్లో ఉన్న ఖండాలు కానీ దేశాలు ఉన్న ప్రజలు నిజానికి వాళ్ళు దోపిడీ చేయబడుతున్నారు. ఆ దోపిడీ నుంచి రక్షించాలంటే ఆ దేశాల్లో పర్టికులర్గా మన డెవలప్డ్ కంట్రీస్లో, తర్వాత ఈ డెవలప్డ్ కంట్రీస్లో యుద్ధాలు చేసి అక్కడ ఉన్న పరిస్థితులు మార్చవలసి ఉంటుంది అని చెప్తాడు. మనం ప్రత్యేకంగా చెప్పడానికి ఎనీ కమ్యూనిస్ట్ పార్టీ బుక్ విల్ టెల్ దిస్. ఇది ఒక సో ఈరోజు మనము వివిధ దేశాల్లో స్టేట్ ఏ విధంగా ఉన్నది, ఒక దేశంలో ఉన్న ఒక ప్రాంతంలో ఉన్న దేశాల్లో ఉన్న స్టేట్ దానికి ఒకదానికోటి పోలిక కలిగి ఉంటుంది. ఫర్ ఎగ్జాంపుల్ అదేంటంటే బ్రిటన్, ఫ్రాన్స్, యూకే, బ్రిటన్, ఫ్రాన్స్, పోర్చుగల్, స్పెయిన్, ఇటలీ. ఓకే, ఇవి డెవలప్డ్ సమాజంలో ఉన్న రాజ్యాలు. అయితే ఈ డెవలప్డ్ కంట్రీస్, డెవలప్డ్ కాంటినెంట్స్ ఏవైతే అందులో ఉన్న ప్రజలైతే ఎవరైతే ఉన్నారో వాళ్ళ లైఫ్ కూడా, దానికి స్టాండర్డ్ ఆఫ్ లైఫ్ ఏది వెస్టర్న్ కంట్రీస్లో ఏ విధంగా ఉన్నదో, డెవలప్ అయిందో ఆ లైఫ్కి, ఆ స్టేజ్కి ఈ వీళ్ళ యొక్క జీవన ప్రమాణాలు పెరగాల అని నిజంగా ఈనాడు సూచిస్తున్నారు. సో కంపారిజన్ ఆఫ్ పాలిటిక్స్ ఇన్ వన్ కంట్రీ అండ్ కంపారిజన్ ఆఫ్ పాలిటిక్స్ విత్ ద existence of politics in other countries. సో ఈ విధంగా మనం వాటిని విట్టి పోల్చి చూస్తున్నాం. చాలా మట్టికి వెస్టర్న్ కంట్రీస్లో ఉన్న రాజ్యాన్ని ఈస్టర్న్ కంట్రీలో రాజ్యాంగకర్తలు దానికి ఫాలో అవుతున్నారు అని చెప్పచ్చు. అది చెప్పడంలో కూడా, అంటే ఏషియన్ కంట్రీస్లో కూడా ఇదివరకు కాలనీలు కూడా అన్ని కాలనీలు పోయిన తర్వాత కూడా అక్కడ అన్ని దేశాల్లో నిజానికి డెవలప్మెంట్ తిరగలేదు. ఒక్కొక్క రకం అసలు డెవలప్మెంట్ నిర్వచనమే నిజానికి చాలా దేశాల్లో సరిగా పాటించడం లేదు. అయితే నిజానికి ఇప్పటికి కూడా ఈ లాటిన్ అమెరికన్ కంట్రీస్, తర్వాత ఏషియన్ కంట్రీస్ కూడా వెస్టర్న్ కంట్రీస్ మీద ఆధారపడి ఉండడం వల్ల దానికి వాళ్ళ యొక్క ఆ దేశాల యొక్క ఆర్థిక అభివృద్ధి జరగడం లేదు. దాని కొరకు కొత్త పాలిటిక్స్, కొత్త వ్యవస్థలను ఏర్పాటు చేయవలసి ఉంటుంది అని ఈరోజు మన ఈ వెనుకబడ్డ దేశాల యొక్క ప్రజలు, పటికంగా రచయితలు, చాలా శాస్త్రజ్ఞులు దానికి మన భావించడం జరుగుతుంది. సో ఇంతటితో మనం ఈ కంపారిటివ్ పాలిటిక్స్లో ఈ వివిధ దేశాల్లో ఎటువంటి మన రాజ్య వ్యవస్థలు ఉన్నాయనేది మనం నేర్చుకున్నాం. ఇంకొక ఎలాబరేషన్, ఇంకొక ఆపర్చునిటీస్కి మనం ఎదురు చూస్తాం. అంతటితో ఇది సెషన్ ముగుస్తుంది. థ్యాంక్ యూ వెరీ మచ్.
Good afternoon. আজি আমি ব্লক 5-ৰ ইউনিট 22 আলোচনা ইউনিট 2ৰ 20ৰ মীমাংসা চেপ্টাৰটো আলোচনা কৰিম। চ' মীমাংসা চেপ্টাৰটো এইবিলাক চব গোটেইখিনি আছিলে ভাৰতীয় দৰ্শনৰ যে স্কুলবিলাক ফিলচফি ইণ্ডিয়ান ফিলচফিৰ পাৰ্টছ হয়, মানে ভাৰতীয় দৰ্শনৰ মাজত কেইটামান স্বৰ দৰ্শন বুলি মানে 6টা দৰ্শন এক্সট্ৰা আছিলে ভাৰতীয় দৰ্শনৰ মাজতে এইখিনিৰ মাজতে আমি আলোচনা কৰি গৈ আছোঁ। চ' ব্লক এইটো চেপ্টাৰত যি মীমাংসা চেপ্টাৰৰ মাজত যি ইনফাৰেঞ্চ বা পাৰচেপশ্যনৰ মাজত ন্যায়িকা পিছত লৌকিক অলৌকিক এইখিনি আমি এইটো ব্লকৰ ফাৰ্ষ্ট পাৰ্টতো আলোচনা কৰিছিলোঁ, অলপ এটা হিণ্টছ আছিলে তাতে আলোচনা কৰিছিলোঁ। তথাপিও আমি এইটো চেপ্টাৰতে আজি আকৌ যিবিলাক মীমাংসা ফিলচফিৰ মাজত ইনক্লুড হৈ আছে এইখিনি আলোচনা কৰিম। যিহেতু এইটো চেপ্টাৰটো কমপ্লিটলি হয় মীমাংসা চেপ্টাৰ, তেতিয়া আমি জাষ্ট অলপ এটা পৰ্চন পাইছিলোঁ মীমাংসা বুলি পেৰাগ্ৰাফ, তেতিয়াহে এইখিনি আলোচনা কৰিছিলোঁ শ্বৰ্টলি। চ' এতিয়া ইয়াতে চেপ্টাৰটোৰ মাজত কি ইনক্লুড হৈ আছে জেনেৰেলি ব্লক 5-ৰ ইউনিট 20ৰ মাজত অবজেক্টিভছ আছে, তাৰপিছত ইন্ট্ৰডাকশ্যন, এপিষ্টেমলজি মানে জ্ঞানবিদ্যা, তাৰপিছত চ'ৰ্চেছ অফ ভেলিড নলেজ যিটো প্ৰমাণছ বুলি কয়, থিয়ৰিজ অফ এৰৰ এণ্ড মেটাফিজিক্স, তাৰপিছত নেচাৰ অফ চেল্ফ, গড এণ্ড লিবাৰেশ্যন মানে গড এণ্ড লিবাৰেশ্যনৰ লগত কি ৰিলেটেড এইখিনি আৰু লাষ্ট পাৰ্টছখিনি। চ' ইয়াতে মেইনলি অবজেক্টিভছৰ মাজত কি আছে তাতে ষ্ট্ৰাকচাৰত এইখিনি আছিলে যে মেইন পইণ্টছখিনি, তাৰ মাজতে ভেলিডিটি অফ নলেজ মেইনলি অবজেক্টিভছ যিখিনি হ'ল এই দৰ্শনৰ যিটো মীমাংসা দৰ্শন হয়, মীমাংসা দৰ্শনৰ মেইনলি কোনে এই দৰ্শনটো প্ৰৱৰ্তক কৰিছিলে জৈমিনী বুলি এজন ফিলচফাৰ হয়, তেওঁহে এইটো আৱিষ্কাৰ কৰিছিলে, প্ৰৱৰ্তক হৈছিলে। চ' জৈমিনীৰ সূত্ৰ হৈছে এই দৰ্শনৰ মেইনলি প্ৰণালীবুদ্ধি পুথি, আৰু এই প্ৰণালীবুদ্ধি পুথিৰ মাজত মীমাংসা দৰ্শনৰ প্ৰধান ভাষ্যকাৰে হৈছে চবৰ স্বামী বুলি কয়, তেওঁৰ নাম আছিলে। চ' মীমাংসা দৰ্শন হৈছে কি মেইনলি বেদানুগত দৰ্শন, আৰু ইয়াতে বেদৰ দুটা প্ৰধান বিভাগ আছে, সেই বিভাগ দুটা হ'ল পূৰ্বকাণ্ড বা কৰ্মকাণ্ড আৰু উত্তৰকাণ্ড বা জ্ঞান কাণ্ড, মানে দুটা নামত তেওঁলোকে ভাগ দিছিলে। আইদাৰ পূৰ্বকাণ্ড বুলি কোৱা হয়, পূৰ্বকাণ্ডত যোনখিনি আছিলে এইখিনিৰ মাজত কৰ্মকাণ্ড এইখিনি ইনক্লুড হৈ আছে, আৰু যিবিলাক উত্তৰকাণ্ড বুলি কয় তাতে জ্ঞান কাণ্ড এইবিলাক ইনক্লুড হৈ আছে। চ' বেদৰ কৰ্মকাণ্ডৰ ওপৰতে মীমাংসা দৰ্শনৰ নিৰ্ভৰশীল, আৰু কুমাৰিল ভট্ট আৰু প্ৰভাকৰে মীমাংসা দৰ্শনৰ দুটা সম্প্ৰদায়ক, তেওঁ কুমাৰিল ভট্ট আৰু প্ৰভাকৰ তেওঁ আকৌ কি কৰিলে মীমাংসা দৰ্শনক দুটা ভাগত ভাগ কৰিছিলে। চ' সম্প্ৰদায়ত ভাগ কৰিছিলে। কুমাৰিল ভট্টৰ মীমাংসা দৰ্শনৰ নাম আছিলে ভট্ট মীমাংসা, আৰু প্ৰভাকৰৰ মীমাংসা দৰ্শনৰ নাম আছিলে প্ৰভাকৰ মীমাংসা। এইখিনি মানে জাষ্ট প্ৰাইমাৰী মই আলোচনা কৈ আছো। চ' এই দুটা পাৰ্টতে মানে মেইনলি কি আছিলে, এই জগতখনৰ এজন স্ৰষ্টা আছে বুলি মীমাংসা দৰ্শনে বিশ্বাস, এইটো জগতত যে এজনে স্ৰষ্টা আছে এই বস্তুটো মীমাংসা দৰ্শনে বিশ্বাস নকৰে, আৰু এওঁলোকৰ মতে জগতখন সৃষ্টি হৈছে পৰমাণুৰ দ্বাৰা আৰু কৰ্মসূত্ৰ অনুসৰি বস্তুবোৰ গঠিত হয়। চ' মীমাংসা দৰ্শনে যদিও বা ঈশ্বৰক বিশ্বাস নকৰে, তথাপিও বেদত যিমান উল্লিখিত যিবোৰ দেৱতাসকলৰ এই দৰ্শনে আকৌ বিশ্বাস কৰে। তেওঁলোকে ডাইৰেক্টলি কি কৰে, ঈশ্বৰক বিশ্বাস নকৰিলেও যেন বেদৰ মাজত যিবোৰ এই দেৱ ঋষি বুলি মুনি ঋষি বা দেৱতা যিসকলে আছে তেওঁসকলক তেওঁলোকে বিশ্বাস কৰে। চ' মীমাংসা দৰ্শন হৈছে বস্তুবাদী আৰু বহুত্ববাদী দৰ্শন। চ' ইয়াতে দেহ, ইন্দ্ৰিয়, মন, আত্মা এইবোৰৰ অস্তিত্বতে মীমাংসা দৰ্শনে বিশ্বাস কৰে। আত্মা হৈছে কি নিত্য, বিভু আৰু অবিজ্ঞানী, আৰু যাৰ ধৰ্ম হৈছে চৈতন্য। চ' মীমাংসা দৰ্শনৰ দুয়োটা সম্প্ৰদায়ে দুই প্ৰকাৰৰ জ্ঞান স্বীকাৰ কৰিছে, আৰু সেই দুই প্ৰকাৰৰে জ্ঞান হৈছে কি অপৰোক্ষ জ্ঞান আৰু পৰোক্ষ জ্ঞান, মানে দুটা নলেজ তাতে ইপিষ্টেমলজিৰ মাজত যি দিয়া হৈছে এইখিনি। চ' শ্বৰ্টলি মই এইখিনি মীমাংসা দৰ্শনৰ বিষয়ে কৈছোঁ, জাষ্ট হোৱাট ইজ মীমাংসা ফিলচফি এইখিনি জানিবৰ কাৰণে এইখিনিৰ মাজত মানে প্ৰাইমাৰী যোনখিনি নলেজ এবাউট মীমাংসা এইখিনি মই জাষ্ট পইণ্টখিনি দিলোঁ। তো এতিয়া আমি এইটো চেপ্টাৰত যে মীমাংসা আমাৰ এইটো যি চেপ্টাৰ আছে চেপ্টাৰতে অবজেক্টিভ বিলাক কি আছে এইটো আমি চাই লওঁ ফাৰ্ষ্টতে হ'ল কি তাতে ইলুষ্ট্ৰেট কৰা হৈছে ভেলিডিটি অফ নলেজ এইটো যে মই জাষ্ট ভেলিডিটি অফ নলেজৰ বিষয়ে ক'লো যে যি পৰোক্ষ জ্ঞান প্ৰত্যক্ষ জ্ঞান বা এইখিনি লৈ আলোচনা কৰাইছে এইখিনি তাৰপিছত ইয়াতে অলছ ডিছকাছ কৰা হৈছে অৰ্থপ্ৰতি মানে পষ্টুলেশ্যন এজ এ চ'ৰ্চ অফ অৰ্থপ্ৰতি কি কৰা হৈছে ভেলিড নলেজৰ মেইন বিষয়বস্তু বুলি আৰু টু এনালাইজ খ্যাতিবাদ মানে থিয়ৰী অফ এৰৰ খ্যাতিবাদ বুলি এইটো আৰু তাৰপিছত টু এক্সপ্লেইন দ্য নেচাৰ অফ চেল্ফ নিজৰ আত্মাৰ বিষয়ে যি এক্সপ্লেইন কৰা হৈছে এইটো আৰু ডিছকাছ দ্য মীমাংসাছ কনচেপ্ট অফ লিবাৰেশ্যনৰ যি মীমাংসাৰ কনচেপ্ট আছে এইখিনিৰ বিষয়ে লিবাৰেল যি বস্তু গোটেই তেওঁ হেৰিৰ কাৰণে লিবাৰেল যে এই লিবাৰেল এটা যে তেওঁলোকৰ কনচেপ্ট আছে এই কনচেপ্টটো ইয়াতে আলোচনা কৰা হৈছে মেইনলি চ' মীমাংসা দৰ্শনৰ মেইনলি তাতে আমি ভেলিডিটি অফ নলেজত যোৱাৰ পিছতে আমি পাম তাতে প্ৰমাণ বুলি আছে তো সেই প্ৰমাণৰ মাজত আকৌ কি আছে যিবোৰ প্ৰত্যক্ষ আছে অনুমান আছে শব্দ উপমান আৰু অৰ্থবৃত্তি এইখিনি আছে চ' এই 5 প্ৰকাৰ প্ৰমাণৰ ওপৰেও বৰ্ত মীমাংসা অনুপলব্ধ নামৰ এটা আন এটা প্ৰমাণ স্বীকাৰ কৰিছে চ' এপিষ্টেমলজিৰ আমি যদি এইটো ইউনিটত মীমাংসাৰ ফিলচফাৰ যি ভিউজ মেটাফিজিক্স আৰু এপিষ্টেমলজিৰ যি ভিউজ এইখিনিয়ে ইয়াতে বেছিকৈ ডিছকাছ কৰা হৈছে আৰু থিয়ৰী অফ এৰৰ এণ্ড থিয়ৰী অফ কজেশ্যন অলছ' ডিছকাছ কৰা হৈছে তেওঁলোকৰ ভিউ মতে চ' মীমাংসা ফিলচফি ইজ ওৱান অফ দ্য আদাৰ স্কুলছ ইণ্ডিয়ান ফিলচফিৰ মাজত এটা বেলেগ এখন স্কুলছ হয় আৰু জেমিনিয়ে এখন দিয়া 1400 BCৰ আগতে 400 ইয়াৰ্ছ বিফোৰ খ্ৰীষ্ট মানে তেতিয়াহে এই বস্তুটো দিয়া হৈছিলে জেমিনিয়ে এখন প্ৰৱৰ্তক কৰিছিলে চ' মীমাংসা দৰ্শন ভাৰতীয় দৰ্শনৰ আন বিদ্যালয়সমূহৰ ভিতৰতে এটা হয় আৰু মীমাংসা বিদ্যালয়খন জামিনীয়ে খ্ৰীষ্টীয় 400 চনত প্ৰতিষ্ঠা কৰিছিলে আৰু তেওঁ মীমাংসা সূত্ৰৰ লেখক আছিলে বাখ্যকাৰজনেও মীমাংসা সূত্ৰৰ কামবোৰৰ মুখ্যতঃ কুৰ্মিলা ভট্ট আৰু প্ৰভাকৰ মিশ্ৰ তেওঁহে এইখিনিৰ মুখ্যতঃ কৰিছিলে ভাষ্যকাৰজনে তেওঁলোকে ভাষ্যকাৰ আছিলে এই মীমাংসা ফিলচফিৰ আৰু ন্যায় বৈশিষ্ট্যিকাত বা সাংখ্য যোগৰ দৰে মীমাংসা বেদান্তত কি আছে ভাৰতীয় চিন্তাবিদবিলাকৰ বিদ্যালয়ৰ মানে এক সহযোগী প্ৰণালী হিচাপে গণ্য কৰা হয় চ' মীমাংসা শব্দটোৰ মেইনলি মীমাংসা শব্দটোৰ অৰ্থই হৈছে কি হল অৰ্থ মেইনলি মীমাংসা শব্দটোৰ অৰ্থ হ'ল কি সংস্কৃত ৱৰ্ড হ'ল শ্ৰদ্ধাৰ চিন্তা মানে শ্ৰদ্ধাৰ চিন্তা মানে কি বা এটা যি আমি চিন্তা কৰোঁ এইটো উইথ ৰেচপেক্ট মানে অনুসন্ধান বুলি কোৱা হয় যাক মূলত মানে বৈদিক ৰীতি নীতিৰ ব্যাখ্যাত প্ৰয়োগ কৰিব লাগিব যিবোৰ বৈদিকৰ যিবিলাক নিয়ম আছে নীতি আছে এইবিলাকৰ জৰিয়তে প্ৰয়োগ কৰিব লাগিব চ' কুৰ্মিলা ভট্ট আৰু প্ৰভাকৰ মিশ্ৰ নামৰ দুজন পণ্ডিতে মীমাংসা দৰ্শনৰ ওপৰতে গ্ৰন্থ লিখিছিলে আৰু তেওঁলোকে মীমাংসা দৰ্শনক এক আদৰ্শবাদী শিক্ষা দিয়াৰো লক্ষ্য ৰাখিছিলে চ' মীমাংসা দৰ্শনত যি তেওঁলোকে ঈশ্বৰৰ প্ৰতি বিশ্বাস নাথাকিলেও তেওঁলোকে বেদৰ যিবিলাক ৰীতি নীতি আছিলে এইবিলাক তেওঁলোকে বিশ্বাস কৰে আৰু কুৰ্মিলা ভট্ট বা প্ৰভাকৰ মিশ্ৰ নামৰ দুজন পণ্ডিতে এখন দৰ্শনৰ ওপৰতে গ্ৰন্থ লিখিছিলে আৰু তেওঁলোকে মীমাংসা দৰ্শনতে এখন আদৰ্শবাদী শিক্ষা দিয়াৰ লক্ষ্য ৰাখিছিলে তেওঁলোকে এতিয়া যাতে সমাজত এইটো বস্তু ফল' হয় বা আলোচনা কৰিব পাৰে এইটো লৈ এটা আলোচনা হয় বা সমাজখনৰ আৰু উন্নত ব্যৱস্থা হ'ব পাৰে এইটো লৈও তেওঁলোকে এইখন দৰ্শনত আলোচনা কৰিছিলে চ' মেইনলি ইয়াতে যি ইপিষ্টেমলজি ৱাৰ্ড হয় এইটো ফাৰ্ষ্ট পাৰ্ট আছিলে আমাৰ ইপিষ্টেমলজি চ' ইপিষ্টেমলজিটো শব্দটোৱেই হ'ল এটা বস্তুৰ জ্ঞানৰ সৈতে সম্পৰ্কিত মানে এইটো মানে কি হ'ল জ্ঞানৰ সৈতে সম্পৰ্কিত আৰু যেতিয়া আমি বস্তু এটাক চিহ্নিত কৰোঁ তেতিয়া আমাৰ সেই বস্তুটোৰ জ্ঞান থাকে ইপিষ্টেমলজি শব্দটোৱেই হ'ল কি এটা বস্তুৰ জ্ঞানৰ সৈতে সম্পৰ্কিত আৰু যেতিয়া আমি বস্তু এটাক চিহ্নিত কৰোঁ তেতিয়া আমাৰ সেই বস্তুটোৰ জ্ঞান থাকে আৰু সেই অবজেক্টৰ বিষয়ে আমাৰ জ্ঞান শুদ্ধ নে নহয় পৰীক্ষা কৰিবলৈ আমি তলৰ 4টা চৰ্ত বিবেচনা কৰিব লাগিব। যেনেকা এপিষ্টেমোলজিত কেইটামান অবজেক্টিভছ আছে আৰু এই অবজেক্টিভে হ'ল কি আমাৰ জ্ঞানটো শুদ্ধ হ'ব নে নহ'ব এইটো বুজায়। যেনে ই ত্ৰুটিপূৰ্ণ কাৰণৰ পৰা উদ্ভৱ হ'ব নালাগে, তাৰ যিটো কজ হ'ব এই কজটোৰ মানে কোনো ত্ৰুটিপূৰ্ণ যি এফেক্ট বা হওক বা কজ আৰু এফেক্টৰ লগত যি ৰিলেশ্যন যিকোনো এটা ঘটিব এফেক্ট হ'ব কাৰণে কি হ'ব কজ লাগিব। তো এটলিষ্ট এই কজটো যাতে কাৰণটো যাতে কি হয় কোনো ভুল বা মিথ্যা এনেকা নহয়, অযুক্তিকৰ কিবা নহয়। আৰু ছেকেণ্ড পইণ্ট হ'ল ই বিৰোধৰ পৰা মুক্ত হ'ব লাগিব। এইটো কি হ'ব লাগিব বিৰোধিতাৰ পৰা মুক্ত কৰিব লাগিব, কিবা কাজিয়া সংঘাত এইবোৰ হ'ব নোৱাৰে। চ' ইয়াৰ অৰ্থ হৈছে ই সুসংগতভাৱে হ'ব লাগিব আৰু পৰৱৰ্তী জ্ঞানৰ দ্বাৰা বিৰোধিতা কৰিব যাতে এইটোৰ পৰা আকৌ পৰৱৰ্তী জ্ঞানৰ দ্বাৰা এইটো যাতে এগেইনষ্ট হৈ যায়, এগেইনষ্ট হ'ব নালাগে যাতে জ্ঞানৰ। চ' ই এনে এক বস্তুৰ অভিজ্ঞতা প্ৰদান কৰে যিটো আগতে অনুভৱ কৰা হোৱা নাছিলে। এনেকা এটা অভিজ্ঞতা প্ৰদান কৰে যিটো আগতে কি কৰাছিল অনুভৱ কৰা হোৱা নাছিলে। চমুকৈ ই এক অজ্ঞাত জ্ঞানৰ অভিজ্ঞতা প্ৰদান কৰে আৰু অবজেক্টটো এইটো কি কৰে এটা অভিজ্ঞতা প্ৰদান কৰে যি বস্তু আমি নাজানা বস্তু এইটোৰ বস্তুৰ আমাৰ জ্ঞান দিয়ে আৰু এইটোৰ পৰা যাতে কোনো বিৰোধিতা নহয় বা সুসংগতভাৱে হয় এই জ্ঞানটো বা পৰৱৰ্তী জ্ঞানৰ দ্বাৰা এইটো কি হ'ব না নেক্সট যিটো এইটোৰ পৰা জ্ঞান আহিব সেইটোৱে যাতে ইয়াতে কোনো ভুল ওলাব নোৱাৰে তেনেকা হ'ব লাগিব। চ' আৰু লাষ্ট পইণ্টটো হ'ল এই অবজেক্টটো কি হ'ল প্ৰতিনিধিত্ব কৰিব লাগিব। এইটো এটা প্ৰতিনিধি থাকিব লাগিব যিয়ে তেওঁ যাক কুৱেশ্যন কৰিলেও তেওঁ আনচাৰবোৰ আনচাৰখিনি বুজাই দিব পাৰে। চ' এপিষ্টেমোলজি শব্দটোৱেই হ'ল কি জ্ঞান, যি হ'ল মীমাংসাটো এইটো জ্ঞানৰ লগত ৰিলেটেড। মীমাংসা এইটোৰ পৰা আমি যি জ্ঞান পাওঁ এইটো সদায় কি হ'ব লাগিব শুদ্ধ হ'ব লাগিব এণ্ড যাতে আমি পৰীক্ষা কৰিলেও এইটো শুদ্ধই ওলায়। আৰু তাতে কিছুমান চৰ্ত আছে, আমি 4টা চৰ্ত এই চৰ্তখিনি আলোচনা কৰিম। ফাৰ্ষ্ট চৰ্ত কৰিলোঁ, ফাৰ্ষ্ট চৰ্তটো হ'ল কি ভুল হ'ব নালাগে। 2 নম্বৰটো হ'ল বিৰোধৰ পৰা মুক্ত হ'ব লাগে আৰু ই সুসংগত হ'ব লাগিব। তাৰপিছত ইয়াৰ অভিজ্ঞতা প্ৰদান কৰে যিটো সেইটো অনুভৱ হোৱা নাছিলে। চ' ই এক অজ্ঞাত বস্তুৰ অভিজ্ঞতা প্ৰদান কৰে। চ' এই অবজেক্টটো কি হ'ব লাগিব প্ৰতিনিধিত্ব কৰিব লাগিব। এই মেইনলি এই 4টা এপিষ্টেমোলজিকেল পইণ্ট আছিলে। চ' ওৱান্স এইবোৰ কণ্ডিশ্যন এবাৰ ছেটিছফাইড হৈ গ'লে তেতিয়া আমাৰ কি হ'ব অবজেক্ট উইল বি ট্ৰিটেড এজ ভেলিড। যেতিয়া আমাৰ এই 4টা অবজেক্ট কি হ'ব ছেটিছফাইড হ'ব তেতিয়া এইটো অট'মেটিকেলি কি হৈ যাব ভেলিড হৈ যাব, ভেলিড নলেজত হৈ যাব। চ' মেমৰিত আকৌ এইটো মনত ৰাখিব লাগিব যে ভেলিড নলেজত এইটোৰ যি ইমপ্ৰেশ্যন বা তাৰ প্ৰায়ৰিটি বা ইমপ্ৰেশ্যন যি থাকক না কিয় সেইটো কি কৰিব লাগিব এটা যাতে ভেলিড নলেজ হ'ব লাগিব। আমি যিটোৰ এটা নলেজ যেতিয়া আমি কিবা এটা নলেজ লওঁ এইটো নলেজ ল'বৰ কাৰণে যেতিয়া আমি আৰু এটা তাৰ পৰা কজ বা এফেক্টলৈ যাওঁ সেইটোও আৰু এটা নলেজ হয়। চ' সেইটোও যাতে আমাৰ কি হ'ব লাগিব ত্ৰুটিপূৰ্ণ হ'ব লাগে, মুক্ত হ'ব লাগিব, তাতে কোনো ভুল থকা কিবা কাৰণৰ লগত হ'ব নালাগে। চ' তাৰপিছত ভেলিড অফ নলেজ। এতিয়া ভেলিডিটি অফ নলেজত এতিয়া ভেলিডিটি অফ নলেজ যিটো নলেজ কোনবিলাকক আমি তাক ভেলিডিটি দিব পাৰোঁ। যিবিলাক নলেজৰ মীমাংসা ফিলচফিত নলেজবোৰ ভেলিডিটি হ'ব বাধ্যতামূলক, যেনেকা চব একচেপ্ট ভেলিড হ'ব লাগিব, মানে কি মিষ্টেক বা ভুল হ'ব নালাগে। চ' কুৰ্মিলাই কি কৰিছিলে, কুৰ্মিলাৰ যি জ্ঞান তেওঁৰ এই আশংকাৰ যি অনুভূতি আছিলে, মানে এটা জ্ঞানৰ যি অনুভূতি হয় এইটোৰ বাবে বৈধ জ্ঞানৰ মাধ্যম হিচাপে গণ্য কৰে আৰু তেওঁ জ্ঞানীয় কাৰ্যৰ দ্বাৰা উৎপন্ন হোৱা জ্ঞানক ইয়াৰ ফলাফল হিচাপে গণ্য কৰে। চ' আনহাতে কি হয় প্ৰভাকৰ স্পষ্টভাৱে প্ৰকাশ কৰে যে আমি এটা বস্তুক বৈধ জ্ঞানৰ জৰিয়তে অৱগত কৰোঁ কিয়নো ই এক আশংকা, কিন্তু ই হৰণৰ মাধ্যমত নহয়, যিহেতু ই স্মৃতিৰ ক্ষেত্ৰত পোৱা যায়। তেওঁ এইটোক প্ৰমাণ বা বৈধ জ্ঞান থকা প্ৰমাণ চিনাক্ত কৰে আৰু জ্ঞানক নিজকে প্ৰকাশ কৰা বুলিও গণ্য কৰে, কিন্তু ইয়াৰ বস্তুৰ জ্ঞানৰ পৰা অনুমান কৰিব নোৱাৰো। প্ৰভাকৰে স্পষ্টভাৱে প্ৰকাশ কৰে যে এইটো আমি এটা বস্তু কি হয় বৈধভাৱে জ্ঞানৰ জৰিয়তে অৱগত কৰোঁ, কিয়নো এইটো এটা আশংকা হয় আৰু ই হৰণৰ মাধ্যমত নহয়, যিহেতু ই স্মৃতিৰ ক্ষেত্ৰত পোৱা যায়, কিন্তু তেওঁৰ প্ৰামা বা বৈধ জ্ঞান থকা প্ৰমাণ চিনাক্ত কৰে আৰু জ্ঞানক নিজকে প্ৰকাশ কৰা বুলি গণ্য কৰে, কিন্তু ইয়াৰ বস্তুৰ জ্ঞানৰ পৰা অনুমান কৰিব নোৱাৰো। এইটো আছিলে কুৰ্মিলাৰ মানে জ্ঞানৰ যি অনুভূতি হয় এই অনুভূতিৰ মাজত। এই মেইনলি মীমাংসা ফিলচফিয়ে ডিছকাছ কৰিছিলে দুটা থিয়ৰিজ এই ভেলিডিটি অফ নলেজত। এটা হ'ল কি স্বতঃ প্ৰামাণ্যবাদ আৰু এটা হ'ল কি প্ৰতাহ প্ৰামাণ্যবাদ। ফাৰ্ষ্টৰটো হ'ল ট্ৰান্সলেট কৰা হ'ল এজ এ ইনষ্টিংটিভ ভেলিডিটি আৰু লেটাৰটো হ'ল এটা হ'ল ইনষ্টিংটিভ ভেলিডিটি, এটা মানে ভিতৰৰ পাৰ্টখিনি হ'ল আৰু এটা হ'ল জ্ঞানৰ বাহ্যিক পাৰ্ট। প্ৰামাণ্যবাদে নলেজৰ এইটো অবজেক্ট, প্ৰামাণ্যবাদে নিজেই কি কৰে নলেজটো নিজে ইটছেল্ফ এইটো ভেলিড বাই ইটছেল্ফ, প্ৰামাণ্যবাদ নিজেই ভেলিড হয় ইটছেল্ফ, কিন্তু ভেলিডিটি অফ নলেজত আকৌ কিছুমান বস্তু এৰাই যায়, যেনেকা সেইবোৰ বস্তু আকৌ এক্সট্ৰানিয়াছ মানে এক্সট্ৰা কণ্ডিশ্যন হয়। প্ৰতাপ প্ৰামাণ্যবাদত এইটো নলেজ আকৌ নট চেল্ফ এভিডেণ্ট। এটা হ'ল কি চেল্ফ এভিডেণ্ট, নিজে মানে নিজেই ভেলিড নলেজ, নিজৰ জ্ঞানৰ জৰিয়তে এইটো নিজে একচেপ্ট কৰিবৰ কাৰণে, কিন্তু যিটো হ'ল প্ৰতাপ প্ৰামাণ্যবাদ সেইটো হ'ল কি নট একচেপ্টেড বাই চেল্ফ। এইটো নিজৰ চেল্ফ এভিডেণ্টত নহয়, এইটো কি হ'ব লাগিব, এইটো এক্সট্ৰানিয়াছ কণ্ডিশ্যন, বাহিৰৰ ফালে বাহ্যিকৰ জ্ঞানতো এইটোক একচেপ্ট কৰিব লাগিব। তাৰ মাজতো আকৌ এই দুটা থিয়ৰিৰ মাজতো আকৌ 4টা থিয়ৰিজ, তাৰপিছত 2টাৰ পৰা 4টা থিয়ৰিজ ওলালে এই প্ৰতাপ প্ৰামাণ্যবাদ এণ্ড প্ৰামাণ্যবাদৰ মাজত। তাৰপিছত এটা হ'ল কি স্বতঃ প্ৰামাণ্যবাদ ইন্ট্ৰিনচিক ভেলিডিটি, এটা হ'ল ইণ্টেৰিয়ৰ স্বতঃ প্ৰামাণ্যবাদ, এটা হ'ল ইন্ট্ৰিনচিক ইনভেলিডিটি, এটা হ'ল ভেলিডিটি, এটা ইনভেলিডিটি। আকৌ প্ৰতাপ প্ৰামাণ্যবাদৰ ছেইম, এটা হ'ল এক্সট্ৰিনচিক ভেলিডিটি মানে বাহ্যিক যিটো ভেলিডিটি সেইটো, আৰু এটা হ'ল এক্সট্ৰিনচিক ইনভেলিডিটি, এটা হ'ল ইনভেলিডিটি। এই 4টাৰ মাজতে কি হ'ল স্বতঃ প্ৰামাণ্যবাদ এণ্ড প্ৰতাপ প্ৰামাণ্যবাদ এই দুটাকে লৈ আকৌ 4টা কৰা হ'ল, মানে এটা ক্ষেত্ৰত ভেলিড হয় আৰু এটা ক্ষেত্ৰত ইনভেলিড হয়। যেতিয়া ভেলিড হয় তাক এক্সট্ৰিনচিক ভেলিডিটি বুলি কোৱা হয়, আৰু যেতিয়া ইনভেলিড হয় তাকে ইন্ট্ৰিনচিক ভেলিডিটি বুলি কোৱা হয়। মীমাংসা দৰ্শনত 2টা তত্ত্ব আলোচনা কৰা হ'লেও তাতে এইখিনিও প্ৰামাণ্যবাদৰ লগত আছে। আগৰটো অন্তৰ্নিহিত বৈধতা হিচাপে, মানে ভেলিডিটি মিনছ হোৱাট বৈধতা, এটা হ'ল ইন্ট্ৰিনচিক মিনছ হোৱাট অন্তৰ্নিহিত, আৰু বাহ্যিকটো হ'ল এক্সট্ৰিনচিক। ভেলিডিটি মানে কি হ'ল বৈধতা। আগৰটো অন্তৰ্নিহিত বৈধতা হিচাপে অনুবাদ কৰা হয় আৰু পিছৰটো জ্ঞানৰ বাহ্যিক বৈধতা হিচাপে অনুবাদ কৰা হয়। এই দুটা তত্ত্বৰ একত্ৰীকৰণ কৰি, এই দুটা তত্ত্বক মিক্স কৰি পেলাই তাক আকৌ 4টা তত্ত্বৰ ফলস্বৰূপে পৰিণত হয়। যেন এনেকা ফিলচফিত মেক্সিমাম বস্তু এনেকা দুটা মিক্স কৰি পেলাই তাক কমপ্লিটলি ভাগ কৰা। এটা হ'ল স্বতঃ প্ৰামাণ্যবাদ আৰু এটা হ'ল স্বতঃ অপ্ৰামাণ্যবাদ, আৰু এটা হ'ল প্ৰতাহ প্ৰামাণ্যবাদ আৰু এটা হ'ল প্ৰতাহ অপ্ৰামাণ্যবাদ। ডেট মিনছ হোৱাট, এটা হ'ল বৈধতা আৰু এটা হ'ল বৈধতা, এটা হ'ল অবৈধতা। কিন্তু অন্তৰ্নিহিত আৰু বাহ্যিক মেইনলি আছিলে কি অন্তৰ্নিহিত মানে ইন্ট্ৰিনচিক এণ্ড বাহ্যিক হ'ল এক্সট্ৰিনচিক। এই দুটাকে অন্তৰ্নিহিত এণ্ড বাহ্যিক দুটাক মিক্স কৰি পেলাই তাক 4টা ভাগত ভাগ কৰা হৈছে। কি কৰা হৈছে, ভেলিডিটি এণ্ড ইনভেলিডিটি, মানে বৈধতা আৰু অবৈধতা মিলাই। এই মীমাংসা দৰ্শনত তাৰ মাজতে এক্সট্ৰিনচিকৰ ভেলিড নলেজৰ মাজত এইখিনি আছিলে তাৰপিছত হ'ল কি ফাৰ্ষ্টতে আমি ভেলিড নলেজৰ প্ৰমাণত এইটো চ'ৰ্চেছ অফ ভেলিড নলেজ এতিয়া ভেলিড নলেজ যি আমি মানে বৈধ জ্ঞান যিটো আমি বুলি চাৰিটা ভাগত হ'ল বৈধ জ্ঞান এতিয়া বৈধ জ্ঞানবিলাক ক'ৰ পৰা আহে তাক ডাইৰেক্টলি প্ৰমাণছ বুলি কোৱা হয় এতিয়া বৈধ জ্ঞান এণ্ড অবৈধ জ্ঞান চাম আৰ ভেলিড নলেজ চাম আৰ ইনভেলিড নলেজ এতিয়া আমি চ'ৰ্চেছ অফ ইনভেলিড নলেজবিলাক আলোচনা কৰিম হোৱাট আৰ দ্য চ'ৰ্চেছ অফ ভেলিড নলেজ ভেলিড নলেজ মানে বৈধ জ্ঞান কোনটোৰ পৰা কি হয় হ'ব পাৰে কুৰ্মিলা বৰ্তই ছয়টা কি কৰিলে প্ৰমাণ চিনাক্ত কৰিলে এইবোৰ হৈছে কি অনুমান তাৰপিছত হ'ল ধাৰণা দেন অনুমান তাৰপিছত হ'ল তুলনা তাৰপিছত মৌখিক সাক্ষ্য বনাম তাৰপিছত এইটো হ'ল অৰ্থপ্ৰতি তাৰপিছত আশংকা মানে অনুপলব্ধি এইবোৰ চব প্ৰভাকৰৰ অনাংশতা মানে অনুপলব্ধিক বৈধ জ্ঞানৰ উৎস হিচাপে প্ৰত্যাখ্যান কৰে তেওঁ কৈছিলে যে অস্বীকাৰক প্ৰমাণৰ স্বতন্ত্ৰ হ'ব নোৱাৰে যি আমি অস্বীকাৰ কৰোঁ তাক প্ৰমাণৰ স্বতন্ত্ৰ হ'ব নোৱাৰে তেওঁ দিয়া কাৰণটো হৈছে কি ইতিবাচক তথ্য বা পৰিঘটনাৰ সৈতে এক মতবাদ যিবোৰ আন প্ৰমাণ পোৱা যায় সেয়েহে মুঠ 5টা প্ৰমাণ গ্ৰহণ কৰে সেইটো কাৰণে কি কৰিলে তেওঁ 5টা প্ৰমাণ গ্ৰহণ কৰিলে that means what there are 5 perceptions are there perception inference এইবোৰে হ'ব 5টা so that means what sources of valid knowledge are all firstতে হ'ল কি perception so what is the meaning of the perception means what ধাৰণা হ'ল ফাৰ্ষ্টটো হ'ল কি ধাৰণা হৈছে কি জ্ঞানৰ এক প্ৰকাৰ যি বস্তু আৰু সংবেদন অংগবোৰৰ মাজৰ সংস্পৰ্শৰ ফলত হয় সাধাৰণতে আমি বিশ্বাস কৰোঁ যে আমাৰ ইন্দ্ৰিয়ৰ দ্বাৰা যি অনুভৱ কৰা হয় সেয়াহে কি হ'ব সঁচা হ'ব লাগিব কিয়নো ধাৰণাত বস্তুগত আমাৰ সংবেদন অংগৰ জৰিয়তে পোনপটীয়াকৈ জনা যায় এনেদৰে ধাৰণা হৈছে এক তাৎক্ষণিক জ্ঞান উদাহৰণ যেনেকা মেজ এখন চাই আৰু স্পৰ্শ কৰি এজনে সেই তালিকাৰ জ্ঞান আহৰণ কৰিব পাৰে কিন্তু অনুভৱযোগ্য জ্ঞান কেৱলহে বৈধ হয় যেতিয়া এটাক একেদৰে অনুভৱ কৰা হয় ন্যায়িক কাজৰ দৰে মীমাংসা বিদ্যালয় বিভিন্ন দৃষ্টিকোণৰ পৰা বিভিন্ন ধাৰণা আলোচনা কৰা হয় এতিয়া আমি এক্সাম্পলটো দিলো টাচিং টেবিল এখন টাচ কৰি পেলাই আমি নলেজ ল'ব পাৰোঁ টেবুলখনৰ যদি আমি টেবুল এখন চাই পেলাই আৰু টাচ কৰি পেলাই আমি এটা জ্ঞান ল'ব পাৰোঁ যে দিছ ইজ টেবিল দিছ ইজ মিনছ ৱাট পাৰচেপশ্যন আমি ধাৰণা কৰিব পাৰোঁ যে জাষ্ট কাঠৰ এখন টেবিল যদি আমি টাচ কৰিব পাৰোঁ আৰু চাব পাৰোঁ তেতিয়াহে আমি পাৰচিভ মানে জাষ্ট উই কেন হোৱাট উই চি উইথ আৱাৰ আইজ আমি আমাৰ চকুৰ জৰিয়তে যি দেখা পাওঁ সেই টেবুলখন চায়ে আমি আৰু স্পৰ্শ কৰি কি কৰিব পাৰোঁ এইখন তালিকাৰ জ্ঞানটো ল'ব পাৰোঁ যে এইখন টেবিল হয় আৰু এইখন কাঠেৰে হয় এইখনত ইউজ কি গোটেইবোৰ আমি চাই পেলাইহে ক'ব পাৰোঁ ধাৰণা হৈছে কি এটা জ্ঞানৰ এক প্ৰকাৰৰ যি বস্তু আৰু সংবেদন অংগবোৰৰ মাজৰ সংস্পৰ্শৰ ফলত হয় ন্যায়িক কাজৰ দৰে মীমাংসা স্কুলতো ক্লাছিফাইড পাৰচেপশ্যন ইন ভেৰিয়াছ কাইণ্ডছ কৰিছে ফাৰ্ষ্টলি পাৰচেপশ্যন ইজ ক্লাছিফাইড ইনটু 2 টাইপছ এটা হ'ল কি লৌকিক আৰু এটা হ'ল অলৌকিক যিটো আমি অলৰেডি ফাৰ্ষ্ট চেপ্টাৰ in this book we have discussed perception to all 2 types eta hol ordinary mane লৌকিক আৰু extraordinary hol অলৌকিক এটা হল লৌকিক যি আমি ধাৰণা কৰিব পাৰো জাস্ট চকুৰ লৌকিক মানে যি দেখা পাও ডাইৰেক্টলি পারসিভ কৰি পেলাই আৰু এটা হল কি অলৌকিক means what suppose God কেনেকা হ'ব পাৰে shape বা আকৃতি জাস্ট আমি কিছুমান যিবিলাক মূৰ্তি পূজা হয় যত তাতে মূৰ্তি পূজা হোৱাৰ পিছত দেৱী দেৱতা এইবোৰক গড বুলি মানা হয় জেনাৰেলি দেৱী দেৱতাক যি যিসকলৰ যি ধৰ্মত যে মূৰ্তি পূজা হয় বা এইবোৰ একচেপ্টেড, তাতে আমি দেৱতাসকল যেতিয়া আমি দেৱতাসকল ক'ব পাৰোঁ, তেতিয়া আমি ডাইৰেক্টলি এটা ইমেজ বনাই লওঁ যে কোনবিলাক বস্তু দেৱতা অৰ ষ্টেচু, এই মূৰ্তিবিলাক। চ' এই দেৱতাসকলক আমি এটা ধাৰণাৰ জৰিয়তে ইমাজিন কৰিব পাৰোঁ। কিন্তু ছাপ'জ গডৰ ইমাজিনেশ্যন আমি কেনেকা কৰিম এতিয়া? অলৌকিক হয় বস্তু। চ' তেনেকা ছেম কিছুমান বস্তু অলৌকিক, যেতিয়া চেন্স অৰ্গেনছ যেতিয়া চেন্স অৰ্গেন চকুৰ লগত কণ্টেক্টত আহি যাব, যেতিয়া আমাৰ চেন্সটো চকুৰ লগত দেখা পাব, তেতিয়া আমি বস্তুটো ডাইৰেক্টলি কি হ'ব, এটা অৰ্ডিনাৰী পাৰচেপশ্যনত তেতিয়া এইটোক আমি ডিটাৰমিন কৰিব পাৰোঁ যে এইটো এটা বস্তু হয় ডাইৰেক্টলি আমাৰ চকুৰ জৰিয়তে। সেইটো সৰ্বিকল্প বুলি কয়। তাক কি বুলি কয়? সৰ্বিকল্প। আৰু এটা হ'ল কি নিৰ্বিকল্প, যিটোৰ জৰিয়তে আমি অৰ্ডিনাৰী পাৰচেপশ্যনত ক'ব নোৱাৰোঁ। চ' ডিটেইলছ এনালাইচিছ, এই দুটা পাৰচেপশ্যন আমি এইটো সৰ্বিকল্প এণ্ড নিৰ্বিকল্প, এই দুটা আমি অলৰেডি ফাৰ্ষ্ট চেপ্টাৰত আলোচনা কৰিছোঁ। সেইটো কাৰণে ইয়াতে আকৌ এইটো বস্তু যে আলোচনা কৰিলে সময়টো কভাৰ কৰি নহ'ব। চ' দ্য ডিটেইলছ এনালাইচিছ, এইটো পাৰচেপশ্যন ফাউণ্ড ইন, এইটো তাতে পালোঁ। চ' অন পাৰচেপশ্যনত আমি বেছিক ডিফাৰেঞ্চ বিটুইন ন্যায় এণ্ড মীমাংসা ফিলচফিত আৰু ন্যায় পাৰচেপশ্যনত এইটোৱে হ'ল যে ন্যায়িকাজ কি কৰে, এইটো এটা অডিটাৰী অৰ্গেন এজ প্ৰিচিডিং ফৰ্ম বুলি, মানে অক্স বুলি কয়। আৰু মীমাংসাজ ৰিগাৰ্ডেড ইট প্ৰিচিডিং এ দিক, অক্স এণ্ড দিক বুলি কয়। এইটো মীমাংসা এইটোক কি বুলি কয়? দিক বুলি ক'ব। এণ্ড ন্যায়িকাজ ৰিগাৰ্ডেড এইটো অৰ্গেনক অক্স বুলি ক'ব। চ' পাৰচেপশ্যনত এইখিনি ধাৰণা আমাৰ ইমাজিনৰ এইখিনিৰ মাজত এটা আমি তাৰ লগত যি এই বস্তুবোৰৰ যি আমাৰ সংবেদন অংগৰ জৰিয়তে যি পোনপটীয়াকৈ এইটো জনা যায়, এইটোৱেই হ'ল মেইন আমাৰ বিষয়বস্তু। চ' এনেদৰে আমি ধাৰণা হৈছে কি এক তাৎক্ষণিক জ্ঞান। যিমান আমি ধাৰণা কৰিম তেতিয়া এইটো চাই পেলাই এটা জ্ঞান লগে লগে এটা এটা মমেণ্ট এইটো আমি জ্ঞান কৰিব পাৰোঁ। চ' অনুভৱযোগ্য জ্ঞান কেৱল তেতিয়ালৈকেহে বৈধ হয় যেতিয়া বস্তু এটাক এনেদৰে অনুভৱ কৰা হয়। আমি অনুভৱ যেতিয়া এইটো বস্তু এতিয়া আমি একেদৰে অনুভৱ কৰিব লগা আমি যেতিয়া এটা বস্তু চাই কিনি আমি যেতিয়া তাক চাপ'জ ভোক লগাটো আমি যেতিয়া অলপ ভোক লাগি যায়, তেতিয়া আমি গম পাই যাওঁ যে আমাৰ ভোক লাগি আছে, মানে বেছিকে আৰু ভোকটো আৰু বেছি হৈ যাব। তেতিয়া আমি অলপ লগাৰ লগে লগে আমি কি কৰোঁ, এটা ষ্টেপ লৈ লওঁ। তেতিয়া বেছিকে আমি যাবলৈ টাইমটো নিদিওঁ। ছেম তেনেকা অনুভৱযোগ্য বস্তুটো কেৱল জ্ঞানতহে বৈধ। সেইটো যেতিয়া এইটো এটা এনেদৰে আমি এইটো অনুভৱ কৰিব লাগিব। অনুভৱ কৰা বস্তুটো আমি জাষ্ট কি কৰিব লাগিব? অনুভৱ কৰিব লাগিব। খালি অনলি আমি অনুভৱ কৰা জ্ঞানটো আমাৰ তেতিয়াহে বৈধ হ'ব যেতিয়া আমি এইটো অনুভৱ কৰিব পাৰিম। তো ডাইৰেক্টলি অনুভৱ এটা বস্তু চাই কিনি যদি আমি জাষ্ট চাব পাৰোঁ, দৃষ্টিগোচৰ মানে যেনেকা জ্ঞানৰ যি সংবেদন অংগটো, এইটো যদি আমি ধাৰণা হৈছে কি জ্ঞানৰ এক প্ৰকাৰ, যি এইটো আমি জাষ্ট দেখা পাই পেলাই যদি বুজিব জ্ঞানটো ল'ব পাৰোঁ, তেতিয়াহ'লে আমাৰ অনুভৱটো কি হ'ব? নাইকিয়া হৈ যাব। ডেট মিনছ যেতিয়া আমি এটা বস্তু চোৱাৰ পিছত লগে লগে তাক এইটো এটা অনুভৱটোও কৰিব লাগিব, তেতিয়া আমি ডাইৰেক্টলি এইটো বস্তুটো জ্ঞান পাম। চ' আমি আমাৰ চকুৰে পাৰচিভ কৰি পেলাই পাৰচেপশ্যনৰ জৰিয়তে এইটো বস্তু লৈ ল'ব পাৰিম, কিন্তু তাৰ লগতেও কি কৰিব লাগিব? অনুভৱ কৰিব লাগিব। ডেট ইজ কল্ড হোৱাট? পাৰচেপশ্যন, মানে ধাৰণা। চ' নেক্সটটো হ'ল কি ইনফাৰেঞ্চৰ মাজত কি আছে এতিয়া? ছেকেণ্ড কাইণ্ড অফ প্ৰমাণ হ'ল, এইখিনি হ'ল ভেলিড চ'ৰ্চেছ অফ নলেজ। ছেকেণ্ড কাইণ্ড অফ প্ৰমাণ হ'ল কি? অনুমান, মানে ইনফাৰেঞ্চ। চ' দ্বিতীয় প্ৰকাৰৰ প্ৰমাণক আমি অনুমান বুলি কোৱা হয়। চ' অনুমান হৈছে কি এক প্ৰকাৰৰ জ্ঞান যি পূৰ্বৱৰ্তী জ্ঞানৰ ওপৰত আধাৰিত। এতিয়া প্ৰমাণটো ক'ৰ পৰা আহিব? প্ৰমাণৰ অনুমানটো এইটো হৈছে এটা জ্ঞান যি পূৰ্বৱৰ্তী জ্ঞানৰ ওপৰত আহি চ' আমাৰ ইন্দ্ৰিয়ৰ অংকবোৰৰ আগত বস্তু এটাৰ পোনপটীয়া উপস্থাপন আছে, আৰু সেয়েহে বোধগম্য জ্ঞান তৎক্ষণিক। সো অনুমান বস্তুটোৰ এনে কোনো পুনৱতীয়া উপস্থাপন নাই আৰু সেয়েহে ইয়াক পৰোক্ষ জ্ঞান বুলি কোৱা হয়। সো মধ্যস্থতাকাৰী জ্ঞান বুলি কোৱা হয়, মানে তাক মধ্যস্থকাৰী বস্তুটোৰ এনে কোনো তাৰ পুনপটীয়াকে উপস্থাপনো নাই বা সেয়ে ইয়াক পৰোক্ষ জ্ঞান বুলি কোৱা হয়, মানে পাৰচেপচুৱেল নলেজ ইজ ইমিডিয়েট। সো দেয়াৰ ইজ তাতে কোনো প্ৰেজেণ্টেশ্যন নাই অবজেক্টৰ আৰু সেইটো কাৰণে তাক পৰোক্ষ জ্ঞান আৰু মিডিয়েট নলেজ বুলি কোৱা হয়। আৰু এই অনুমানত এটা অবজেক্ট ইজ প্ৰেজেণ্ট থাকিব তেতিয়াহে পাৰ্টিকুলাৰ যিকোনো এটা আৰু এইটো আমি কি কৰিব লাগিব ইনভেৰিয়েবলি এইটো পাৰচিভ কৰিব পাৰোঁ। সো প্ৰেজেণ্টটো কি হ'ব চিমিলাৰ সো অনুমানত অবজেক্টটোৰ বেছ থাকিব আমাৰ প্ৰায়ৰ নলেজৰ ওপৰত। We see a smoke in a distant hill. From the presence of a smoke, we at once infer that there must be. Suppose অনুমানটো আমি যেতিয়া এটা অনুমান আমি জাষ্ট দূৰৰ পৰা চাইও কিবা এটা যেতিয়া পাৰচিভ কৰিম তেতিয়া জাষ্ট আমি দূৰৰ পৰা এটা বস্তু চাইও আমি এই বস্তুটো ডাইৰেক্টলি দেখা নেপালেও আমি এইটো বস্তু যদি চাই থাকো তেনেহ'লে আমি এটা জ্ঞান ল'ম যে তাতে কি হ'ব ঘটনা ঘটি আছে বা এটা অনুমান কৰিব পাৰোঁ। সো ইনফাৰেঞ্চ সাপোজ এতিয়া পাহাৰৰ ওপৰত জুই জ্বলি আছে, ডেট মিনছ পাহাৰৰ ওপৰতে জুই জ্বলি আছে, আমিতো জুইটো দেখা পোৱা নাই। তো সাপোজ পাহাৰৰ ওপৰত জুই জ্বলি আছে, ইয়াৰ পৰা আমি কি দেখা পাম জুই দেখা নাপাম, ডাইৰেক্টলি দূৰৰ পৰা দেখা পাম ধোঁৱা ওলাই আছে। ডেট মিনছ হোৱাট তাতে ধোঁৱা ওলাই আছে, ডেট মিনছ হোৱাট তাতে এটা জুই জ্বলি আছে। ধোঁৱা ওলাই আছে ডাইৰেক্টলি আমি ডেট মিনছ হোৱাট তাতে ধোঁৱা ওলাই আছে, ডেট মিনছ হোৱাট তাতে জুই জ্বলি আছে। বিকজ এইটো আমি কেনেকৈ গম পাওঁ এতিয়া তাতে জুই জ্বলি আছে, আমি কিয় কোৱা নাই যে ধোঁৱা ওলাই দেখা পাই আমি বেলেগ কিবা কিয় কোৱা নাই যে তাতে বৰষুণ হৈ আছে কিবা বতাহ হৈ আছে কিবা বেলেগো ক'ব পাৰোঁ ন, কিন্তু কোৱা নাই। হোৱাই বিকজ ইনফাৰেঞ্চ এইটোত প্ৰমাণৰ মানে অনুমানত এই বস্তুটো যেটা জুই আৰু ধোঁৱা এই বস্তুটো দুটাৰ লগত ভেৰি ক্ল'জলি ৰিলেটেড। যেতিয়া য'ত আমি এইখিনি ভালকে জানো য'ত কি হয় ধোঁৱা ওলাই তাতে ধোঁৱা ওলাই য'ত জুই থাকে। চ' ডেট মিনছ হোৱাট আমি দেখা পাইছোঁ কি তাতে জুই জ্বলি আছে, বাট আমি দেখা পালোঁ যে তাতে ধোঁৱা ওলাই আছে, কিন্তু আমি ক'ব পাৰিম যে তাতে জুই আছে। চ' ডেট মিনছ হোৱাট বিকজ দেয়াৰ ইজ দ্য এক্সিষ্টেঞ্চ অফ ফায়াৰ, ডেট স্ম'কটো দেখা পাই আমি ক'ব পাৰিছোঁ যে তাতে ধোঁৱা নহয় ধোঁৱা আছে, বাট তাতে জুই বিকজ দ্য প্ৰেজেঞ্চ অফ স্ম'ক উই এট ওৱান্স ইনফাৰ ডেট আমি তাতে ধোঁৱা দেখা পায়েই ক'ব পাৰোঁ যে তাতে কি হৈ আছে জুই জ্বলি আছে। বিকজ উই হেভ অলৰেডি এক্সপিৰিয়েঞ্চ এণ্ড উই হেভ দ্য নলেজ এবাউট দ্য ফায়াৰ এণ্ড স্ম'ক। যে ধোঁৱাৰ লগত জুইৰ যি এটা ভেৰি ক্ল'জ ৰিলেশ্যন আছে এইটো আমি আগৰ পৰাই আমাৰ এক্সপিৰিয়েঞ্চত আছে। চ' ডেট মিনছ হোৱাট ইনফাৰেঞ্চ ইজ ৰিলেটেড উইথ এইটো আমাৰ জ্ঞান বোধগম্য জ্ঞান হয় আৰু তাৎক্ষণিক হয়। চ' এইটোৰ কোনো উপস্থাপনতা নাই আৰু ইয়াক মধ্যস্থকাৰী জ্ঞান বুলি কোৱা হয়। চ' তাতে নেক্সট যিটো হ'ল আমাৰ এইটো হ'ল কি কম্পাৰিজন মানে উপমান। ডেট মিনছ হোৱাট উপমান হৈছে কি ন্যায়িকাজৰ দৃষ্টিভংগীৰ দৰে মীমাংসিকাসকলৰ দ্বাৰা স্বীকৃত এটা প্ৰমাণ। এইটো উপমান হৈছে কি ন্যায়িকাজৰ আছিলে এইটো দৃষ্টিভংগীটো, আৰু এইটো উপমানত বস্তু এটাৰ জ্ঞান আৰু একেধৰণে উপমানত কি হয় মানে কম্পাৰিজনত বস্তু এটাৰ জ্ঞান হয়। এনে এটা পৰিস্থিতি ধৰি লওক য'ত এজন মানুহে গাবাই বা বনৰীয়া গৰু দেখা নাই আৰু সেইটো কি নাজানে, কিন্তু বনৰীয়াই তেওঁক কৈছিলে যে বনৰীয়া গৰু এখন দেশৰ গৰুৰ দৰে জন্তু হয়, কিন্তু তাই বেছি খং উঠিছে আৰু তাইৰ কঁপালতো ডাঙৰ শিং আছে। চ' পিছৰ সময়ছোৱাত তেওঁ এখন অৰণ্যত বনৰীয়া গৰুৰ সন্মুখীন হয় আৰু বনৰীয়াৰ দ্বাৰা প্ৰস্তুত কৰা বৰ্ণনাবোৰ কম্পেয়াৰ কৰি ইয়াক বনৰীয়া গৰু হিচাপে চিনাক্ত কৰা হয়। চ' উপমান মানে দুটাৰ মাজত যি ডিফাৰেঞ্চ এটা চাপ'জ ইন এ ৱাইল্ড কাউ এণ্ড যি আমাৰ ডমেষ্টিক কাউ এণ্ড ৱাইল্ড কাউৰ মাজত এটা ডিফাৰেঞ্চ আছে। এজ এন এক্সাম্পল। চ' এই ডিফাৰেঞ্চটোৰ মাজত কি হয়, আমি এইটো কৰিবৰ কাৰণে কি কৰিব লাগিব, গনৰিয়া এইটো গৈ আমি তাতে সময়ছোৱাত গৈ তাতে এইটো সন্মুখীন হ'ব লাগিব, আৰু দুটাৰ মাজত যি ডিফাৰেঞ্চ আছে এইখিনিও আমি চাই পিনি তাৰপিছতহে বনৰীয়া তাকে জাংল ৱাইল্ড কাউ বুলি তাকে চিনাক্ত কৰিব পাৰিম। বিকজ তাৰ মাজত কি হয়, এটা এক্সট্ৰা কোৱালিটি আছে যে সি অলপ হিংস্ৰ। চ' ডেট মিনছ হোৱাট, এটা গুণ তাৰ মাজত গুণ নহয় এইটো, কিন্তু জংঘলত যেতিয়া আছে তেতিয়া তাৰ এইটোক আমি তাৰ এটা কোৱালিটি বুলি, তাৰ এক্সট্ৰা এটা এক্টিভিটি বুলি ক'ব পাৰোঁ, যে ডেট ওৱান ইজ হি ইজ এ ক্ৰুৱেল। চ' ডেট jungle wild cow is a cruel, some more cruel than the domestic cow. চ' এই বস্তুটো আমি উপমানৰ তুলনাৰ বাবে এই জ্ঞানটো সম্ভৱ, উপমানৰ জৰিয়তে তুলনাৰ বাবেই এইটো সম্ভৱ। চ' ন্যায়িকাজৰ দৃষ্টিভংগীৰ দৰে যেনেকা আছিলে সেইটোতকে মীমাংসাগৰৰ তেওঁ স্বীকৃতি দিছিলে প্ৰমাণক, আৰু উপমানত বস্তু এইটোৰ জ্ঞান বা আৰু এটা বেলেগ ধৰণৰ বস্তুৰ গঠনো কৰে, তুলনা কৰি দুটাৰ মাজত তুলনা কৰিহে নিৰ্ধাৰণ কৰা হৈছিল। চ' উপমান এইটো হ'ল কি, এটা নলেজ of the relation between name and the object denotes by their name. এটা হ'ল relation between name and এটা হ'ল object by the name. Suppose এইটো বস্তুতে এইটো কাম চলা নাই, তেতিয়া এইটোৰ এক্সচেঞ্জত আমি এইটোৰ এবচেণ্টত আৰু এটা বস্তু আমি ইউজ কৰিব পাৰোঁ। দেট ইজ তুলনাৰ বাবে কি হয়, এইটো জ্ঞান, এইটো তুলনাৰ জৰিয়তে এই বস্তুটো সম্ভৱ। চ' Upaman is the knowledge of the relation between a name and the object denotes by the name. So, the object name আৰু এইটো name এই দুটাৰ মাজতে ক্ল'জলি দুটাৰ মাজতে ৰিলেটেড। চ' ন্যায় দৰ্শনৰ যি আছিলে এইটো বেলেগ আছিলে ন্যায়বিলাকৰ। এতিয়া মীমাংসা দৰ্শনত যি দুয়োটা সম্প্ৰদায় দুই প্ৰকাৰৰ জ্ঞান স্বীকাৰ কৰিছে, সেই দুই প্ৰকাৰৰে জ্ঞান হৈছে অপৰোক্ষ জ্ঞান আৰু পৰোক্ষ জ্ঞান। প্ৰভাকৰ মীমাংসাই 5 প্ৰকাৰৰ জ্ঞান নিৰ্বাচন কৰিছিলে, আৰু এই জ্ঞানৰ যি নিৰ্বাচন কৰিছিলে, আৰু এই জ্ঞানৰ জৰিয়তে অপৰোক্ষ জ্ঞান বা পৰোক্ষ জ্ঞান, এই প্ৰভাকৰৰ মীমাংসাই 5 প্ৰকাৰৰ এইটো প্ৰমাণ স্বীকাৰ কৰিছে, যি প্ৰত্যক্ষ, অনুমান, শব্দ, উপমান আৰু অৰ্থপ্ৰতীক। চ' এই 5 প্ৰকাৰ প্ৰমাণৰ ওপৰেও বট্টমীমাংসাই অনুপলব্ধি নামৰ আৰু এটা প্ৰমাণ কৰিছে। তেওঁ এইটো বট্টাকৰে কি কৰিছে, এতিয়া আমি 3 নম্বৰটো আলোচনা কৰিলোঁ, যি কম্পাৰিজন। দেন নেক্সট হ'ল কি ভাৰ্বেল টেষ্টিমনি, মানে শব্দ। তাতে কি হ'ল, এইটো ভাৰ্বেল টেষ্টিমনি, দেট মিনছ হোৱাট, শব্দ। So this is another প্ৰমাণ হয় sources of valid knowledge. So মীমাংসা দৰ্শন অনুসৰি সাক্ষ্য হৈছে কি, ন্যায় দৰ্শনৰ দৰে এজন বিশ্বাসযোগ্য ব্যক্তিয়ে উচ্চাৰণ কৰা এক নিৰ্ভৰযোগ্য বিবৃতি। So সাক্ষ্য হৈছে এক বৈধ জ্ঞান যি শব্দ বা বাক্যৰ পৰা আহৰণ কৰা হয়, কিন্তু সকলো শব্দ বা বাক্যক সাক্ষ্য হিচাপে গ্ৰহণ কৰিব নোৱাৰে, কিয়নো সকলো মৌখিক অভিব্যক্তিক বৈধ জ্ঞান হিচাপে গণ্য কৰা নহয়। সেয়েহে মীমাংসাকৰৰ বাবে শব্দ এজন বিশ্বাসযোগ্য ব্যক্তিৰ মৌলিক দাবীৰ ওপৰত আধাৰিত হ'ব লাগিব, আৰু যি সত্য জানে আৰু আনৰ নিৰ্দেশনাৰ বাবেও সত্য ক'ব বিচাৰে। চ' মীমাংসা দৰ্শন অনুসৰি কি হ'ল, সাক্ষ্য হৈছে কি, এটা ন্যায়িকাজৰ দৰ্শনৰ দৰে এজন বিশ্বাসযোগ্য ব্যক্তিয়ে উচ্চাৰণ কৰা এক নিৰ্ভৰযোগ্য বিবৃতি হয়, আৰু সাক্ষ্য হৈছে এক বৈধ জ্ঞান যি শব্দ বা বাক্যৰ পৰা আহৰণ কৰা হয়, কিন্তু সকলো শব্দ বা বাক্যক সাক্ষ্য হিচাপে গ্ৰহণ কৰিব নোৱাৰে, কিয়নো সকলো মৌলিক অভিব্যক্তিক বৈধ জ্ঞান হিচাপে গণ্য কৰা নহয়। সেয়েহে মীমাংসাকৰৰ বাবে শব্দ এজন বিশ্বাসযোগ্য ব্যক্তিৰ মৌলিক দাবীৰ ওপৰতে আধাৰিত হ'ব লাগিব, যি সত্য জানে আৰু আনৰ নিৰ্দেশনাৰ বাবে সত্য ক'ব বিচাৰে। এইটো হ'ল So verbal testimony তো verbal testimony used কৰা হৈছে meaningful words or sentence যিবিলাকৰ কম্বিনেশ্যনৰ লেটাৰ্ছ বা শব্দৰ যি কম্বিনেশ্যন হয় এইবিলাকে actually do not provide a valid knowledge. So therefore words and sentence must be used in a specific এনেকা সেন্সত ইউজ কৰিব লাগিব যাৰ মিনিংটো হ'ব কি ক্লিয়াৰ আৰু as a result it should be treated as a valid প্ৰমাণ। শব্দবিলাক এনেকা শব্দ বা বাক্যৰ পৰা আহৰণ কৰা হ'ব যিবিলাকৰ এটা মানে শব্দ বা বাক্যক এটা মানে সাক্ষ্য হিচাপে বৈধ জ্ঞানৰ সাক্ষ্য হিচাপে গণ্য কৰা হ'ব। যাতে এইটো বস্তুটো অল ৱাৰ্ড সেন্টেন্স কেনৰ গোটেই শব্দবোৰ আমি ইয়াতে টেষ্টিমনিত ইউজ কৰিব নোৱাৰো বিকজ অল ভাৰ্বেল এক্সপ্ৰেছনছ আৰ নট নেচেচাৰিলি ৰিগাৰ্ডেড এজ এ ভেলিড নলেজ। গোটেই এক্সপ্ৰেছনবোৰ কি হ'ব আমি ভেলিড নলেজত ইউজ কৰিব নোৱাৰিম। চ' মীমাংসা দৰ্শনৰ মতে কি ভাৰ্বেল টেষ্টিমনিৰ বা শব্দত এটা মিনিংফুল ৱৰ্ডছবোৰ অনলি সেন্টেন্স মিনিংফুল ৱৰ্ডছৰ সেন্টেন্সবোৰ ইউজ কৰা হ'ব আৰু যি কম্বিনেশ্যনৰ লেটাৰ্ছ অৰ ৱৰ্ডছ এইবিলাকে কোনো প্ৰভাইড ভেলিড নলেজবোৰ ভেলিড নলেজে প্ৰভাইড কৰিব যিবোৰ ৱৰ্ডে আৰু যিবিলাকৰ জৰিয়তে ভেলিড নলেজ প্ৰভাইড নকৰে এইবোৰ আমি তাতে ইউজ কৰিব নোৱাৰোঁ বিকজ যি হ'ব লাগিব সত্য হ'ব লাগিব আৰু সত্য হ'ব লাগিব আৰু আনৰ নিৰ্দেশনাৰ বাবে সত্য ক'ব বিচাৰিব লাগিব। চ' ভাৰ্বেল টেষ্টিমনি মানে শব্দ এইটো হ'ল দেন হ'ল পষ্টুলেশ্যন মানে অৰ্থপ্ৰতি পষ্টুলেশ্যনৰ মতে কি হ'ল পষ্টুলেশ্যন ইজ এনাদাৰ টাইপ অফ এ চ'ৰ্চ অফ নলেজ। এইটো হ'ল কি মীমাংসিকাসকলৰ দ্বাৰা বজাই ৰখা বৈধ জ্ঞানৰ এক অনন্য উৎস। মীমাংসিকা যিবিলাকে দোজ হু আৰ ফলোয়িং মীমাংসা ফিলচফি জেনাৰেলি সিহঁতক মীমাংসিকাসকল বুলি কোৱা হয়। মীমাংসিকাসকল মিনছ হোৱাট দোজ হু আৰ ফলোয়িং দ্য মীমাংসিকা ফিলচফি। সিহঁতসকলে বন্য এইটো মীমাংসিকাসকলৰ যি জ্ঞানৰ এটা বৈধ হিচাপে প্ৰকাশ কৰে এইটো হ'ল অৰ্থপ্ৰতি অভিব্যক্তিটো হৈছে এটা অৰ্থ আৰু অৰ্থপ্ৰতি নামৰ দুটা শব্দৰ সংমিশ্ৰণ অৰ্থ আৰু প্ৰতি এইটোৰ এটা অৰ্থপ্ৰতিৰ দুটা এটা জ্ঞানৰ বৈধ হিচাপে প্ৰকাশ কৰে। অৰ্থপ্ৰতি অভিব্যক্তিটো হৈছে কি অৰ্থ আৰু আপত্তি দেট মিনছ হোৱাট সংমিশ্ৰণ। চ' অৰ্থ শব্দটোৰ অৰ্থ হৈছে সত্য আৰু আপত্তি হৈছে কল্পনা। চ' যাক ইংৰাজীত অনুমান বুলি বুজা যায়। সেয়েহে কি হয় বুৎপত্তিসকলৰ ক'বলৈ গ'লে অৰ্থপ্ৰতি হৈছে সেই জ্ঞান যি দুটা তত্ত্বৰ মাজৰ বিবাদ সমাধান কৰে। চ' দেট মিনছ হোৱাট অৰ্থপ্ৰতি অভিব্যক্তিটো হৈছে অৰ্থ আৰু আপত্তি শব্দৰ নামৰ দুটাৰ শব্দৰ সংমিশ্ৰণ। চ' অৰ্থ শব্দটোৰ অৰ্থ হৈছে সত্য আৰু আপত্তি অৰ্থটো হৈছে কল্পনা। চ' যাক ইংৰাজীত অনুমান বুলি বুজা হয়। সেয়েহে ব্যুৎপত্তিগতভাৱে ক'বলৈ গ'লে অৰ্থপ্ৰতি হৈছে সেই জ্ঞান যি দুটা তত্ত্বৰ মাজৰ বিবাদ সমাধান কৰে দুটা তত্ত্বৰ মাজত দুটা বিভাজন সমাধান কৰে। দেট মিনছ হোৱাট ইংৰাজীতে অনুমান বুলি বুজা যায় আৰু সেয়েহে ব্যুৎপত্তিগতভাৱে ক'বলৈ গ'লে অৰ্থপ্ৰতি হৈছে কি সেই জ্ঞান বা দুটা তত্ত্বৰ মাজত বিবাদ সমাধান কৰে। চ' অৰ্থপ্ৰতি এইটো এজাম্পশ্যন হয় আৰু আনপাৰচিভড ফেক্ট ইন অৰ্ডাৰ টু ৰিকনচাইল টু এপেৰেণ্টলি ইনকনচিষ্টেণ্ট পাৰচিভড দুটা ইনকনচিষ্টেণ্ট পাৰচিভড ফেক্টছ হয়। এতিয়া দেৱদত্ত ইজ এ ছাপ'জ এটা এক্সাম্পল দিওঁ দেৱদত্ত ইজ এ ফেট মেন বাই ফাষ্টিং অফ দ্য ডে আৰু এই প্ৰপজিশ্যনত কি হয় দুটা ফেক্টছ এটা হ'ল দেৱদত্ত ইজ এ হিউমেন এণ্ড এ লিভ আৰু এটা হ'ল কি ফেট। চ' এইটোৰ মানে কি হ'ল হি ইজ নট ইটিং ইন দেয়াৰ টাইম ইন অৰ্ডাৰ টু ৰিচল্ভ দ্য তেওঁ কি কৰে দিনত নাখায় হাউ এ পাৰ্চন উইল বি ফেট ইফ নট দে আৰ ইটিং ইন দ্য ডে যদি গোটেই দিনটি তেওঁ একো নাখায়। চ' দেৱদত্ত কি হয় এজন ব্যক্তি হয় যে অলপ ফেট হয় কিন্তু তেওঁ এজন ফেট হয় আৰু তেওঁ কি কৰে একো দিনত নাখায় আকৌ যে তেওঁ দিনত নাখায় কি দেট মিনছ হোৱাট তেওঁ দিনত কি কৰে টোপনি নট ইটিং তেওঁ দিনত নাখায় ৰাতি খায় কিন্তু দেট মিনছ তেওঁ ফেট কেনেকৈ হয়। চ' ইয়াতে দুটা জ্ঞান হ'ল এটা হ'ল কি এনিথিং ইন দ্য তেওঁ দিনত একো নাখায় দেন হাউ ই বিকাম ফেট So it will existence of third, that is he must eating in the, that means what, তেওঁ দিনত নাখায়, তেওঁ দিনত একো নাখায় যদি তেওঁ কেনেকৈ শকত হ'ব, that means what, আমি লাইনটো কি ক'লোঁ, দেৱদত্ত is a fat man who is fasting in the day, দেৱদত্ত is a fat man by fasting in the day. That means what, দেৱদত্ত এজন ফেট মেনো হয়, আকৌ এজন ফাষ্টিং মেনো হয়. That means what, তেওঁ দিনত নাখায়, that means what, তেওঁ ফেট কেনেকুৱা হ'ব, তেওঁ যদি ফাষ্টিঙত থাকে দেন হাউ হি উইল বি ফেট. চ' দেৱদত্ত ডেট মিনছ ৱাট, তেওঁ ফাষ্টিঙত আছে, ডেট মিনছ ৱাট, তেওঁ ৰাতি খায়, ডেট মিনছ ৱাট, তেওঁ ৰাতি খায়. চ' এনেকুৱা বস্তু যি অৰ্থপ্ৰতিৰ মানে দুটা মিনিং. এনাদাৰ এক্সাম্পল, ছাপ'জ জন ইজ লিভিং এণ্ড who is not at home. John is living but he is not at home. Thus, this problem observed here is how John is alive, and if not found in his home to resolve this contribution, that he may be saying that in a rented house. That means দেৱদত্ত আছে, জীয়াই আছে, আৰু দেৱদত্ত কি হয়, ঘৰতে নাই. That means what? That means what? তেওঁ ঘৰতে নাই. That means what? তেওঁ somewhere is living in rent. তেওঁ কেনেকুৱা আছে, ইন ৰেণ্টত আছে ক'ৰবাত, বিকজ হি ইজ লিভিং হৈ আছে. এতিয়া দেৱদত্ত যদি ডেথ হয় আৰু নাই হয়, তেতিয়াহে আমি কথাটো কি কৰিব পাৰোঁ, এডজাষ্ট কৰিব পাৰোঁ. বাট দেৱদত্ত ইজ লিভিং এণ্ড হি ইজ নট এট হোম. দেট মিনছ হোৱাট, হি ইজ নট এট হোম. দেট মিনছ হোৱাট, হি ইজ ইন চামৱেৰ ইন হিজ ৰেণ্ট ৰুম. অ'কে, এণ্ড দেট মিনছ দেৱদত্ত ইজ লিভিং, দেট মিনছ হোৱাট, হি ইজ লিভিং. চ' এই দুটা বস্তু কি হয়, অৰ্থ আৰু আপাতি, এই দুটা শব্দৰ সংমিশ্ৰণ হয়. চ' অৰ্থ শব্দটোৰ অৰ্থ হৈছে সত্য আৰু আপাতি শব্দটোৰ অৰ্থ হৈছে কল্পনা. চ' এইটো হ'ল পষ্টুলেশ্যনছ. দেট মিনছ হোৱাট, সেয়েহে উৎপত্তিগতভাৱে ক'বলৈ গ'লে অৰ্থপতি হৈছে সেই জ্ঞান আৰু যি দুটা তথ্যৰ মাজত বিবাদ সমাধান কৰে. চ' অনুপলব্ধি, এইটো আমি উপলব্ধি, অৰ্থপতিত এইটো এজামশ্যন. এইটোৰ মাজত আকৌ অনুপলব্ধিও কিছুমান বস্তু আছে, যে ডিচিজন কি হয়, ইণ্ডিপেণ্ডেণ্ট চ'ৰ্চ অফ ভেলিড নলেজ. তাত কি হয়, লাষ্টত এইটো এড কৰা হৈছিলে অনুপলব্ধি. চ' দিছ ইজ এন ইণ্ডিপেণ্ডেণ্ট চ'ৰ্চ অফ ভেলিড নলেজ. চ' অনুপলব্ধি, দিট মিনছ হোৱাট, নন এপ্ৰিয়েশ্যন. এইটো এটা হ'ল মীমাংসা ধাৰণৰ দ্বাৰা গ্ৰাহক হোৱা বৈধ জ্ঞানৰ এক স্বতন্ত্ৰ উৎস. চ' আশংকা হৈছে বস্তু এটাৰ অস্তিত্ব নোহোৱাৰ তাৎক্ষণিক জ্ঞান, কোনো নিৰ্দিষ্ট স্থান বা এইটো স্থানত এই নিৰ্দিষ্ট বস্তুটোহে অস্তিত্বহীনতা অনুভৱ কৰিবলৈ অনুপলব্ধি বুলি কোৱা হয়. চ' উদাহৰণস্বৰূপে, ছাপ'জ মেজত কোনো কিতাপ নাই, ইয়াত এজন ব্যক্তিয়ে কিতাপখন তেওঁৰ সংবেদন অংগৰ জৰিয়তে পোনপটীয়াকৈ অনুভৱ কৰে, কিন্তু টেবুলৰ কিতাপখনৰ অনুপস্থিতি বা অস্তিত্বৰ জ্ঞান উদ্ভৱ হয় কাৰণ অনুভৱযোগ্য বস্তুটোৰ ধাৰণা নোহোৱাৰ বাবে. ডেট মিনছ হোৱাট, কোনো এটা নিৰ্দিষ্ট স্থান আৰু এক নিৰ্দিষ্ট সময়ত অবজেক্ট এটা নাই, কিন্তু ই আন ঠাইত আছে. এইটো বস্তু টেবুলখনত কিতাপখন নাই, কিন্তু কিতাপখন ক'ত আছে, বেলেগ টেবুলত আছে. চ' নিৰ্দিষ্ট পৰিস্থিতি বা স্থানত সেই নিৰ্দিষ্ট বস্তুটোৰ অস্তিত্বহীনতা অনুভৱ কৰিবলৈ অনুপলব্ধিৰ প্ৰয়োজন. ডেট মিনছ হোৱাট, এইটো যে এইখন টেবুলত এই কিতাপখন নাই, কিন্তু এইখন ক'ৰবাত আছে, এইখন বেলেগত আছে বা কোনোবাই লৈ গৈছে, এই বস্তুটো কৰিবৰ কাৰণে কি কৰিব লাগিব, আমি জ্ঞান থাকিব লাগিব আমাৰ. ডেট মিনছ হোৱাট, অনুপলব্ধি কৰিব লাগিব. চ' এইটো ইয়াত এজন ব্যক্তিয়ে এখন তেওঁৰ সংবেদন অংগৰ জৰিয়তে পোনপটীয়াকৈ অনুভৱ নকৰে, তেওঁ আকৌ কিবা টাচ কৰি পেলাই এইটো জাষ্ট দেখা পাই পেলাই টেবুলত এইখন কিতাপ নাইখিনি আমি ক'ব পাৰোঁ যে ইয়াতে টেবুলখন কিতাপখন নাই. চ' দেট ইজ কল্ড হোৱাট, নন এপ্ৰিহেনশ্যন বা অনুপলব্ধি বুলি কোৱা হয় তাতে. চ' ইয়াৰ মাজত আকৌ কিছুমান এক্সটেনশ্যন অনুপলব্ধি আছে, যেনেকা to possess the knowledge of non-existence of the objects in existence from is called অনুপলব্ধি. That means what, এখন তাতে থাকিব লগা আছিলে, হঠাৎ ছাডেনলি গৈ তাতে নাই, ডেট মিনছ হোৱাট, তাতে বেলেগ হৈছে. এইটোতে আমি কি বুলি ক'ব লাগিব, অনুপস্থিতিটো যে এই কিতাপখনৰ, তাকে আমি কি কৰিব লাগিব, যে অনুপলব্ধি ক'ব লাগিব. কি ক'ব লাগিব, অনুপলব্ধি মানে নন এপ্ৰিহেনশ্যন. চ' ডেট মিনছ হোৱাট, থিয়ৰিজ অফ এৰৰ. তাৰপিছত আমি থিয়ৰিজ অফ এৰৰ আৰু প্ৰভাকৰৰ স্কুল এইখিনি আছে, এইখিনি শেষ হ'ব নেকি আজি। চ' এইটো মীমাংসা দৰ্শনৰ যি মীমাংসা দৰ্শনতো এই জগতখনৰ যি বা মেইনলি মীমাংসা দৰ্শনৰ বেদানুগত দৰ্শন হয়, আৰু বেদৰ দুটা প্ৰধান বিভাগো আছিলে। এই বিভাগ দুটা হ'ল কি হৈছে পূৰ্বকাণ্ড আৰু কৰ্মকাণ্ড। একচুৱেলি বৈদিক এণ্ড নন বৈদিক বুলি দিয়া আছিলে। চ' এৰৰৰ চেপ্টাৰত যদি যাওঁ আমি, তেতিয়া থিয়ৰী অফ এৰৰ্ছ, নেক্সট পইণ্টটো কি আছিলে, থিয়ৰিজ অফ এৰৰ্ছ। চ' এৰৰ্ছৰ থিয়ৰিজ অফ এৰৰ্ছৰ হ'ল খ্যাতিবাদ। ডেট মিনছ হোৱাট থিয়ৰী অফ এৰৰ ইজ কল্ড কি খ্যাতিবাদ। ইট ইজ অপ'জ টু দ্য থিয়ৰী অফ দ্য প্ৰামাণ্যবাদ। এইটো প্ৰামাণ্যবাদৰ অপজিটো হয়, যি ভেলিডিটি অফ নলেজ হয়, এইটোৰ অপজিটত হয়। ডেট মিনছ হোৱাট দ্য টাৰ্ম খ্যাতিবাদ এছ'চিয়েটেড উইথ ইনভেলিড অৰ এৰনিয়াছ নলেজ। এইটো কি হয়, ইনভেলিড এৰনিয়াছ নলেজত হৈ থাকে। কিন্তু জেনাৰেলি থিয়ৰিজ অফ নলেজ, থিয়ৰিজ অফ এৰৰ্ছ আৰ কমপ্লিট নিউ এণ্ড দিছ মীমাংসা দৰ্শনৰ দ্বাৰাও এই গ্ৰাহক হোৱা যি বৈধ জ্ঞানৰ এক স্বতন্ত্ৰ উৎস, এই আশংকাটোৱেই হৈছে বস্তু এটিৰ অস্তিত্ব নোহোৱাৰ তাৎক্ষণিক জ্ঞান। চ' কোনো নিৰ্দিষ্ট জ্ঞান আৰু এক অনিৰ্দিষ্ট সময়ত অবজেক্ট এটা নাই। চ' কিন্তু ই আন ঠাইত আছে, নিৰ্দিষ্ট পৰিস্থিতিৰ স্থানত সেই বিশিষ্ট বস্তুটোৰ অস্তিত্বহীনতা অনুভৱ কৰিবলৈও অনুপলব্ধি প্ৰয়োজন। চ' ইয়াত এজন ব্যক্তিয়ে কিতাপখন তেওঁলোকৰ এই সংবেদন অংগৰ জৰিয়তে পোনপটীয়াকৈ অনুভৱ নকৰে, কিন্তু টেবুলত কিতাপখনৰ অনুপস্থিতি বা অস্তিত্বৰ জ্ঞান উদ্ভৱ হয়, কাৰণ অনুভৱযোগ্য বস্তুটোৰ ধাৰণা নোহোৱাৰ বাবে। চ' ডেট মিনছ হোৱাট, অনুপলব্ধিৰ জৰিয়তে যি ভেলিডিটি হওক বা চ'ৰ্চ অফ নলেজ আহিছিলে, এইখিনি নলেজৰ লগতে ৰিলেটেড উইথ মীমাংসা যিবিলাক পষ্টুলেশ্যন হওক, অনুপলব্ধি, অৰ্থপ্ৰতি হওক, আৰু শব্দই হওক বা উপমান, কম্পাৰিজন, এইবোৰৰ মাজত। চ' কম্পাৰিজনৰ মাজত মেইনলি যি এটা বস্তু আছিলে ইনফাৰেঞ্চৰ, যি ইনফাৰেঞ্চ মেইনলি এইটো ইনফাৰেঞ্চৰ মাজত যিটো মীমাংসা ফিলচফি মেইনলি আছিলে, সিহঁতে এটা ইনফাৰেঞ্চ এষ্টাব্লিছ কৰিবৰ কাৰণে এটা আগমনৰ জৰিয়তেহে বস্তুখিনিত লৈ যাব লাগিব। তেতিয়াহে ডাইৰেক্টলি আমি ছাডেনলি বস্তুটো তেনেকৈ উপলব্ধি কৰি এণ্ডিং কৰিব নোৱাৰোঁ। চ' চ'ৰ্চেছ অফ ভেলিড নলেজৰ মাজত মেইনলি পাৰচেপশ্যন যিটো আছিলে, পাৰচেপশ্যনৰ মাজতে কি আছিলে, ইনফাৰেঞ্চৰ যিটো অনুমান আছিলে, অনুমানৰ মাজতো ইমিডিয়েট ইনফাৰেঞ্চ বা মিডিয়েট ইনফাৰেঞ্চ, এটা হ'ল মাধ্যম অনুমান বা অমাধ্যম অনুমান, তেনেকুৱাও আছিলে। দুটা এইবোৰ আছে, যিটো ইয়াতে দিয়া হোৱা নাই, যি মাধ্যম অনুমান আৰু অমাধ্যম অনুমান। চ' তাৰ মানে ফিলচফিৰ পাৰ্টত যি অনুমানৰ যিটো পাৰ্ট, এইটো লজিকৰ পাৰ্টতো কিছুমান বস্তু তেনেকুৱা অনুমানৰ অংশত দিয়া হৈছে। চ' সেইটো লজিকৰ পাৰ্টখিনি কমপ্লিটলি ছেপাৰেট, তাক মাধ্যম অনুমান বা অমাধ্যম অনুমান কোৱা হয়। আৰু ফিলচফিৰ পাৰ্টত এইটো বস্তুৱে থাকিলে মীমাংসা ফিলচফিবিলাকৰ মাজত যিটো এইটো প্ৰভাকৰ বা এই উৰ্মিলাপত্ৰ, তেওঁলোকৰে কিছুমান বস্তু ডাইভাৰ্ট কৰি পেলাই তেওঁলোকে এইটো কনক্লুশ্যন দিছিলে। চ' মীমাংসা দৰ্শন হৈছে যদিও বেদানুগত দৰ্শন, বেদৰ দুটা প্ৰধান বিভাগ আছে তাতে, কিন্তু একচুৱেলি তাতে বেদৰ কৰ্মকাণ্ডৰ ওপৰতে এইটো উত্তৰকাণ্ড বা জ্ঞানকাণ্ড এইখিনিৰো ভাগ আছে লগত। চ' বেদৰ কৰ্মকাণ্ডৰ ওপৰতে মীমাংসা দৰ্শন নিৰ্ভৰশীল। মেইনলি বেদৰ যোনটো কৰ্মকাণ্ড, এইটোতে মেইনলি বেদত যিবোৰ নীতি নিয়ম, এইবোৰে মীমাংসাসকলে ফ'ল' কৰিছে বা এক্সপেক্টেড। চ' মীমাংসা দৰ্শন হৈছে এটা বস্তুবাদী বা বহুত্ববাদী দৰ্শন, যাতে য'ত দেহ, ইন্দ্ৰিয়, মন, আত্মা এইবোৰ অস্তিত্বত মীমাংসা কিন্তু মীমাংসা দৰ্শনৰ বস্তুবাদীৰ আৰু বহুত্ববাদী দৰ্শনৰ কাৰণেও তাতে দেহ, ইন্দ্ৰিয়, মন সেইবোৰ বস্তু তাতে ৰিলেটেড হৈ আছে। যেনেকা দৰ্শনৰ দ্বাৰা হোৱা বৈধ জ্ঞানৰ যি এটা মীমাংসা দৰ্শনৰ দ্বাৰা গ্ৰাহক হোৱা যি বৈধ জ্ঞানৰ এটা ভেলিড চ'ৰ্চৰ যি এটা কমপ্লিট নলেজ, সেইটো আমি অনলি মীমাংসা দৰ্শনতেই পাম। আৰু এই পাঁচটাৰ পিছতো মীমাংসা দৰ্শনে আকৌ এটা ইণ্ডিপেণ্ডেণ্ট চ'ৰ্চ অফ ভেলিড নলেজ দিছিলে, যিটো মীমাংসা দৰ্শনৰ জৰিয়তে এইটো অনুপলব্ধি বুলি কোৱা হয়। এই অনুপলব্ধিটো মিনছ হোৱাত তাতে যদি কিবা বস্তু নাই, ডেট মিনছ দেখাত নাই, সেইটোত হঠাৎ এজন আমি চকুৰ জৰিয়তে বা আমাৰ সংবেদন অংগৰ জৰিয়তে এইটো অনুভৱ কৰিব নোৱাৰোঁ। কিন্তু ছাপ'জ এটা এক্সাম্পলটো দিছিলোঁ যে এইখন টেবুলখনত যদি কিতাপখন নাই, তেনেহ'লে ডেট মিনছ হোৱাত তাতে আমি অস্তিত্বহীনতা এইটো কিতাপখনে ব্যক্তিয়ে তেওঁৰ সংবেদন অংগৰ জৰিয়তে পোনপটীয়াকৈ তেওঁ অনুভৱ নকৰে, বিকজ এখন কোনো কিতাপ টেবুলৰ ওপৰতে যেতিয়া কিতাপেই নাই, কিন্তু এইখন আছিলে কেতিয়া, আগতে আছিলে। চ' এই আগতে থকাৰ জৰিয়তে তেওঁ ডাইৰেক্টলি ৰুমত এণ্ট্ৰি কৰি পেলাই টেবুলখনত চকু দিলে যেতিয়া তাতে কিতাপ নাই। চ' ডেট মিনছত এইটো এটা বস্তু যে এই বস্তুটো তেওঁ কিতাপৰ উপস্থিতিটো তেওঁ ফিল কৰে। চ' দিছ ইজ নেম ইজ হোৱাট অনুপলব্ধি অৰ নন এপ্ৰিহেনশ্যন বুলি আমি ক'ব পাৰোঁ। অনুপলব্ধি ডেট মিনছত সংস্কৃত ৱাৰ্ড হয় অনুপলব্ধি, এণ্ড তাতে নন এপ্ৰিহেনশ্যন বুলি কোৱা হয়। তাৰপিছত থিয়ৰিজ অফ এৰৰ্ছটো নেক্সট হ'ব। দেন খ্যাতিবাদ, এইখিনি থিয়ৰিজ অফ এৰৰ্ছটোৰ ডিছকাছ আমি নেক্সট ডে কৰিম। দেন এইটো মীমাংসা ফিলচফিৰে, তাৰপিছত আখ্যাবাদ, অনিৰ্বাকান্য, এইবোৰ বস্তু আমি নেক্সট ডে আলোচনা কৰিম নেক্সট ক্লাছত। তো থিয়ৰিজ অফ এৰৰ্ছত বহুত কেইটামান এৰৰ্ছ আছে, যিকেইটা আমি আলোচনা কৰিব লাগিব। দেন অলছ' মেটাফিজিক্সৰ পাৰ্টখিনিও থাকি গ'ল। থিয়ৰি অফ কজেশ্যন, নেচাৰ অফ চেল্ফ, এণ্ড হোৱাট ইজ দ্য ৰিলেশ্যন। মীমাংসা ফিলচফিৰ মতে গড এণ্ড লিবাৰেশ্যনৰ লগত কি ৰিলেশ্যন, মানে ৰিলেশ্যন বিটুইন মীমাংসা ফিলচফিজ গড এণ্ড লিবাৰেশ্যন, এইখিনিৰ মাজত এইখিনি আমি নেক্সট ডেত আলোচনা কৰিম। চ' থিয়ৰিজ অফ এৰৰ্ছৰ মাজত কেইটামান ভিউ আছে, সেইখিনি গোটেই আলোচনা কৰিম। আৰু চ' এতিয়া আজি আমাৰ চ'ৰ্চেছ অফ ভেলিড নলেজ আৰু প্ৰমাণ, স্বতঃপ্ৰমাণ্যবাদ আৰু প্ৰমাণ্যবাদ, তাৰপিছত এইখিনি আলোচনা কৰা হ'ল। আৰু থিয়ৰিজ অফ ভেলিড নলেজ, তাৰপিছত ইপিষ্টেমলজি, ইন্ট্ৰডাকশ্যন, এইখিনি। চ' মীমাংসা ফিলচফিৰ মতে আমি আগতে ন্যায় দৰ্শনৰ যি আলোচনা কৰিছিলোঁ, বা সাংখ্য দৰ্শনৰ, মীমাংসা দৰ্শনতো ন্যায় দৰ্শনৰ পৰা কমপ্লিটলি অলপ ছেপাৰেট আছিলে যদিও। চ' এইখিনি আৰু আকৌ এবাৰ মই কৈ দিওঁ যে মীমাংসা দৰ্শনৰ কোনে প্ৰৱৰ্তক হৈছিলে জৈমিনী। মীমাংসা দৰ্শনৰ প্ৰৱৰ্তক হৈছিলে জৈমিনী। আৰু তাৰপিছত জৈমিনীৰ সূত্ৰ হৈছিলে এই দৰ্শনৰ প্ৰণালীবদ্ধ যিবিলাক পুথি এইটো। আৰু মীমাংসা দৰ্শনৰ প্ৰধান ভাষ্যকাৰ হৈছিলে খবৰ খামী। আৰু মীমাংসা দৰ্শন হৈছে এখন বেদানুগত দৰ্শন, যদিও তেওঁ বেদৰ দুটা পৃথক পূৰ্বকাণ্ড, কৰ্মকাণ্ড আৰু উত্তৰকাণ্ড, জ্ঞানকাণ্ড, এইখিনি যদিও এইখনৰ মীমাংসা দৰ্শনে মেইনলি বস্তুবাদী এবং বহুত্ববাদী দৰ্শন হয়, যদিও তেওঁ ঈশ্বৰৰ ওপৰত বিশ্বাস নকৰে, কিন্তু তথাপিও মেইনলি কি হ'ল, মীমাংসা দৰ্শনে বেদৰ যিবোৰ ৰীতি নীতি আছে এইবোৰ বিশ্বাস কৰে। আৰু তথাপিও বেদৰ যিবিলাক আৰু সেইটো কাৰণে বেদত যিবিলাক উল্লেখিত দেৱতাসকল আছে এই সকলকো বিশ্বাস কৰে। আৰু মীমাংসা দৰ্শন হৈছে দুয়োটা সম্প্ৰদায় প্ৰকাৰৰ জ্ঞান স্বীকাৰ কৰে আৰু এই দুই প্ৰকাৰৰে জ্ঞান হৈছে কি অপৰোক্ষ জ্ঞান আৰু পৰোক্ষ জ্ঞান। মীমাংসা দৰ্শনৰ যি কিছুমান বস্তু আত্মা হৈছে কি নিত্য বিভু আৰু অবিনাশী যাৰ ধৰ্ম হৈছে চৈতন্য। মীমাংসা দৰ্শনে মেইনলি এইটো দৰ্শনৰ বিশ্বাসীসকলে আত্মাৰ নিত্য বুলি আৰু বিভু অবিনাশী এইবিলাক আৰু যাৰ ধৰ্মই হৈছে কি চৈতন্য। থেংক ইউ। নেক্সট ক্লাছত আমি এইখিনি কণ্টিনিউ কৰিম। নমস্কাৰ।